Chapter 488. Sima Yue said calmly, I don't have a contract with any eagles, but we came here on one of them. It was really fast, much faster than the other birds. That's really not bad, Bei Gong Air said enviously. I've always wanted to give it a try, but unfortunately, I never had the chance. Hee. Sima Yue chuckled, and refused to follow her words. Bei Gong Air saw that Sima Yue wasn't replying to her, and her eyes flashed with annoyance. She smiled and asked, How long will young Master Sima Yue be staying this time? If you have enough time, I can bring you around. I know a lot of good places. Forget about it. Sima Yue rejected him directly. I have something to do this time. The reason why I'm able to enjoy these 2 days of leisure is because I still need one more herb. I'm still waiting for them to send it to me. Once the medicinal ingredients are delivered, and you have finished refining the pills for us, I will leave. So I'm afraid I can't go out with Miss Bei Gong. That's such a pity. Bei Gong Air said regretfully. I wonder where young Master Siyu lives? I don't think I've heard of a family with the surname Si in the nearby cities. Our Si family is not in the central region, Sima Yue said. It's not a clan from the central region? Bei Gong Air said in surprise. Then why did you come here to become an alchemist? Sigh. Sima Yue shook her head and said, Isn't it because this monarch-breaking pill is too difficult? In order to obtain the Buddha lotus, we had no choice but to come here. You also know that after plucking the Buddha lotus, you must quickly refine it into pills. Otherwise, it would be useless. To be honest, I haven't even seen the Buddhist lotus yet. The Goshawk King will only send someone to bring the Buddhist lotus over after the herb is delivered. If I still can't succeed in refining it, then sigh, perhaps this is fate. The beasts in the spirit pagoda all rolled their eyes. Master was so talented in acting. Sima Yue cursed in her heart. The Bei Gong family actually sent Bei Gong Air to test her. They must be drunk. Bei Gong Air looked at Sima Yue and sighed. My Bei Gong family is also a family of alchemists. We have several 8th-ranked alchemists. I heard that they are all studying the pill recipe today. There shouldn't be any problems when it's time to refine the pill. It would be best if Miss Bei Gong said so, but I have to be prepared for the best. If it doesn't work, sigh. Actually, if it doesn't work, I don't even dare to imagine the consequences, Sima Yue said in frustration. It's all Xiao Yi's fault for making young Master Siyu upset. In order to make up for my mistake, why don't I treat you to a drink? Drink? This forget it. I can't hold my liquor well. I'll get drunk as soon as I drink. Sima Yue said. How can cultivators like us have such low alcohol tolerance? Bei Gong Air said. When they saw me and realized that I was not dead, to young Master, they were curious and saved me. Could it be that young Master doesn't want to be with Sima Yue asked? No. According to your cultivation on her finger, it's impossible to reach your current strength. Waved her hands. I really can't eyes widened in a difficult position. Finally, she sighed after I recovered. Since Miss Bei Gong has said so, and did not have any good for me. Now it's time for me to see if they have a drink then. But Kong saying you always like to a famous restaurant, so I was targeted. One time when I was restaurant has only been open there for about 10 years to do what she set her mind on. Although I came out alive, so he could only let her especially the wine on his face. And I almost died. What kind of face was that? I can't find it anywhere else. No part of Bei Gong that was attacked. I spent a lot of time when she heard the name memory restaurant. There was a memory restaurant because he had been wearing a mask young master after a while. What are you thinking about? Bei Gong Sima Yue guessed that there must be something on his face. Oh, nothing. She did not expect her head to be like this. I just remembered that I haven't taken that memory restaurant for a long time. I missed the reaction. Said with a bitter smile. You have a memory restaurant. I knew I couldn't hide anything from her. Scare you. Edited by as he spoke. That's right. I won't let you see it. There are many memory restaurants in many places. The aura in her body is too strange. I was just a little shocked. It has been eating away at the life of wounds on its memory restaurant. Her heart very big. She did not know what had been through since I was young. And how much pain I haven't been to other places. Now that we have time, so I have what happened after that asterisk. That's why I really want to have a powerful I didn't have much survival that can bring me after I successfully controlled that aura. Sima Yue looked at his valuing eyes. I wanted to kill the people from the zone. My personality, and I know your palace. If it wasn't to hide anything from me that were monitoring her, I won't forgive you if I find out. arrogant,
Feng
and
originally
back
was
then
usually.
hide the truth.
We didn't
She would
even
have been
kill
after hearing her words.
people who
You're
killed
the
their
young
loved
mistress
ones.
of Baegong Clan.
Shimin Feng
You'll
said,
have many
waited for a
opportunities
while
to go
before
out
he
and
told
see
her
who
where
retracted her
experience.
hand and said,
After you left that
even
day,
though the memories
I was injured
by them not
and
after
being
an hour.
suppressed by you.
I did
for
not
the
want
time being.
Baegong
Every
arrived
time
at
you
memory
use it,
restaurant.
so I used the
last
lesson
of my
your
strength
saw
to
Sima
jump off
use
at any
enter.
time. His
Expression
expression
I understand.
changed.
You still remember
She
the
instructed the waiter.
The
and went
doctor
to
has
the back
already
hall.
explained it.
Separated.
Young Miss
It's good
Baegong
that you
understand.
thought for a while
Is it
and
the same
same
private
private room as before.
Heartbreak
From
Valley
today
the waiter
onward,
went
you actually
forward
fell
and
into
asked that
Heartbreak
boy
Valley.
anymore.
Yes, it's
That
that
one.
one.
Feng nodded and
Baegong
continued.
air exuded
And
a
then
sense of
Heartbreak Valley
solution
is
as
a
he
game
was
rid of the
facing
poisonous
poisonous insects in the
We'll go
central
over
region.
ourselves.
I'm already used
After
to
I
this
fell that
portion
day,
of all
I
your
was
signature
lucky
and
and
fell
I.
into a pool.
Also,
Your life is
there
more
was a portion
important
than
than
anything
anything
else.
living in the pool.
Sima Yue
But it was not there recently.
One portion
Already
died. There
were
were some
signature
unconscious
dishes,
going to die
poison,
again.
and 2 portions
We can
around
take our
best
revenge.
wine.
When I woke
Slowly.
up, the waiter
My
said
gaze
longer
was
we
ran
went
towards the kitchen,
the better we can
and I was
kill our
calm
enemies.
and brought Sima Yue
Maybe
about
it
her
was because
favorite
you had
private
fed me a
room.
lot of good
It'll be
things
better
for
for
us
us
to
to
kill
kill
on
the
the
compatible
plan.
with the poison.
And
Sima
Yue
Yue
saw
saw
I was
revenge
poisoned
before
I did
entering
not
on
is it better for you to risk your life
either
for
private
Valley
capture of
and were
stairs
bitten
by poisonous
However,
insects.
the people from the
Const
Valley
staircase
said that once it entered
this
my
might be
body,
the reason why
Area
Valley was
guests
willing
are
to
not
save
allowed
you.
and there was no way to remove it.
So there's only the
Shimin
main
Feng
hall
said,
and the
Shimin
private
Feng
rooms
not
on
my
the
medical
second floor.
skills. They told me that
That's
they went
right.
to Heartbreak Valley to look for
furthermore,
business.
I've had
for
some
the best.
fortuitous encounters
Even
over
though
the years.
cultivators
I've
rarely
obtained
eat,
quite a
this
number
place
of
is
ancient
always
medical
full.
books.
Even
And
the
my
private
private
rooms
skills
have
have
to be
improved
booked
a
a
few
lot.
days in advance.
Although we can't think of
Only
a way
our
to
private
eradicate
room
it, and the one
we
opposite
still have
are
a way
fixed.
to temporarily
Baegong
contain
said.
it. After
After
that,
families,
we'll think of a way to
Sima
cure
Yue
it.
heard sounds coming
All
from
right then.
inside.
Shimin
It seemed
Feng
like
said
someone was
helplessly.
drinking.
I knew that things
Baegong
would turn out
pursed
like
her
this
lips
after
and
we
glared
met.
at the other side,
That's
saying,
why you refused
"Isn't
to
that
acknowledge
so?
me, even though
This
you
Yin
recognized
family
me
likes to
last
suppress
time.
us. Humph.
We booked a
You made me
long-term
sad for
private
a long
room
time.
here,
And they came to
Sima
book
Yue
it too.
pouted and
They
complained.
even paid a higher
Elder
deposit
sister,
than us.
don't be angry.
How annoying.
I'm just thinking
Sima
that I don't
Yue
have
did
many
not have a
years
good
left to
impression
live.
of the Yin family.
If you recognize
and
me
did
and
not
see me
care
die,
about who
you'll
was
be
in
sad.
the room.
But
The
I don't
two
want
of
you
them
to be
entered
sad.
the private room.
Simon Wind
The waiter
explained.
served tea first.
Sigh.
How
The
can I
taste
not
was
know
similar
what you're
to the
thinking?
tea they drank at
Sima
Memory
Yue
Restaurant.
sighed. In a
If I'm
really
really
green
mad at
city,
you, I won't chase
not
you.
long later.
However,
The waiter served
originally
various
thought
dishes
that you
and
were
2
using
jars
some
of good
sort of
wine.
secret
A
technique
few minutes
to
later,
increase your strength.
Sima Yue's cheeks were flushed red, and her eyes
I was
were blurry.
worried that it would harm
One
your
look,
body,
and you
so
could
I
tell that
chased
she was
after
drunk.
you.
But I didn't
Looks
expect
like
young
that your
master
current
situation
situation
is
is
even worse than
Xiao
what I
Air
imagined.
thought that you were just
Go
trying
to
to
the
shirk
latest
the
update.
responsibility.
Elder
I
sister
really
is
can't
always
drink.
so smart.
Sima Yue
Shimin
said
Feng
as she
sighed.
waved her hand.
Otherwise,
Baegong
how can
Air's
I be your
eyes
elder
flashed with
sister?
delight as she looked at
Fortunately,
her and asked,
I chased after you.
Young master said
Otherwise,
that you're
with
not
how
from
big
the
the
central
primordial
territory.
lands is,
May I know where
and
you
how
live?
you intentionally hid your tracks. It would
Chapter
really be difficult
489.
for me to find
Was he
you.
planning to get
Sima
her
Yue
drunk to
said
get
in relief.
information?
Then what
Sima
about
Yue
you,
elder
sneered in her
sister?
heart?
How did you
She
end up in
pretended
this
to be
state?
drunk and said
Big
in a
brother
daze,
Chinemo said
"My
that he
house?
personally
My
buried
home
your
isn't
corpse.
here.
My
How did
home
you
is
come
far
back to
away.
life?"
I
Shimin
know.
Feng asked.
You said you weren't
Actually,
in the
I'm
central
already
region.
dead.
Baegong
Me
said,
is no longer
it's
the
not
same
just
as
the
before.
central region.
Sima Yue
It's
said,
not even in the outer region.
"You're no longer the same
Sima
as
Yue
before."
said,
No wonder
Sigh.
when we met for
Our
the
family
first time,
rules state that we're
I
not
felt
allowed
that your
to
eyes
use our
were very
family name
familiar.
to bully others.
Yet, I didn't
That's why we're not
recognize your
allowed to
appearance.
announce our family
Then
name
what's your
when we
current
go out.
situation?
Hearing
Shimin
this,
Feng
Baegong
said,
he was overjoyed.
After I died in
They
my
had already
previous
guessed
life,
that this
my
person's
soul
identity
entered this
wasn't
body
simple.
and borrowed
Otherwise,
this body to
the
come back
goshawk
to
king
life.
wouldn't have come personally.
Sima Yue roughly
They hadn't
explained her
expected him
situation
to be
Shimin
from the
Feng.
central area.
After listening
if they
to
could
her,
form a good
Shimin
relationship
Feng
with the
looked at her
Baegong
with a
clan.
strange expression.
Wouldn't the Baegong
If
clan
that's
soar
the
in the
case,
future?
then this
If she
body of
became
yours
his
is
woman,
much younger than
she would
me.
be able to
You
live
should
in
be
the
calling
central
me
region.
elder brother. Thinking up
and
to
not
this
me calling
point,
you elder
she was
sister.
overjoyed.
Sima
And an
Yue
idea
slapped
came
him
to
on
her
the
mind.
head.
Elder
She picked
sister
up
is
the wine
elder
jug
sister.
and filled Sima
Even though
Yue's
this
to the
body
brim,
is
saying,
1,000 years
"Young
younger
master,
than
see
you.
you.
This
It's
wine
still
isn't
elder
bad,
sister.
right? Ever since
Not
you
bad,
came
not
out of your
bad.
mother's womb
It
after
tastes
me,
good."
you've
Sima
never
Yue
had the
said
chance
as she
to
downed the
become
wine
an elder
in one
brother.
gulp.
Bei Gongyi refilled
I grew
the
up
glass
under
and
your
said
oppression.
shyly, "Now
Is
that
this
you're
wine more
finally younger
beautiful,
than me,
or am I
I'm
more
still being
beautiful?"
oppressed by you."
Blurg.
Using your
Sima
old
Yue
words,
immediately
this
went
is
to the side and
unscientific.
vomited.
Shimen Feng
Those words were
protested.
so disgusting
Don't
that
give me
she
the
could not help but
unscientific
vomit.
words. After
This is a
vomiting,
fact that can
she
never be
seemed to sober
changed.
up a little and
Sima
said,
Yue said,
"Sorry, my
"Oh,
alcohol level
that
is really."
Kong Sengyi seems to
Bei
treat you
Gongyi's
quite
face
well.
darkened when
Are you
she
going
saw
to take her
Sima
in
Yue
as my
vomiting.
sister-in-law?
However,
Elder
since
sister,
Sima Yue
what
said
are you
that she
talking
vomited
about?
after drinking,
She's just a clingy
that should
little
be the
girl.
case.
Shimen
It was
Feng
a pity
felt a
that she
little
couldn't
awkward when he
continue
mentioned
after
Kong
vomiting.
Sengyi.
The sour
Little
smell
girl,
was really unpleasant.
have you ever seen a little girl
Looks
over
like it's
100
really
years
hard
old?
for little E to
Sima
let
Yue
young
dragged
master
out her
see you
voice
drink.
meaningfully.
Why don't we
Do
go
you
back
really
earlier?
think that elder sister is an
Okay.
ignorant
Sima
commoner
Yue
from the
stood
lower
up unsteadily
continents?
and walked out.
I've heard of this
Bei
Kong
Gongyi's
Sengyi's
reached out to
reputation
support
before.
her.
But
At
she
that time,
accidentally swayed
I thought
away.
that the people from
Then
the Kong
she
Valley
opened
weren't
the door
good.
and swayed
But
out.
when I saw how
When
she
they
never
went
left
downstairs,
I
the
was very
shopkeeper saw them
satisfied.
and said with a
How can I
smile,
be together with
"Miss
her in this
Bagong,
state? You're done
Shi
eating so
Minfeng said,
quickly?
You don't
Yes,
have to worry
my friend
about
can't
that.
hold her liquor.
I can't get rid
Find
of the
us a
aura in
beast
your
carriage.
body. But the
Bagong
wounds
Air
on your
pointed at
face shouldn't be a
Sima Yue
problem."
and said, Sima
"All right,
Yue said confidently,
waiter, prepare a beast
I'll turn you
carriage for
back
Miss
into the
Bagong."
handsome young man
The
you used to
shopkeeper
be.
looked at Sima
I
Yue
guarantee that
meaningfully
you'll
and
charm
said,
thousands of
"This
young
child
women.
is drunk,
But
you have to
I'll
support him
definitely let
carefully
you live
later."
to 100 years old.
Okay.
The waiter put the rag on his shoulder and went
Sima
out.
Yue knew what he was
Sima
going
Yue
to say.
held onto the stairs.
"I'm now a
and
disciple of the
pretended to
divine
be Devil
drunk."
Valley's second
She
Valley
felt that the
Lord.
way the
You
shopkeeper
know him
looked
too.
at her was
His
a little
alchemy
strange.
skills are amazing.
However,
there are
since it
many
was her
such
first
talents
time
in the
here,
Divine
it
Devil
shouldn't
Valley.
be a problem.
Even if I can't
Young
do
Master
it,
Siyu,
I'll
let
gather
me help you
everyone
out.
together.
They'll
Bagong Air
definitely
said as
be
she
away.
stepped forward.
So I'll definitely
need.
let you have a
I can
long
walk
time
on my
to fall
own.
in love.
Sima Yue
Actually,
continued to
we
walk
came to
towards
the outer
door
regions
steadily.
this time
Because we
she
received
accidentally
news that
bumped
the
into
Zhong
someone
Zheng
who was
clan
walking
in
in from
Palace
outside.
would be participating
right?
in the auction.
She knew something
Another
was wrong
reason
the moment
is to
she
look for the
smelled it.
heavenly sex
It was a
vice
familiar
principal.
smell.
I heard
She
that his
raised her
alchemy
head
and
and
medical
saw a
skills
familiar
are superb.
face.
Even
Senior
compared to
senior
you,
brother?
he's not at all
Why are you
inferior.
here?
I
I'm
want
here
him
to
to
show
show
me
me
his
his
skills.
skills. But I heard that he rarely walks around outside now.
I'll
Take her away first. Sima Yue said.
After he finished
My
speaking,
master also wants
he didn't
us to
wait
go
for
to the
Bagong
sect
Air
to
to
learn.
speak.
When the
and
time
help
comes,
Sima Yue out.
we'll see if we can
Bagong
find him.
Air wanted to
and
say
ask him
something
to take
but
a
was
look
ignored.
at you. When the
Sima Yue
shopkeeper
said,
saw Wu Lingyu,
"All right."
he didn't say
The
anything.
siblings chatted for
He
an
lowered
entire
his
day
head
and night on
so
the
that
mountain
Wu Lingyu
peak.
couldn't see
They
his
told
gaze.
each other about
On
their
the second
experiences
floor,
over the years.
the window of a private
most
room
of the time,
facing the street
Sima
opened.
Yue talked about
a man
her
and a woman
experiences
sat
in the
in
lower
front of the
continents,
window. The
as
man
well
was
as
wearing
her
a
current
mask.
family.
Seeing
Compared
the
to
two of
Shi
them
Minfeng,
walking on the street,
her
the woman's
experiences were
said,
much more
is
exciting.
that the holy
It
sun
wasn't
of the
until
sage
the evening
pavilion,
of the second
Wu Lingyu,
day that
how
Wu
did he get
Lingyu
here?
and Kong Sengyi
Could it be that
arrived
he's
at the
also
mountain
going to
peak.
participate
Shi
in the
Minfeng
auction?
put on his mask
I don't
again.
know. But
Shi
since he's a
Minfeng,
member of the Sage
if we don't
Pavilion,
go to U City now,
he should be
we
counted
won't
as
make
one
it
of
in
our
time.
targets this time.
Kong Sengyi
the
stared
masked
at
man
Shi
looked at the
Minfeng,
two of
feeling
them
wronged.
coldly.
Usually,
but no one knows
he would
Wu
only
Lingyu's
get a few
strength.
words from him.
It's said that those
because
who
he
went
had
to
worked
find
hard
trouble
for
with
so
him
many
didn't
years.
survive.
He didn't
If you go up
expect that he
against
would
him,
actually chat
won't
with
it be
this
too
sister
dangerous? For an
the
entire
woman said
day and
worriedly.
night.
The
I don't
difference
have long
was
to
too big.
live. If
Heavily
I can kill one
recommended.
more, I eat
I'll take
tomatoes.
my
Tomato
revenge.
new book.
You.
Sigh. The woman sighed. She looked at Sima Yue and asked. She called him senior brother
Chapter
just
503.
now. What about
Sima
her?
Yue saw
Do
the
we
way
have to
Kong
kill her
Xiangyu
too?
was acting and
The masked
immediately
man
laughed,
looked at Sima
saying,
Yue's back.
Aya.
He
I
didn't
lost
know
track
why,
of time while
but
chatting.
he felt a sense of
Wu Lingyu
familiarity.
had other thoughts
Sima
when he
Yue
saw
felt
Sima
the gaze
Yue
behind her
smile.
and turned around.
Ever since she had
Their eyes
advanced
met.
to the divine level,
Boom. The things
Sima
she had
Yue
seen the
felt
most
as if
were
her
her
heart
tears
had
and
collapsed.
forced smiles.
She looked straight
She
at
had
the
never
masked
smiled
man.
so happily
The world
before.
around her seemed
Thinking
to
of
have
this,
quietened down.
he couldn't help
Only
but
the
look
two
at
of them
Shi
were
Minfeng.
left.
Why did
Seeing
he call
Sima
her
Yue's
sister?
gaze on him,
The more he thought
the
about
masked
it,
man
the
frowned.
more confused
The
he
mole
became.
under his eyebrows
No matter
moved.
how smart he
Wu
was,
Lingyu noticed
he would
that
never
Sima
have
Yue
thought
was
of such a
acting
thing
strangely.
as a soul being
He
reborn.
followed her gaze
Sima
and saw
Yue
that she
stood
was
up from the
staring
ground,
straight at another
patted
man.
the dust on
His
her
heart
butt and
started
said,
to bubble.
Foam.
He hadn't
What
settled
are you
the
going
score
to
with
use
her
city
yet.
for? And now
Go
she was
find
looking
someone.
at another man
Shi
in front
Minfeng
of him.
also stood up.
Sima Yue
Kong
looked at
Valley
the
has
masked
always
man.
been looking for
Her eyes
ghost
were red.
genius Emo-san.
Her lips moved
Recently,
as if she wanted to say
we
something,
received news that
but
he
her
came to
tears
the outer
fell
regions.
first.
So
What's
we
wrong?
sent people to search
Wu
for
Lingyu
his
saw
tracks.
that Sima Yue
We
was
just
crying and
received
asked
news that he
softly.
might go to U
Sima
City in
Yue
2
came
days.
back to her senses.
So we want to try our
and saw
luck
Bagong
and see if
Air
we can
coming
see
out
him.
of the inn.
Ghost
She
genius
wiped the
third
tears
Mo.
from the corner
That
of her
guy is
eyes and
wanton
said,
and unrestrained.
"It's nothing.
Why are you
Let's
looking
go."
for him?
The moment
Sima
she
Yue
turned
asked,
around,
puzzled.
she seemed to
There
hear
are
a
some
familiar
things that I
voice
need
from
his
her
help
memory.
with.
Shi
Big
Minfeng
sister,
said,
let's eat
Shi
roasted
Minfeng,
spirit rabbit
why do you
today.
tell her everything?
Big sister, leave
Kong
quickly.
Sengyi glared at Shi
You have to
Minfeng
survive
with
and take revenge
dissatisfaction.
for us.
I never
She
hide
closed
my
her eyes
matters
and her
from big
tears fell
sister.
uncontrollably. uncontrollably.
Shimin Feng said.
When she turned
Forget
the corner,
If you
she
go
called
look
out
for
a third
few
MO
scarlet
like this,
bees,
he'll
and
definitely
fly
ignore
back.
you.
That
Otherwise,
person looked at you
they will
strangely.
definitely demand
The
an
masked man
exorbitant
looked at
price
Sima
and rip
Yu's
you guys
back.
off.
His mind
Sima
was still
Yu said
immersed in the
confidently
gaze
with her
now.
hands behind
That
her
gaze,
back.
that feeling,
You know him.
It was similar to
Shimin
when
Feng
his
asked
big
in
sister
surprise.
looked at him.
Didn't
But
I
at
go
that
to
time,
Mo-Bay?
his big
When I was
sister's gaze
100
was
years
filled
old?
with love and
Sima
pampering.
Yu said.
There was no such
I met him
thick
by
guilt.
chance and got to
Are you
know
all
him.
right? The
I
woman
remember
waved
now.
her hand in
At
front
that
of his
time,
face.
you said you met a
interrupting
friend,
his memories.
but he had a strange
fine.
temperament.
The masked
You
man
called him
adjusted
something.
his emotions and
Shameless
said,
third.
I don't
You're
know
not
who
talking
that
about
person
third
is.
MO, are you?
That person
Sima Yu
wasn't his
nodded.
big sister.
That's good.
His big sister
were
was
worried
already
that
dead.
even if we found
no
him,
matter how similar
we might
the
not
gaze
be
was,
able to do it.
It couldn't be her.
But with your help,
That's easy.
there won't be
I'll
a
get
problem.
someone to check and
Shimin
we'll know.
Feng said.
The woman
When I
took
was
out a
100
paper
years
crane.
old, She
Kong
inserted
Sang
her
Yi
spiritual
sized up
energy
Sima Yue
and sent a
You look
strand
like
of
your bone
divine
age
sense
is only
into
around
it.
20 years
Then,
old.
the paper
Or did you
crane
get
spread
100
its wings
years
and
old?
flew away.
Or do you have a
Sima
way to
Yue
hide your
wasn't
bone
in a
age?
good mood.
How about
She
you
walked
teach
in
me?
a daze.
The
Sima
two
Yue
of them
smiled.
walked on the street.
I really can't
Wu
teach you
Lingyu
this
didn't
method.
care about her.
She had
And
died
watched
and
as
was
she
reborn.
bumped into a tree
Moreover,
trunk by the side
even
of the road.
she did not know how she had been reborn.
Sima Yue was in pain.
How could she teach
When
others?
she came back to her
Sima
senses,
Yue said,
she saw that she had walked to the side of the road. She heard
Sima
Wu
Yue.
Lingyu's laughter
Yue,
behind
Yue.
her.
Yue.
She turned around and
As
glared
Kong
at him,
Xiangyi pursed her
but
lips,
saw that he
saying,
was smiling
"If
brightly.
you don't want to say it, then don't."
Well, let her.
Chapter
Let's
490.
go.
All
When
right.
Wu Lingyu saw
Feng
Sima
Yue's
Yue's
dissatisfied
gaze,
was Feng Yue.
he walked up
Yue
to her
and rubbed her
Yue
forehead.
Yue was looking.
He smiled
looked
and said,
Yue,
"Let's see if you'll still
I
be
didn't
so
expect
distracted
you to
to
tame
tame
a
a phoenix."
phoenix. It's
Sima
as you
Yue
wished.
rolled her eyes at him, turned around and continued
Sima
walking.
Yue smiled.
She could not be
No
bothered
wonder
with
we
him.
couldn't catch up
Wu
with you all
Lingyu
the
was
way.
still reminiscing
Ximen
about her
Feng
anger
smiled
and
and
didn't say
disdain just
anything.
now.
The
She
group
felt
followed.
very happy.
They flew through
Seeing
the
that
night
she had
for
already
another 2
walked
days
far away
before stopping
she
outside
hurriedly
Yu
chased
City
after her,
chirp,
and
chirp.
walked side by
A
side
paper
with her.
crane came out
You
of
know
Yu
that
City
person?
and flew beside
Speaking of
Kong
that
Sengyi's
person,
ear for a while.
Sima Yue looked a
then
little
landed
sad.
on her hand.
She shook her
She
head and
dispersed
said,
her spiritual
"Maybe
power.
I know him, maybe I
and
don't."
it turned into a
It's
paper
more
crane.
likely that they don't
Little
know each
Crane
other.
said that third
At
MO
that
has
time,
arrived in Yu
the
City
situation was
and
so
is staying
critical.
in the biggest
How
inn
could
in
he
the
have
city?
survived?
Kong
However,
Sengyi said to
her
everyone,
first impression of
"Then
him,
we'll stay there too."
that pair of familiar
Sima Yue
eyes,
said,
and that
"Do you know
mole
why
under
he
his
came here?
eyebrows gave her
How
a
long
glimmer
will he
of
stay
hope.
here?
What if he was
I don't
still
know,
alive?
but he said
Just
he will
like
only
that.
stay here for
She
4
hoped
days.
that the person was
More
him.
than a day has
But
passed.
she also felt
We
that
still
it was
have
impossible.
more than 2 days.
Her heart
Kong
was tangled
Sengyi
between
said,
hope and reality.
"Time is a little tight.
Wu Lingyu
I
felt
think we
that
should
this
just
girl
look
had
for him
changed a lot
directly.
ever since she
Let's
had
go and
advanced
see what's
to the
going
deity
on."
level.
Sima
The
Yue
hatred
said,
and grief in her eyes
"Okay."
were something
They
that had
entered the
never been
city
there before,
and found the inn where
Moreover,
third MO
her
was
murderous
staying and
heart
checked
was
in.
stronger than
They
before.
asked for 4 rooms.
By the way,
when
you
they
haven't
asked the
told me
waiter
why you're here.
The waiter said
Sima
that
Yue
third MO
asked,
went out in the
I
morning
went into
and only
seclusion.
came back at
When
night.
I came out,
So
I found
everyone
you
went
here
back
so
to
I
their
came.
rooms to rest.
Wu Lingyu said,
Feng Er,
"It's
the
not
compass that I
suitable for
gave
me
you
to
leads
leads directly
directly
like
to
the
this.
Divine Devil Valley.
You guys go and try.
How did you
Maybe
end up
you'll
in the
succeed."
outskirts?
Sima
If
Yue
I had known
said,
earlier,
"Okay,
I would have brought you
I'll
here.
make some medicine for you
Speaking
later
of
to
this,
heal your throat
Sima
first."
Yue smiled helplessly.
Sima Yue continued,
Don't think that I don't
"You've been
know that
rushing
your
for
soul
so
is
long.
unstable
Rest
right
first.
now.
My
You
throat
can
has
walk
been
around
like
this
this
since
since
I
I
came
came
out
out
of
of
Heartbreak
Heartbreak
Valley,
but it won't
I'm
be
used to
easy
it
for you
after
to
so
go
many
to the lower
years.
continents."
Ximen Feng said,
Moreover,
I
know.
want to use the
Sima
boundary
Yue
compass
said,
to reach
"Let's
Divine
go, I'll
Devil
show you my
Valley
place."
directly.
So
With
I don't
that,
want to
she
trouble
brought
you.
Ximen
Who
Feng
would have
into the
thought that I
spirit
would
pagoda.
encounter an
The
almighty
moment
battle
they
in the
disappeared,
space passage?
Wu Lingyu,
which
who was
affected the
cultivating
void
in
in
the
the
next
shattered my
room,
passage?
opened her eyes.
I came here before I
Sister,
even
this
reached
is
the
the Divine
spirit
Devil
pagoda.
Valley. Ximen Feng
After
was
regaining
shocked
her
when he saw
memories,
the scenery
she
in the
remembered
spirit
that
pagoda.
low-level continents were protected by
Sima
the
Yue
rules.
smiled and nodded.
So it was much more
There used to
difficult
be a
to
lot of
construct
people
a
here,
spatial passage
but today
to the
they're all
past,
guests at the Inn
especially the
residence,
Yilin
so
continent.
it's much quieter.
As a continent of
I can see
imprisonment,
that there are traces
its
of
level
people
was the
living
lowest.
here.
Its
Ximen
laws were
Feng
the
said,
strongest.
It's hard
And it
to
had the
imagine
most
that there's
protection.
such a treasure
At
in
the
this
same
world,
time,
such a good
there
place.
was also a lot of
This
suppression.
was left to her by
Wu
the father
Lingyu's
of
soul
this
was
body,
still incomplete,
but she couldn't
so it
cultivate
would take
at
some
that time.
effort for her to go
so
there.
she couldn't use
To
it.
use an analogy,
Sima Yue felt
traversing
pity
the
for the
same
original
continent
owner.
was like cutting a
This
watermelon.
can be compared to those
Breaking
little
through
realms.
to the continent
No,
below
it's even
was
better.
like using the same
Ximen
knife
Feng
to cut
said.
a bone.
Sima
The
Yue saw the
difficulty was not
curiosity in
increased
Ximen
by just
Feng's
a little
eyes and
bit.
smiled.
Moreover,
One day
she
outside
also
is
wanted the
equivalent to
spatial
10
compass
days here.
to bring her
I'll go
directly
prepare
to the
the
Divine
medicine.
Devil Valley.
You have time to look
so
around.
she didn't want to trouble
With
him.
that, she went
She
to
could
the
just go
medicine
by
room
herself
and asked Little
who knew
Spirit
that she would
to
be
help
so
her pick a
unlucky
few
to
herbs from
encounter
the fields.
such a rare occurrence.
Then she took some
Wu
dried
Lingyu
herbs
didn't know how she
and
knew
refined
all
them
this,
one by one
but it
before
seemed
starting
like
to
she was
refine
being
pills.
considerate when she
One day
rejected
later,
her.
she
Are
opened
you
the
going
door
to the
to
Divine
pill
Devil
refining
Valley
room
now?
and saw
Not now.
Ximen Feng
Sima
wandering
Yue
around the
shook her
medicine
head.
field.
Baegong's Daigong's matter is not settled yet. Sister,
We
are
still
you done?
want to attend the
Shimin
Xinyuan
Feng heard the
Pavilion's
movement
auction.
and flew over.
I heard that the Sky
Sima
Heaven
Yue
School's
placed a bottle
enrollment
of pills
is
in
in
his
a few
hand
days.
and said, "We want to try
Take one pill every
Initially,
2 days.
she only
You
wanted
still
to
have
learn
things
about
to do
spatial
now.
coordinates.
I'll bring you in later.
Later on,
Let's go out
she
first.
slowly understood the power
Okay.
of the Sky Heaven
Sima
School.
Yue brought him out
so she
and let
wanted
him
to
go
give it a
back.
try. Then she
The
sat
Sky Heaven
cross-legged
School
on the
is
bed
indeed
to
a good
adjust her
place.
breathing.
Although
When
if
she
she
opened
opened
her
her
eyes,
eyes,
it was
its
already the
status
next
is not
day.
lower than the
Hearing
divine
the
devil
voices
valley.
outside,
There are
she
many
got off the
powerful
bed and
teachers
walked
there.
out. So it's good
She
to go
opened
there.
the door and
When
leaned
I
against the
returned
door
to the
to look
divine
at
devil
Kong
valley,
Sengyi,
who was
Master
pulling a
knew
long
that you were
face.
in the central
Shimin
region.
Feng was listening
He also
to her
said
complain.
that if you have the chance,
Yue, you're right.
you should go to the
That
Sky
third
Heaven
MO
School.
is really stubborn.
There are many
No
old
matter
fellows
what we
there
say,
who are friends
he
with
won't
the
agree
divine
and
devil
even
valley.
chased us out.
Wu Lingyu said,
Sima Yue looked
if
at
I didn't
Shimin
say to
Feng.
go to the Sky
His
Heaven
eyes were
School,
also filled
you
with
would have let me
helplessness.
go.
It
Sima
seems
Yue
that
didn't
after
think
all
that
these
old
years,
man
his
devil would
personality
suggest
is
them to
still
go
so
to the
weird.
Sky Heaven School.
Sima Yue said with a
Isn't
smile.
this convenient?
Come in.
Wu
I'll
Ling
give
Yu
you guys
said,
some advice.
If you went directly to the Divine Devil Valley, you wouldn't have to come here. Since you're already here. Chapter
It's good
5
for your
growth to broaden
At
your
night,
horizons.
a man in white
Sima
walked
Yue
in from
rolled her
outside
eyes
the
at
inn.
him.
As
She
soon
knew that
as he
she
was
entered,
weak now,
he saw Kong
but she
Seng
was
Yi
still
guarding
young.
the door.
It wasn't
Because
that
he
she
was in a
wanted to
bad mood
boast
today,
but she
when
was
he saw
already
her
a
pestering
mid-level
him,
divine
he
king
felt
in her
even
20s.
worse.
Other
Other
than
than
those
said
who were
that I
born
don't
with
have
high
time.
birth points.
Don't look for
She
me.
was already
Third
considered
Emo
very
said as he
powerful.
walked upstairs.
However, Third
Even
Master,
Old Man Devil
I'm not
had
here to
such a
talk
high
to you tonight.
evaluation of the Sky
Kong
Heaven
Seng Yi
School.
said with a smile.
It seemed like there was
Looking at
something
you,
there that
you
was
must
worth
have
learning.
encountered something
The two of them
unpleasant
went to
today.
the inn that
I'm
they
waiting
stayed in
for you
before.
here.
Because I
Beigong
heard that
Tang
you like
and
wine.
the others were surprised
Today,
to see
I went
Sima
out and
Yue
got a
return.
few jars of good
However,
wine.
it's
When
the
they
best
saw
Wu
Wu
Ling
Ling
Yu
Yu
behind her,
do you
they
want to
understood.
try it?
I
Third Emo
originally
followed
wanted
her gaze
Zi Qi to
and
pretend
saw
to
a
be the
table in the
person
corner
who delivered
filled with
the medicine.
delicacies.
Now that
There were
Senior
also
Brother
several
is here,
jars of wine.
Zi Qi doesn't need
One
to
of the
go.
jars had already
Sima
been
Yue
opened,
said,
and
tomorrow
the fragrance
Senior
of the
Brother
wine
and I will
wafted
go
into
to the
the
air.
Beigong clan.
It was
Then
intoxicating.
you can openly ask
The
for
three
the
men
person.
sat at the side
It's best
and looked
if he
at
can
him.
attract
No
all
wonder
the
he
important
smelled the
people of the
aroma of
Beigong
wine the
clan.
moment he entered.
If they don't admit
So that was the reason.
we'll bring the mother
However,
and son
he
in
quickly
front of
retracted
everyone.
his gaze and
However,
said
there's one
indifferently,
thing.
You
You haven't
haven't
entered
drunk
the
in a long
Beigong
time.
clan.
You
After
can only
that,
wait outside.
He walked around
Once
Kong
you
Seng
enter,
Yi and headed
the
for the
Beigong
stairs.
clan might use
If
some
he hadn't
ruthless
got
methods
drunk
to
and slept
exterminate
for
us.
half a month,
At least
how
there will
could he
be
have
people
missed the
watching
time to
from
save
outside.
her? Ever
The
since he
Beigong
saw her
clan
corpse,
won't dare to act so
he had
brazenly.
not touched a single
Okay.
drop of alcohol.
Beigong Tang
He
nodded.
even hated it.
Right.
Sima
When we
Yue
went out
saw
today,
that this trick
we met
was
the
useless
clan.
against him.
Did you have
She
a
also
conflict?
saw the disgust
Sima
and
Yue
self-blame
frowned.
in his eyes.
It would
She did
not
not
be a
know
good
what
thing
was
to
wrong
have a
with him.
conflict with the
He had
Yin
even
clan at this
abandoned a
time
hobby that
No.
he had kept for
Beigong
hundreds of
Tang
years.
shook her head,
thinking that
However,
he would leave
we heard them
tomorrow.
say that my
She
uncle
couldn't
has
help but
returned.
ask. I think
Shameless
that if we
third.
have the chance
When did
to
you
meet
quit
him,
all your lovers?
it might be helpful.
Third Emo was stunned.
However, he
I was
stopped in
afraid
his
that it would
tracks
clash
and
with your
turned
plan.
around to look at
So I
Sima
wanted
Yue.
to tell you.
His eyes were
Then
filled
what
with
about
shock.
the rest of the Yin
What did you
clan?
call me?
What are your plans?
He held his breath.
This, not
We'll
knowing
talk
what
about it
answer
after
he
we
would
save
get.
mother and
Sima
younger
Yue
brother.
raised a wine jar
She had
and
never
threw it at
interacted
him.
with a large
You once
clan
told
like
me
the
that
Yin
this
clan.
thing is the most
It didn't
intimate
matter
thing
whether
to
they
you.
existed
It's
or
your
not.
lover.
It would
And you'll
depend on what her
probably
mother
spend the
said.
rest of your life with
That
it.
uncle of yours
Why are
should
you
really care
abandoning
about
your
your
lover
mother
now?
If we get
Third
him to
Emo
help
helped
us
the
put
wine
pressure
jar.
on the Beigong
After
clan,
the initial shock,
it
he
should
became
be useful.
alert.
He saw
Sima Yue
Qin
said,
Emo bury her
then
with
let's
his own
find a
eyes.
time to meet him
How
today.
could she come back to
Okay.
life?
However,
Beigong Tang
he had
smiled
only
and
said
replied,
those words to her.
At night,
She was
Beigong
also the
Tang,
only one who spoke
Sima
to him
Yue
in such a
and
tone.
Wu Ling Yu left the
She
inn
was
together
the only one who
and
would
went
call him
straight to the
shameless
Yin clan
third.
in the north of the
Sima
city.
Yue saw the
Yin Hao
complicated
was
look in his
cultivating in
eyes
the house
inside
when he
saying,
suddenly felt a pair
I
of
promised
eyes
to make
looking
you a
at him.
chicken banquet
There was
to go
no
with your
murderous
wine.
intent. Now that I've
He
made
opened
it,
his eyes and
why
saw a
aren't you willing
spirit
to do
beast
me
that
the
looked
honor?
like a black charcoal
Third
ball
Emo walked
floating in
towards
the
her in
air,
a daze,
looking at him.
He saw the smile
Before
in
he
her
started
eyes.
cultivating,
Although she had
he had
changed,
clearly
her
set
gaze
up a
hadn't.
barrier around
It
the
was the her
house.
he knew. How did this
He reached
little
out
guy
to
come
pinch
in?
her face.
Are you
But
Yin
she
Hao?
slapped his hand
Little
away.
War asked.
You won't be
You've
able
already
to
come
pay
into
for
my
my
fragile
house.
skin if you
You
break
still
it.
need to ask this
She
question?
said, glaring
Yin
at
Hao
him.
looked at Little Roar.
Why did
He
these
was
words
not
sound so
nervous
familiar?
and was certain that it would not hurt him.
Someone wants to see you. I
Little
remember
Roar
now.
said,
You also
Who?
wanted to
You'll
pinch
be
me at that
surprised
time.
when you see them.
We haven't seen
You'll
each
regret
other
it
for
if
so
you
many
don't see
years.
them.
Why are you
Little
still
Roar
like
turned
this?
around and flew
Hearing
out.
this,
Third
Yin Hao
Mo's
saw it
suspicious
clearly.
eyes were
When it
filled
met
with
the
ecstasy.
barrier,
The
she had
barrier
said the
only
same
rippled
thing
to
to
him
him
back
before
then.
it went out.
If other people
After
knew
thinking
about what
about it,
happened
he still
between
followed
them
it out
and asked them to imitate her,
They wouldn't know what
Chapter
she had
491
inadvertently said.
Yin Hao followed
hugged
Little
Sima
Roar
Yue
all the
and
way
laughed.
to a secluded
You're still
alley near
alive.
the Yin clan.
And I'm
The
alive.
moment he entered,
Sima
he
Yue nodded.
realized that there were
If you
three
don't let
people
go of
standing
me.
inside.
I'll suffocate to
One
death.
of them was someone he
She
recognized.
said alive.
The
Not
holy
alive.
son of the Sage
But
Pavilion.
Third Emo didn't notice
First
this.
edition, he didn't
Third
know
Emo
the
let
other
go
two,
of her,
and looked
judging
at her
from
face.
their young age.
Your
They
disguise
probably
is pretty
didn't know
good.
who he was.
I didn't even
Is it
recognize
Wuling
you.
Yu who is looking
There's no
for me?
trace of it at all.
Why are you looking
Where
for
did you
me?
learn it? We are here
That's
to tell
not
you
right.
a piece of news.
I clearly saw
Ian
Chin
Lon
Emo
is still
bury your
alive,
body,
but she
Could
has
it be
been
that he
imprisoned.
secretly dug you out to
Sima
save
looked
you?
at Ian, how
Sima
carefully
Yua
observed
twitched.
his expression.
This is my
Seeing
current
the shock and
appearance.
joy on his face.
Thinking of Chin Emo,
She knew that
her
he was
heart
really
felt
happy.
sour, and
Memory
her worries
restaurant.
disappeared.
Memory
Are
restaurant.
you telling the truth?
How did you become
Ian
like
Hao
this?
looked at the three of them
Third Emo sat
and
down
regained
beside
his
her and
calmness
asked,
after his joy.
I'll tell you
He
later.
looked at the three of
Sima
them
Yua
warily.
smiled.
Why
This
are you
is the
telling
chicken
me this?
feast that I promised
Because we
you.
need your help.
The wine is also
Sima
the
Yua
good wine
said.
that I specially
Although you are
prepared for
together
you.
with the
If
holy
you don't
son
give
of
me
the
face,
Sage
I won't
Pavilion,
agree to it.
how can I believe
All
that
right,
your words
I
are
know
true?
that you came looking
Ian Hao
for me
said,
because of this girl.
You should know that Ian
Third
Lon
Emo
gave
said,
birth to a
I'll
son
eat
and a
this
daughter.
meal.
The
Let's
daughter
forget
escaped
about the
from
wine.
the Bagong family
Shame
with
with
the
the
help
third.
of others.
You really quit drinking?
Sima Yua said.
Sima
Ian
Yua
Hao
thought
frowned.
that he was just
Sima
making
Yua
excuses.
even knew about this.
Now, If she didn't really didn't drink anymore, and the others and had other motives, Third Emo nodded too dangerous. When the Sima family was in trouble and said, "I was drunk and slept for half a month," your identity to her. When I woke up, Baegong Tang took a deep breath and said, "When I am the daughter of Yin Lan who escaped that year. From then on, I stopped drinking. You don't look like Yin Lan. How can he love it? The most was wine." Yin Hao asked cautiously. She understood his feelings towards wine the most. Touched her own face, but because he couldn't save her, he quit drinking. Disgust. She suddenly wanted to cry. It was very similar to that man. Very similar. She put away the wine and took out some white wine that you have the best relationship with her in the Yin family. It won't get you drunk everywhere to play. You can drink this in the future. There was once when you ran into the mountains took it and smelled and were bitten by a snake. The fragrance of the spirit. It was mother who personally washed the poison out for you. Afraid of being punished by the strong wine that he drank before. The two of you concealed this matter. This is the fruit wine that you talked about before. When the two of you were young, there are many kinds of fruit wine raised by your family and roasted it. You can try them all. Your granduncle's favorite. Sima Yue poured a cup for him. Only the two of you know about this. Third Emo took it and tasted it. Yin Hao looked at Baegong Tang. It's not as strong as ordinary wine. Seeing that her eyes were the same as his own sister's, and the wine are mixed together, and hugged her emotionally. It has a different flavor. When I came back that year, Sima Yue Baegong family said that you went missing when you went out to play. Third Emo nodded. Your mother and brother also died. I won't get drunk. At that time, I'll drink this that you didn't have a good life in the Baegong saw family. That he liked it and smiled happily. I only found out about those things suddenly after the investigation. She felt a resentful gaze. I hate that I didn't come back earlier and let you suffer so much. She saw mother is still alive at her with eyes full of complaints. It's just that I was afraid that you would continue to pester me. Suddenly appeared. So I said that mother and younger brother of his had been thrown aside by her. Baegong Tang had never been hugged by anyone other than coming from his body. She was young, taking the cup in front of him. She poured a cup for him and put it in front of him. Still alive, smiling. We've already investigated clearly. You've been working hard has already seen mother. I haven't thanked you for saving my younger brother. Come drink more. Tang said. Wuling Yu saw to the Baegong family now and make them hand them over. Even her smile towards him was more genuine and was about to leave. But this was because of someone else. Uncle, don't be anxious. So he was still a little annoyed. They will definitely not admit it. Sima Yue poured for him. Said he drank it in one gulp. But your mother and brother are still in the Baegong family. Third Emo already thought of a way back and smiled. We will definitely save mother and younger brother. Pavilion has a big temper. Tang said. But why do I smell something sour today to ask for your help? They were all famous people in the inner regions. If there's anything you need me to do, Third Emo just tell me directly. You. An hour later, he had never interacted with him. Returned to the Yin family. It was Sima Yue's first time seeing rushed towards the south of the city. But thinking that he had suppressed it for such a long time, comprehended the shrinking earth considered to have a good temper. Otherwise, if they didn't ride a flying, you're laughing at me. Be careful that I'll take care of travel from the south to the north of the city. Tell him what happened. I'll go out for a while. Held on to one person. After speaking, she stood up and left. Baegong Tang and Wuling Yu naturally moved at the same speed as her. Although the shrinking earth technique was still in its early stages, when Sima Yue went out, and the time it took you walking on the street added up to less than a night. He did not open a spatial passage Sima Yue had seen the introduction of the shrinking earth for her to come out. In a book on space after him and pulled on his sleeve. It was actually the evolved version of teleportation. Wuling Yu glanced at her and did not feel that it was that awesome. Continuing to walk forward, she personally tried it out and realized how powerful it was. This guy was still being arrogant. I know what you're thinking. Travel a few thousand kilometers in the night. I won't say anything. If she mastered this technique in the future, figure in front of her paused. This world would be much smaller to her and went forward to grab his arm, south of the city. Let's find a place where no one can hear them, and said, Wuling Yu lowered his head to look at the jade hand on his arm. You're not going back with us. Seeing the teasing look in her eyes. Where are you going? Most of the anger in his heart disappeared. I have some private matters arms around her waist. Sima Yue opened up a spatial passageway and used the shrinking earth technique again to entering the little realm that he had refined. Saw Wuling Yu looking at Sima Yue thought about the last time she came here. At you know where she's going? She had just recovered her memories. Wuling Yu replied and was faintly, on the verge of collapse. Then why didn't you go with her? You brought her here to stay for a month that she wanted to go by herself. Even if I told her she wouldn't let me go. Still there. Wuling Yu walked over and sat down, he finished speaking, curling up like last and went to Sima Yue's room. She thought about the way he looked at her about those things. At that time, he believed that one day he was probably wondering what was wrong with her. Sima Yu came to the front of him. He did not ask anything. She looked at a room that was lit up by the street. Moreover, and remained silent. After seeing her strange behavior for so long, she looked at the shadow on the window and muttered, "This was already good enough." Is that person really? She raised her head to look at a certain someone who had his still angry. She smiled and lay down again, like this before pointing at another rocking chair beside her. He looked so ugly. A certain someone sat down with a cold face. He still liked his white appearance. Have you been to the southern wasteland? He didn't dare to mention this to Sima Yue. because
Wu
he knew
Lingyu
how
said.
she felt.
Then have you
Can
heard of the
smell
Shiman
Feng
clan
scent?
of the southern
Little
wastelands
Roar
7
shook his head.
prefectures? However,
Sima Yue
his
asked,
head couldn't be seen in
Shiman
the
clan?
dark anymore.
The one that was
His scent is
exterminated
different.
by the Zhongzheng
Sima
clan?
Yue raised her head
Wu Lingyu felt
and looked
that it
at
was
the
a shadow
bit
again.
familiar.
Her
Only
eyes were
later
filled
did
with
he
disappointment
remember that he had
A
heard them
person
talk
could
about
change
it
his
before.
appearance and voice.
Sima Yue nodded,
But it was
saying,
very difficult
at
to
that
change
time,
his scent.
the eldest
Maybe
daughter
he
of the
brought
Shiman
something
clan
like
was
you
called
that can
Shiman
change his
Yue.
scent.
The eldest
Little
son
Roar
was called
persuaded.
Shiman Feng.
Sima Yue was
Wu
stunned.
Lingyu wasn't too
She
surprised.
then remembered that the ring
After
that
all,
Wu Lingyu gave
he
her
had
could
already
change
guessed
her
her
scent.
identity. Maybe the
Back
other
then,
party had
Zhongzheng
changed his scent
Hanyu
as well,
and I were very
which
good
was why
friends.
Little Roar
We
couldn't
grew up
recognize
together.
him.
The
Because
window
I was
was
a triple
suddenly pushed
elemental
open.
spirit master.
The masked man
and
and
she
her
was a
met each
double
other
elemental
again.
spirit
He
master.
already knew that she was
My
outside.
halo gradually
However,
overshadowed hers.
he didn't know why,
and she slowly
but
changed.
he had an inexplicable
Once she
feeling
gave me a
towards the
rare
person
spirit
outside,
stone. That
saying
was why
that it
he
was a
didn't
birthday
immediately
gift for
take
me.
action.
Later,
Feng Air,
I found
is
out that
you?
it was a type of
Sima
spirit
Yue
stone
muttered
that
to
could
herself.
slowly emit poison.
The masked man's
and
body
because
trembled.
my family had
Suddenly
inhaled
his
this
gaze
poison.
changed.
When the
He flew
Zhongzheng
down
clan
from the
and
room
Yingyang
and
Palace
came to
attacked
Sima
us,
Yue's
we
side.
couldn't withstand
He
a
grabbed
single
her
blow,
neck,
and the
Then
temperature
you.
was as cold
Of course
as ice.
I'm dead. Who are you? His hoarse voice sounded like
Sima
it came
Yue
from
said.
hell. Zhongzheng Hanyu used the soul-locking
Chapter
lamp to scatter my
492.
soul.
Book
But I
title.
don't know why my soul
Chapter
didn't
refusal
disappear,
to recognize
but was
you, author
reborn in this
Sima
body.
Yue lowered her
But
eyes
because my
and
soul
looked
was
at the
injured,
hand that was
I
full
didn't
of
have
wounds.
those memories at first.
It was as if this was
When
not
I
the
advanced
person
to
who
the
was
divine
strangling
level
her
and
and
regained
controlling
my
her
memories
life.
and recalled
Who
the
are
past.
you?
The
Then
masked
when we
man
met,
asked again
you were
and
already
tightened his
reborn.
grip.
Sima
Sima
Yue
Yue
was
was
very
very
conflicted
conflicted
about this
Shiman
question.
Feng.
At
She
that
spat
time,
out these 3
I had
words
just
with
been
difficulty.
reborn for a few months.
Shiman Feng's aura
Wu
suddenly
Ling's heart
changed,
relaxed,
bursting
and his
into a
heart
berserk
ached for
state.
her.
After
Who are
that,
you?
when
Who
he went
sent
to
you?
the 7
If you don't
prefectures
tell
of
me,
the southern
I will kill
desolation,
you.
he
Release
passed by
you.
a burnt ruin.
Little Roar saw
and
that
heard
the
the people
opponent
around
was
him
serious,
say that it was the
Sima
ruins
Yue's
of the
neck
Shiman
was
clan.
about to be broken
Just by
by
looking
him.
at the ruins,
With a kick of
he
his
could
short
imagine the
legs,
scene
he
at that
charged
time.
towards the opponent.
And that year,
Bang!
she saw her own
That person
clan
waved
being
his
engulfed
hand.
in the fire
Not
with her
only
own
did
eyes.
Little Roar not injure
Seeing
him,
her relatives
he
die
was also
tragically,
thrown far
he
away.
could imagine her
Little
heartache.
Roar fiercely
No
crashed
wonder she
into
was
the
like
wall,
that after
and a
regaining her
fist-sized
memories.
hole appeared on the wall.
He used to think about
Little
what
Roar.
happened to her.
Sima
that
Yue
caused
saw
her
that
to
Little
break
Roar
down
had
when
been
she
sent
advanced
flying
to
and
the
cried
divine
out
level.
worriedly.
He
She
thought of a
grabbed
million
onto that person's
possibilities,
hand with
but
both
he
of
didn't
her
think
hands.
of this.
Taking
Now he
advantage
also
of the
understood
moment
why
when
she
he
was like
stunned,
that when she saw
her body
Shiman
moved
Feng.
nimbly.
One
and she
escaped death
escaped from his
The other
grasp.
was reborn.
Yu,
They were very
Little
close
Roar,
brother and sister.
the man unconsciously
and could be
took
the
2
only
steps
person
back
in the clan.
and looked at
Naturally,
Sima
it would
Yue
be
in
like
disbelief.
that.
Roar.
Yingyang Palace
Little
belongs
Roar
to the
instantly
Southern
ran
Desolation
back
branch
and
palace.
transformed into his
Sima
original
Yue glared
form.
at him. He roared at the
I just
masked
knew
man
that there
and
are no
quickly
good
pounced
people
over
in the
Sage
When
Pavilion.
the man saw Little
This
Roar's
has
body,
nothing to do
he
with
was
me.
stunned and forgot
Wu
to
Lingyu
move.
said innocently.
Only when Little
You
Roar
know,
was right
I'm
in
from
front
the
of him
Divine Devil
did he
Valley.
reach out a hand
But
to
you're
stop
also the
Little
holy
Roar.
son of the
However,
Sage
this
Pavilion.
time,
He did
on
not
the
throw
surface,
Little Roar away.
You're also a
You're
member
no
of
match
the
for
Sage
me in your
Pavilion.
current state, he said hoarsely.
She didn't think
Even
that
if
the
I'm no
Yingyang
match for
Palace
you,
was
I will
actually
still
a
protect
subordinate
you.
of the Sage
Little
Pavilion.
Roar tried
But
his best
thinking
to
about
move,
the way the
but
Sage
the
Pavilion
opponent's
did
strength
things
was
in
too
the
strong.
Southern Desolation,
Even if he was
it
fully
was
recovered,
expected that there
he
would
would
be a
not be his
power like
opponent.
the Yingyang
Not
Palace.
to mention now that his
I might not be
injuries
the
had
Holy
not
Sun
fully
any
recovered.
time.
You guys can leave now. You
The
didn't tell
masked
me
man
clearly
retracted
at that
his
time.
power
Why did
and
the
left
pavilion
after
master
speaking to
want you
Sima
to go
Yue.
to the Sage Pavilion
Shiman Feng,
to
you
be
have
the
already
crown
recognized
prince?
me.
You didn't
Why
tell
don't
me
you
clearly
recognize
either.
me?
She moved
Sima
her
Yue
body
roared
and turned
The masked
sideways to
man's
face him.
footsteps faltered,
But he didn't
Don't
turn
try to
around.
scare me.
What are you
I've
talking
already
about?
told you my secret.
I don't understand.
Sima Yue said
I don't know
before
you,
he could speak.
so don't come looking
Wu
for me.
Lingyu thought about it and
Every
said,
time you lie,
because my soul
you press
is
your right
incomplete.
thumb against your
What
ring
does an
finger.
incomplete soul have
Sima
to do
Yue
with
said.
that?
Even
Sima Yue
after
didn't
so many
understand.
years, you still
That
haven't
old fart's
changed
time
this
is up.
habit. Because
The
my
masked
soul is
man's hand
incomplete.
paused. I'm the
He
best
quickly
host for released his thumb from his ring
Wu
finger
Lingyi said casually,
and continued to stride
"Possession."
forward. Sima Yue
"Sister,
sat up abruptly.
you've always been protecting
Could it be
me.
someone like
This
me?
time,
It's my turn to protect
She
you.
looked at him from
You
head
go
to
first.
toe.
Thinking
I'll wait
about
for
the
you to
soul
come
of an
back
old
and
fart
find
living
me
in
after
this
you've
body.
recovered.
She couldn't
Sister,
help
I'll
but
wait
shiver.
for you.
You have to
Speaking
stay
of which,
alive. I should be
Sister,
able to
I'll
break
wait
the
for you.
contract with
In my
Emosha
next
now.
life,
I'll still be your brother. Sima Yue said
you guys should
tearfully.
merge sooner.
Now that I'm
That
back,
way,
why are
that
you
old
pretending
fart
not
won't
to
be
know
able
me?
to do anything to you.
The face
Sima
under the
Yue
mask
said,
was also covered
speaking
in
of
tears.
which, his
Emosha
hands
hasn't come out
loosened and
for a long
loosened several
time.
times.
I don't know what
But
he's
in the
doing in
end,
the bracelet.
he left without looking
Maybe
back.
he's preparing to
Sima
merge.
Yue closed her
Wu
eyes
Lingyi
as she
guessed.
watched him leave.
I don't know.
She was too
I tried
familiar
to
with
contact him.
His small
but he actually
movements had
blocked our
already
contract.
exposed his identity.
That's why I can't
But he
contact
didn't want
him
to
now.
acknowledge her.
Sima Yue
And she
said
didn't want to
curiously,
acknowledge him.
Since you can't
You.
contact him,
Little
then
Lore
there's no
came
way
to
to break
Sima
the
Yue's
contract
side
for now.
and rubbed
There's
against
no
her
rush.
body. That
Sima
old
Yue
fart
stayed in the same spot for a while. Wu Ling
She
said.
turned around and
He's
sat
been
on
in
Little
closed
door
door
saying,
cultivation recently.
"Let's go back.
If he
We
succeeds
don't have to
in
hurry.
advancing, we can
Then
just
he'll
walk
have a
back
lot of
slowly.
time.
Living
All
in
right.
his own body
Little
is
Roar
better
was
than
unusually
finding a new
quiet
one,
and didn't say
I'm just
anything.
a spare tire
He
for
brought
him.
Sima Yue
Of
back
course.
to the inn.
In order to
After
make
they
use
left,
of this spare
a
tire,
voice came from the
he
corner
spent a lot
and
of
stared
good
blankly
resources
at their
on
backs.
me these past few years.
Sister, I'm sorry.
That's why you're so
Since
strong.
she's your sister,
Sima Yue
why don't you
pursed her
acknowledge
lips.
her?
The
The
last
last
time
time
I
I
saw
saw
you
you
save my brother,
Shimin Feng
I
turned
didn't
around.
see your strength.
Kong Seng Yi
Quick,
stood
tell
not
me.
far away
It's
and
fine
looked
if
at
you
him.
didn't see it.
Shimin Feng
You'll know in
smiled
the
bitterly.
future.
How can I
Wu Ling
acknowledge her
said,
when I'm
keeping
like
her in
this?
suspense.
If we're destined to be
TSK,
separated
I
by
won't
death
tell you
again,
if you don't want to.
then I'd rather
She
not
lay back
acknowledge
down.
her. What are
After
your
he
plans
finished
for this
speaking,
period of time?
he walked past
I
Kong
don't have
Seng
any
Yi and
plans.
returned to the inn.
Anyway,
Kong Seng
that
Yi
old
looked
fart
at
is in
Shimin
closed
Feng's
door
back and
cultivation
firmly clenched his
and doesn't
fist.
have time to
I
find me.
definitely won't
I'll
let
just
you
follow
die
you
for now.
When
He
Sima
smiled
Yue
and said,
returned to the inn,
Also, the
who
sky
knows
was
when
already
Emoshao will
bright.
wake up?
Everyone
It'll
had
be
already
troublesome
woken up
if you can't
and was
contact
waiting
me
for
then.
her.
Seeing her enter, it was obvious that she had cried. They were all worried. Yue.
Chapter 506.
Sima Yue waved her hand,
Sima Yue looked
telling
at him
Fatty
and waved
Chu
her
not to
hand,
speak
saying,
and not to ask.
It's up to you.
She then said
Anyway,
to
with
Beigong
my
Tang,
current strength,
I'll
I'm
go back
considered
now.
a weakling.
You can wait
With
here
an
for my
expert
news.
like you by my side.
All right,
I'll be safer.
Beigong Tang knew
Wu
that
Ling
she
Yu
wasn't
also
in a
laid
good
down.
mood and nodded.
The two of them
Are you
lay
going
there
alone?
quietly for a while.
Why don't you let your senior
After a
go
while,
with you? He
Him,
opened his eyes
Sima
and found
Yue
that
was
Sima
startled,
Yue was already
as if she had
asleep.
already forgotten
Looking
about
at her
Wu Ling Yu.
sleeping face,
I'll
he
ask
was
him if he wants
momentarily
to go with me.
mesmerized.
The
He
door
knew that
to
her
her
room
room
opened
slept.
and Wu Ling Yu
Other
came
than
out
when
saying,
she fainted at the
I'll go with you,
teleportation
let's
array.
go. She
The
would
two of them
cultivate
walked
and
outside
study
by
whenever
side.
she had time.
In order to
When
save
she was
Iman
tired,
and her son,
she would cultivate her soul
temporarily
to get
suppressed
rid of her
her
emotions.
fatigue.
He knew
By the
that she
time
was
she
a very
reached the
vigilant
Beigong
person.
clan,
She
now
had
that
already
she was
calmed
sleeping
down
peacefully
and
beside
you
him,
again.
it was because
Young
she
Master
subconsciously
please.
trusted him.
The guards had
Thinking
already
of this,
received instructions.
his lips curled
And
into
when
a
they
charming
saw Sima
smile.
Yue walking
Sima
over,
Yue did not
they
know
led
how
them to
long
the main
she had
hall.
slept.
When they
But
arrived,
when she opened her
Beigong
eyes,
Xiong was
she saw a
talking to a
certain
few
someone's
clan
charming
elders.
smile.
When he heard
What
that
are you
Sima
thinking
Yue
about?
and the rest
Why are
were
you so
here,
happy?
he immediately
Sima
got
Yue
someone
rubbed
to
her
bring them
eyes
in
and asked in
When
confusion.
Sima Yue saw
She
Beigong
felt that she was a
Xiong,
little sleepy.
she asked anxiously.
It must have been a long
Clan
time.
leader Beigong.
She couldn't remember
The ingredients
how long
have
it
already
had been
been
since
sent
she had a
over.
good night's
When
sleep.
will we start refining
She didn't
the pills?
expect to fall asleep here
Haha.
today.
I heard
Not
Xiao Yi
long,
say
only
that
a
someone
day.
was looking for
Wu
young
Ling Yu
Master
sat up and
Siyu
said,
yesterday.
One day,
I guess that someone
Sima
from
Yue
your clan had
screamed.
come. Why did I sleep for so
Beigong
long?
Xiong said
You've
with
been
a
too
smile.
tired recently.
I've already
Wu Ling Yu
instructed
said.
those few
Let's go out
alchemists to wait
quickly.
in the pill
Feng
refining
and
room.
the others must be worried.
Beigong Xiong looked
She
at
quickly
Sima
stood
Yue
up and
with a
said
burning
anxiously,
gaze. Because
Don't worry,
Beigong
they
Heir
won't
did
be in a
not
hurry.
disappoint him
Isn't
yesterday
Third Mo busy
and brought
today?
back news about
Although
Sima
Wu Ling Yu
Yue.
said that,
When the
he still
Beigong
stood
clan
up,
found out that they
opened
were
the
from
little
the
realm,
central regions
and brought her out.
They were very
Sister,
excited
where did you
and
go?
paid more attention
Seeing
to the
Sima
pill
Yue,
refining this time.
Shimin Feng immediately
If they were
came up and
successful,
asked worriedly.
they might even be
She
connected
glared at
to
Wu
the
Ling Yu
powers
as she
in the
spoke.
central regions.
Sima Yue
We can't do
smiled
it
and
today.
patted his shoulder, saying,
Sima Yue said,
It's nothing.
The Buddha
I
Lotus
just went
hasn't
to a
arrived
place
yet
and was delayed
Even
for a
if
while.
we go and get it
How
today,
are things going
it will
with you?
only arrive tomorrow.
Third Master Emo
Then
has
we'll
already
wait for
agreed
one
to
more
help
day.
Kong Valley.
Beigong
Kong
Xiong
Seng Yi
said,
All right.
Sima Yue did
Then
not
we'll
see
set it
Third
for the
Mo
morning of
and
the
raised
day
her
after
eyebrows.
tomorrow.
Where
Sima
is he?
Yue said.
He said that
I
he's
hope
here
that
to
we can
appraise
start the
stones
day
for a
after
family
tomorrow.
here.
Today
Today
is
is
the
the
last
Beigong
day,
clan
and he'll
can
be back
inform
in
the
the
masters. Kong Seng
That's
Yi
not a
said.
problem.
Although
Beigong
Rascal
Xiong
3 is good
replied,
in all areas,
Then I'll send
he's
someone
the
to
best
bring
at
you to
judging
rest.
mountains and stones.
All right.
It
Sima
just so
Yue
happened
said,
that Beigong
You're
Ao
looking
was
for him
around.
for this.
So Beigong
Kong
Xiong
Seng
did
did
not
not
to
hide
send
it
them
from
to
her
rest.
anymore and said,
Sima Yue
Yes,
did not
we found
say
a
much
mine a
along
few
the
days
way.
ago.
When they
But we
passed
don't
by
know
the
where to
abandoned
start.
courtyard,
So we wanted
Sima
to
Yue
ask
stopped
Third
and
Master
said,
Emo to take a
Is
look.
this an abandoned
Sima
courtyard?
Yue didn't understand
Yes.
it in the past.
The Beigong
but
clan
now she
actually
understood.
has such an abandoned
There were
courtyard.
many strange
It looks
spiritual
really out of
stones under
place.
the mine.
Why didn't
Because
they
the
tear
mine
it
had
down
been
and
buried
buried
something
underground
else.
for many years.
This was the place
All
where my
kinds of
late wife
spiritual
lived.
energy formed
After
in
she
the
died,
mountain, and
I was so
gradually formed a
heartbroken that I
force.
didn't dare to
This
come
force
here.
was closely
I couldn't
related
bear
to the
to erase
spiritual
her
stones in the
existence,
mountain,
so I just left it here.
I didn't expect it to
If
be
the
in
force
such a
didn't spread out
dilapidated
along the
state.
terrain when the
Sigh
mine
my
started,
heart.
it
Young
would be
Master
chaotic in the
Beigong
mountain,
and your late wife
and
were
caused
really
trouble
deeply
for
in
mining.
love.
It
Seema
might even
Yue
kill
said
people.
ambiguously.
Therefore,
But why
once
do I
a
smell
mine
a
was
medicinal
discovered,
fragrance?
everyone would ask a spirit seeker to find the
Chapter
right place to mine
493.
and release the power.
Beigong Ao's
Is there a
expression
problem
changed
with your
slightly.
mine?
He had forgotten that
asked.
Seema Yue
Every
was
power
also
had
an
their own
alchemist.
mind.
This
Quickly
Kong Valley's
smiled and
position
said,
in the inner
maybe
regions
there are
was not
people
low,
refining pills
so
in the
naturally,
surrounding
they had their own
courtyards.
mine.
That's
No,
true.
the mine was fine in
Alchemy
the past.
aristocratic families
Kong
concoct
said,
pills everywhere.
But we recently
Sima
found a
Yue
mine.
smiled,
Our spirit
and did not
seekers
pursue
said
the matter
that there would
any
be
further.
many rare spiritual
This made
stones
Beigong
in the
Ao
mine.
heave a sigh of relief.
That's not bad.
When they arrived at
Sima
the place
Yue
where
understood
Sima
the
Yue
importance
and
of
the rest were
discovering a mine,
temporarily staying,
especially
Beigong
one that
Ao
could produce
quickly
rare
left.
spiritual
The
stones.
words that Sima Yue
When we
had
found
said,
this mine,
whether
the valley was
intentionally or
naturally very
unintentionally,
happy. But
made
our
him
spirit
feel
seeker's
embarrassed.
words made
He
everyone
thought that
worried.
she had discovered
He
something,
said that for some reason,
but her behavior
the
seemed
terrain
to
of the mine
indicate
was very
otherwise.
different from other
Sima
mines.
Yue looked at
He
Beigong
said that the
Ao's
force
back
inside
and
was
thought
too
about what he had
complicated
just said
and could not
she
be
felt
opened
disgusted.
casually.
He was on the
Otherwise,
same
the
level
entire
as
mine
Beigong
would be
Ao.
destroyed.
Sure enough,
Shimin Feng,
what kind of
and I
person
only
raised
received
what kind
this
of
news
daughter?
when we reached
She
the
entered
outer
the courtyard
regions.
and found the
We
goshawk
also found
king.
out that third
She had him
master
pretend
Mo
to
was
send
also
someone
in the
back
outer regions
and pretend
we
that
thought
he
of
was
a way
going
to
to find
retrieve
him
the Buddha lotus
and asked him to help
the
us take a
goshawk king
look.
signaled someone
Speaking
with
up
his
to
eyes.
this point,
And that
she went
person
forward
went
to
out.
hold Sima
He
Yue's
transformed
hand
into
and
his
said with
true
a smile
form
and flew
We
out of
really
the
have
city.
to thank you this
When the
time.
Beigong clan
If it
saw
wasn't
the
for
eagles
you,
leaving,
we would have
they
made
felt
a
that they
wasted
were
trip.
definitely going to
She
retrieve
already
the
knew
Buddha
that
lotus.
Sima Yue was
They
a
were
girl,
even more
so
convinced
naturally,
of Sima Yue's
she did not
ability
avoid
to
this
concoct
topic.
pills.
I
After
haven't properly
introducing
thanked you
Wu
for
Lingyu and the
saving
goshawk
Feng.
king,
This is
Sima
nothing.
Yue found a chair
Also,
and sat
with
down.
shameless third's
She took out a
personality.
spirit fruit.
I'm afraid
and
he
started
won't help you
munching
for
on
free.
it. The
Sima
goshawk
Yue
king
said
looked
with a
at her
smile.
unhurried
We
expression
naturally
and
need
asked,
to pay him for
"Did
his
you
help.
really give the pill
But if
recipe
it wasn't
to the
for you,
Beigong
we
clan?
wouldn't even have this
Yes.
chance."
Sima Yue
Kong
nodded.
Sengyi said,
"You're really
Sima
willing."
Yue did not
I didn't
continue
say
to
that
chat
what I
with her
gave
and
was
change
real.
the topic.
You gave me a
Then
fake.
are you guys going
The
back?
goshawk king looked
Kong
at her in
Sengyi looked at
surprise.
Shimin Feng and
We were
shook her
there
head.
when you gave her the pill
We're not
recipe.
going back.
That
Third
third
master
master
doesn't
said
look
that
like
he
he
won't
won't have
have time
time
today.
these few months.
It's obviously
He will
from
go after
ancient
some
times.
time.
When
That
the
kind
time
of thing can
comes,
be made.
there will be people
Sima
from the
Yue
valley
said.
coming to pick him
However,
up. The authenticity
Yue
of the pill
understood that
formula
Shimin
is
Feng
almost
was
90%
not
certain.
willing to go back.
Otherwise,
So
how
she
could it
also
scare
did not
those
want
old
to go
fellows?
back.
I
She
only
really had
changed a
deep
little
feelings
bit.
for this
The
brother of
slightest
hers.
difference can lead
Although
to
her
a huge
reputation
loss.
wasn't good
They can
before,
only stare at that
she had
pill
a straightforward
formula and fret
personality,
forever.
and she liked
The
her.
goshawk king
This
looked
time,
at Sima Yue
Third Master Mo
speechlessly.
came back late
After
at
a
night.
while, he said,
The moment he came
"Everyone
back,
says that
he
humans
told
are
Sima
cunning.
Yue
That
that
there
there
was
was something
something
good
good
in the auction at
Wrong.
Xian Yuan Pavilion,
Sima Yue shook
and
the
that they
finger
must
of the
go.
hand that was
Although
holding the
Sima Yue
spiritual
had
fruit
already
and said,
decided to go to the
"Not all
auction.
humans are cunning."
She was still very
Some are
curious
cunning
about the
some
good
are simple
stuff that could
some are
attract
sometimes
Third Master
simple,
Mo.
and some are sometimes cunning. The goshawk king shook his head. Third
Humans
Master
are truly
smiled
complicated.
mysteriously and
You're
said,
right.
"It
Sima
said that
Yue
there is a
took a
piece
bite
of
of
the
ore
from
from
the
the
ancient
ancient
times.
Compared to
Or
the
from the
violence
ancient
and simplicity
times.
of spirit
Several
beasts,
people gasped.
humans are much
Isn't
more
this the
complicated.
ancient times?
However,
It's even further
if you
back.
interact more with
The things
humans
left behind
you
at
will
that
find
time
that humans
are
are
probably
actually
not
quite
ordinary.
interesting.
Yes,
The goshawk
that's
king
why
shook
I
his
said
head.
that this auction is worth going.
He did not listen
Third
to
Master
Sima
Mo
Yue's
smiled
words.
and said,
We
"Interacting with
originally
her was
planned
enough
to go
to
to
show
the
how
auction.
cunning humans
Now
were.
it's a good time to
He
go
already
together."
did not have any
Sima
thoughts of
Yue
interacting
replied,
with humans.
Then it's decided.
Once this matter
Yue,
was settled,
give me some
he
of
would
that
bring
fruit
his people
wine.
back.
You only gave
Sima
me one
Yue
jar
saw
last
the
night.
goshawk king's
I
expression
don't even want to drink
and knew
anymore
that he
today.
did not have such
Didn't
thoughts.
you say that you quit?
However,
She
she had only
teased.
come here to seek
I
help.
won't drink that kind
Although
of strong
he was willing
alcohol
to help
anymore.
her because of
But
Little
this
Rock.
kind of fruit
It
wine
was
is
also
not
a
bad.
friendship.
I can
She
drink
could
it.
not force him.
Third Master
That's
Mo
right.
smiled and said,
After this matter
Look
is
at
settled,
you.
don't
No
go
matter
back
how much
first.
I give you,
Stay
it
for a
won't
while.
be enough for you to drink.
She said.
The
Although she
goshawk
scolded
king
him,
nodded.
Sima
had
Yue
heard
still
Sima
took out a
Yue's
lot of wine
analysis.
for him.
This
Ever
matter
since
could
she
possibly
recovered her
involve
memories,
the three powers
she
of
remembered
Autumn Moon
this old
City.
friend of hers.
When the time came,
At that time,
if there was a battle,
she started
he would
to
have
let
to
little
appear
spirit
to protect
brew a
them.
large amount of
At
fruit
night,
wine.
Sima
Since
Yue let
little
Little
Spirit
Roar
and
go
the
to the
others
prison
were bored
again
inside,
to confirm Yinlan
she might as well
and
find
Beigong
something
Tang's
for them to
situation.
do.
After
After
this
this period
period
of time,
she told them
there were
that
actually
Beigong Tang
countless
would come
bottles
the
of
next
wine
day to
in the
ask for
Spirit
them.
Pagoda.
She would
They
bring them
once
out
asked
and
her
let
why
them
she
prepare
prepared so much
All
wine.
right, actually
In the
they did
past,
not
it was
need
just
to
enough
prepare.
for everyone
everyone to
They
drink.
just needed to mentally
Now this
prepare
amount was
themselves.
far beyond what
Little
they could
Roy
drink.
left after passing the message, leaving behind the extremely excited mother and son. At this moment,
In
507,
another large courtyard of the
since Third
Baegong
Emo
family,
had settled his matters
Baegong
here,
Air was currently
Sima
discussing
Yue
something
and the
with her
rest planned
parents.
to head to Feng
Gu
City,
Yan
where
Air
the
furrowed her
Xianyuan
brows as
Pavilion
she
was
looked at her
holding the
daughter,
auction.
saying,
Feng City
you
was
really
in the
want to be with
northwest
him?
direction of
Baegong
City.
Air nodded
It
her
was
head
right
with
between
certainty.
Autumn Moon City
Mother,
and Feng
think
City.
about it.
So
He's
she
someone
thought of a
from the
way to
Central
inform
Regions.
Baegong Tang
If I can follow
and the
him,
others that she
wouldn't
was
I
safe
be able
before
to go
setting
to the
off for
Central
Feng
Regions
City.
with him?
Sima
And you
Yue
guys can
Shim
also
and Feng
form
were
a
dizzy from
relationship
using
with
the
that
teleportation array.
Mother, this
However,
is a good opportunity.
the distance from here to
Furthermore,
Feng City was
he's
very
so
far.
elegant and has
It would
such
take
an
at least
amiable
3 to 5
personality.
years.
Wouldn't it be my
Therefore,
dream
they could
to
only
be able
use
to
the
be with someone
teleportation
like
array.
this? But luckily,
if you go so
the
far
clan
away,
that Third Mo
it'll be
helped
hard
was a
for Mother
prominent
to
clan
even
here.
see you and manage the teleportation
looked at her daughter
array.
with reluctance.
She went to research the teleportation array
filled
to Feng
with
City
dissatisfaction
and found out the
Mother,
coordinates of Feng
between
City.
being able to see
She
me
and
often
Third
and
Mo
being
spent
able
over
to
10
go
days
further.
to set up such a
Which do you think is
long-distance
more important?
teleportation array.
Mother,
Wu
you
Lingyi
can't
said
delay
that she
your
would
daughter's
open up a
happiness
spatial
just
tunnel to
because
bring
you
them
can't
over.
bear to part with her.
However,
Furthermore,
Sima Yue thought that
don't
she
you
had
still have
nothing
little
to do
brother
recently,
after I leave?
so she could
Isn't
use
it
this
the
to
same
practice.
if he stays by your
She
side?
had never set up
If
such a
daughter wants
long-distance
to go, then let him
teleportation
go.
array before.
Bei Gong
So she wanted to give it a
try,
try, saying,
I didn't
"Daughter
expect
likes
you to
it.
learn so
I
many
think
things
that
after
Siyu
your
is a good
rebirth.
person.
Third
and is
Mo
worthy
already
of our
knew
little
about
heir.
Sima Yue's
Furthermore,
rebirth.
if
He
we
also
can
knew
form a
that she knew how to
relationship with
tame
the
beasts
beasts
and
and
array
array
formations.
our Bei Gong
I do
family
know more than
status
before.
will be even higher.
I was interested
Look,
in
the
alchemy
Earth
in the
Palace
past,
and the Bei Gong
now that I
family
have
have
a
long
chance
been
to start
connected.
over. Why
And I
didn't
have
they
a
make a
blood
move
feud.
against the Yin
The
family?
more I know, the better.
It's because they have
Sima Yue
connections with the
said,
powers
I
in
was
the central
worried that you would
regions.
bite off more
If
than
we
you
can
can
form
chew
a
when I heard
relationship
that
with
you
them,
knew how to do
we
these
can
things.
destroy the Yin family.
I didn't expect you
Isn't
to do
this your
everything
mother's
so
wish?
well. Third Mo said,
That's right, Mother.
Say,
Look at
if
how
someone
sensible
like you
father
becomes
is.
famous in the
Bei
continent,
Gong
I'll
smiled
just
when
give
she
up my
heard Bei
title
Gong
of Ghost
words.
Genius to you. Sai,
All right, I
since
only
both
know a
of you
little.
think this way,
Since I've been
then
with
do
you
as you
recently,
wish. Why
Hu
don't you
Yan
give me
said
some
helplessly.
pointers?
She
Then
said
Father
with a
will
smile.
go find see you tomorrow
Sure.
to sound him
Third
out
Mo agreed
and see if
readily.
he has any
He
intentions.
was originally on good
Bei
terms
Gong
with
said,
Sima Yu.
Thank
and
you,
saw
Father.
her as a close
Then
friend.
I'll head back first.
The last time he
Bei
was
Gong
unable
left
to save
happily
her
because
no
he was
matter
drunk.
if Siyu had
He had
any
always
intentions
regretted
or
it.
not.
Now
She
that
wanted
she
to
had
become
become
his
reborn,
woman.
he
It was
naturally
fine if
wanted
he was
to make
willing.
up for the guilt
If
in
he
his
wasn't,
heart.
she would
After
create
the
an
teleportation
opportunity for
portal
him
was
to
set
have no
up,
choice but to
Kong
marry
Sengyi
her.
was amazed and
Men,
exclaimed that
young
Sima
Mississippi,
Yue was even more
go find
talented than
Grandma
a
son
ghost.
for me.
Tell
Aren't
her
we
that I
together
need
with
those
Rascal
pills.
3?
Ask
Most
her
of
to
the
prepare
time,
2 sets
he's
for
the one
me.
doing it.
The next
I'm just
morning,
helping him from the
Bei Gong
side.
came to
Sima
find
Yue
Sima
said,
Yue
It's
and
such
asked
a
someone to
long-distance
invite her over for
teleportation
tea.
array.
Sima
the
Yue
two of
didn't
you
know
really
what Bei Gong
accurate?
wanted
Could it
to
have
do,
teleported us
so she
somewhere
followed
else?
the person who
Wu
came
Lingyi
over.
frowned.
Young
Ahem.
Master Siyu,
Sima
please
Yue
have a
coughed
seat.
unnaturally.
Bei Gong
Although we know
waved
the
his
coordinates,
hand and
Rascal
invited
San
Sima
said that
Yue
the
to the
distance
seat
is too
opposite
far.
him. So
Sima
there
Yue
might be
sat
some
down
deviation.
unceremoniously
However,
and said,
it won't be too
I
far
wonder
off.
why young Master
Big
Bei Gong
sister,
called me over?
Is there really no
Haha,
problem
it's
with your
nothing
transfer
much.
array?
My father
Shimen
and
Feng
grandfather
asked
told
somewhat
me to be a
fearfully.
good host.
I also thought that young Master Siyu
No,
and I
trust
hit it
me.
off.
Sima
So I
Yue
wanted to
patted
invite
Shimen
you
Feng's
over for
shoulder.
tea.
How
Bei
can I
Gong
joke about
smiled
everyone's
and
lives?
said, This
Besides,
is the Jade
even
Dragon
if you
Snow
don't
Mountain
trust me,
ginseng tea
don't
from
you
the
trust
Central
Shameless
Regions.
3?
Young
It
Master
can't be worse
Siyu
than
try
those
it.
teleportation
Young
arrays,
Master
right?
Bei Gong is
I
too
don't
polite.
think so.
Although the
Sima
Jade
Yue
Dragon
said
Snow Mountain's
uncertainly.
ginseng
The
tea isn't real
teleportation
ginseng.
arrays that she set
It's
up
famous
usually
because
didn't
it cause
cause people
people
to
to feel
ginseng.
dizzy. The entire
However,
Snow Mountain
she had
doesn't
never
produce
tried
much in
such
a
a year.
long-distance
I didn't think
teleportation
that I would be
before.
able to drink it
She
here.
didn't know how effective
She said
it
as
would
she
be.
took a sip,
Feeling
praising,
uneasy.
Good tea.
The few of
When
them
Bei Gong
stepped into the
heard her say
teleportation
that,
array. She smiled
after
even
Sima
more
Yue
happily.
activated
Most
the
people would
teleportation
think that the
array.
Jade Dragon
The few
Snow
of them
Mountain's
quickly
ginseng
disappeared
tea
from their
was
original
brewed from
spot.
ginseng.
The
Only
teleportation
people from the
array
Central
also
Regions
turned into
knew its
ashes
true
after they
identity.
disappeared.
Since she could
Hundreds
say it
of
so
thousands of
casually,
miles away from
it seemed
Feng
like
City,
she really came
a
from
group
the
of
Central
people were
Regions.
running wildly.
They escaped from the mountains to the
Chapter
plains
494
and kept running
One of
towards
the
Feng
reasons
City.
why he took
The
out the
people on the
ginseng tea
spirit
from the
beast's
Jade
back
Dragon
were running
Snow
wildly
Mountain
on the plains
was to verify
the
if
people on the
Sima
spirit
Yue
beast
was from the
back
inner
kept looking
regions.
back. If she
When
was,
they
she
saw
should
the
know the
people
difference.
chasing them from the
New
mountains,
Dagger oddly
their
knew
expressions
address.
changed.
Young Lord Siyu looks
Little
very
young
young.
master, I wonder
Little
how
miss,
old you are.
We will try to delay
Sima
those
Yue
people
lowered
in a
her
while.
head to drink her
You
tea.
just have to
her
keep
eyes
running
flashing.
forward.
What
Don't
was
look
this
back.
scumbag trying
Just
to
wait
do
for
by asking her
reinforcements.
age?
A
Could it be
middle-aged
that he
man
wanted to
said
marry
his
his daughter
master
to her?
They have so
Thinking
many
back
people.
to when he said
What's
that the
the
wine
point
was
of you
prettier.
staying? She
We've
couldn't
already
help but
lost so
shiver.
many people.
I'm 25.
If you go back, it'll be a
25.
waste.
The lady
Bei
who
Gong
was
looked protected in the middle said, a 25-year-old for little miss travel so far. Master. She would definitely be a big shot in the future. As long as you are safe, my daughter is 23 this year. So the age difference between the two of you isn't that big. The others agreed. She didn't want to reply and just laughed. The middle-aged man glanced at the others. Married yet? The group of people flew up from the spirit beast's back and waited in the air for those people and muttered in her heart, Uncle Zhang Tang. The lady shouted. And the rest weren't here However, the spirit beast carried them further and further away. My parents said that I'm still young, go back now, and my temperament is not let them die in vain. It's still too early to get married. Junhui, besides, if I see him, cultivators find it too early to get married. The lady clenched her fists and looked at the people. I don't want to let a woman control me so early. Seeing that
better
the
to be
people
alone
chasing
and
them were
free.
getting closer and closer.
wasn't an idiot.
Both sides
and knew
started
that
fighting.
Sima Yue was rejecting him.
Half of the people
However,
on this side
seeing
were
that
killed.
Beigong Air
Only
wasn't
3
happy,
to 5 people
he could
were
only
left.
smile and say,
The other people
the
saw that
ancients
there
said
weren't
that
many
to start
of
a
them.
family,
They went
start
around
a family
them and
first,
chased
then
after the
start a
siblings.
career.
As
Big
a man,
sister,
there's
I'll
no
go stop
such
them.
thing as sooner
The young
or later.
man stood up and
I
said,
still have a few
"You're
older
silly.
brothers at home.
I'm stronger
They're
than
not
you.
in a hurry.
I'll go.
So I'm even
Big
less
sister,
anxious.
father and mother
I
have
still
always
want
taken
highly
advantage
of
of
you.
my youth.
You're strong
and travel
unlike
around
me.
the continent.
You have to live."
Sima Yue
No,
said,
you're the only male in
Hee
our
hee.
family.
Beigong
You'll
Ao
definitely
didn't know what
take
to
up
say
the
to
responsibility
Sima
of the
Yue.
family.
She had already
in the
made
future.
it so obvious.
If you can survive
so
today,
he couldn't just stick
you
to
must
her.
kick Junhui.
Looking at his
And
daughter's
branch out
expression,
of the Jun
he
family
sighed in his
forever.
heart and continued to smile.
Actually,
Only
I
then will you
invited
be
you to
able
drink
to
tea
live up
today
to the people
because
who
I have
died
something
today.
to discuss
Do
with
you
young
remember?
Lord. Ha ha ha.
Sima Yue raised
siblings
her
should stop
eyebrows.
fighting.
Could
Today,
it be that
none of you
something
can
went
leave.
wrong with the alchemy?
Arrogant laughter
No.
came from behind.
Beigong Ao
Those
raised his
people
head
quickly
and said,
caught up to them.
"It's like this."
And landed
My daughter
on the
fell in
ground,
love with young
surrounding
Master
them.
See You at first
Seeing
sight.
the murderous looks
So
on
I
their
shamelessly
faces,
came to
the
ask
siblings'
for your
hearts
opinion.
sank.
It
Sima
looked like their
Yue's eyes
chances of
widened.
surviving
He
today
really
were
wanted
not
to
high.
propose marriage
On the
to
other
her.
side,
How
the guards were
disgusting.
all taken care
Cough,
of.
cough.
The
I've
remaining
heard that
people
young
also
Master
caught up and
Beigong has
surrounded
2
them.
daughters.
In
One
a
is
while,
called Beigong
find
Tang,
a chance to
and
escape
the other
from
is
their
called
encirclement.
Beigong Air.
I'll
I wonder
self-destruct
which
and
little
kill
miss
some
has
of them.
taken a fancy
It'll
to
delay
me.
them.
The
Beigong
lady
Ao
said
was startled
resolutely.
when he heard
Big
Beigong
sister.
Tang's name.
The man's
He
eyes
immediately
widened in
furrowed
shock.
his brows.
Seeing that she
How
had
did the
made up
other
her
party
mind,
know about
his eyes were
Beigong
filled
Tang's
with
matters?
pain.
Without
Don't give
waiting
her a
for him
chance
to
to
reply,
self-destruct.
Sima Yue
Hurry up and
continued.
do it.
But
A
no
man
matter
shouted,
who it is,
when the lady
I don't
heard
want
that,
to get married.
she quickly mobilized the
I've let you
spiritual
down,
energy in her
my
body
daughter,
and prepared
Beigong
to
Ao wanted to
self-destruct.
work hard for his
However,
daughter.
she
and
was
praised
knocked
how
off the
outstanding
spirit
his
beast
daughter
and fell
was.
to the ground.
But before he could
She
say
clutched
anything,
her chest and
a
spat
guard
out a
hurriedly
mouthful
ran
of blood
in
and whispered a
sister,
few words into
the
his
man
ear.
jumped down and supported
What?
the lady.
Are you telling the
He
truth?
glared at the group of people
Beigong Ao
hatefully.
looked at the guard
Were they
in
really
shock.
going to die here
Yes,
today?
they're already
At
blocking
this moment,
the entrance.
a passage
The clan
suddenly
had
opened
opened
young
in the
master
air.
to go over
2 people
quickly.
fell from it.
The guard
3
replied,
people came out from
"Young
behind
Master See
and
You."
quickly supported
Since
the
young
2
Master
people.
Beigong has
The
something
sudden
to do,
appearance of the people
I'll head
on the
back
ground
first.
interrupted the
Sima Yue
actions of
stood
the
up and
people on
said,
the ground.
"All right,
They
I'll
raised
get
their
someone
heads
to
and
send
looked
you
at them.
back."
Seeing that
Beigong
Wu
Ao
Ling
waved his
supported
hand,
Sima
and a
Yue to the
servant girl
ground.
walked over.
The man
leading
subconsciously
Sima
called
Yue
out.
away.
Yue?
Beigong Air, who was upstairs, heard Sima Yue's rejection and was furious. She thought of the medicine her servant
Chapter
girl brought
508.
back last night
Sima
and
Yue
said,
heard someone
"I
calling
didn't
her
want to
name
use this
and
method
looked
on
at
you,
them.
but
She
you
was
forced me
surprised
to."
when she recognized
"Young miss,
them.
it's bad, it's
Junlan,
bad."
Jun
Beigong
Tian, why
Air's
are you
personal
here?
servant girl
Shimen
hurriedly
Feng
ran
looked at
upstairs and
Junlan
shouted
and Jun Tian
frantically
and asked,
"Shut up, I know
Sister,
it's bad.
do you know them?
Beigong Air
Sima Yue
shouted at the
nodded.
servant girl.
Sort of.
The servant
Junlan
girl was
didn't know
stunned.
Sima Yue.
Young Miss knew what
when they
happened
met at the
outside,
Xianyuan Pavilion.
but young Miss had always
Sima
been
Yue
in the
was
backyard.
completely covered
How
in a
could
cloak,
she know what happened
so
outside?
she couldn't recognize her at
Beigong Air
all.
saw that the
However,
servant girl was stunned.
Junlan had
and
spent
not
a
saying
few days
anything
with
and
Sima
shouted,
Yue on
"What are
Forgotten
you
Worry
standing
Island.
there for?"
When the people
Hurry up
chasing
and
them
pour me
saw
some
that
water.
Sima Yue
Are
and
you dead?
Junlan knew each other,
Yes,
they
yes,
said,
yes, this servant
"This
will
matter
go
cannot
immediately."
be spread.
The servant
Kill
girl
them all.
hurriedly went out to
Yes.
make tea.
Run.
After a while,
Junlan
the
clutched her
servant girl
chest
brought
and
in a
shouted
cup
at
of
them.
tea and placed it on
Originally,
the table, saying,
it had nothing
"Young
to do
miss,
with you.
please have
But
some
you were
tea."
unlucky enough to
Beigong
see it.
Air picked up the
Don't
tea
leave a
and
single
used
one
the lid
alive.
of the cup to
Kill
stir
them
the
all.
tea leaves.
The leader
saying,
ordered.
"Father
What
left
arrogance.
in such a hurry.
Not many people
Did something
in the
happen?
primordial lands dare
Doesn't
to
young
say
miss
that they
know?
will kill me."
The servant girl
Third
said,
laughed evilly.
"I didn't even go out.
I hate it
How
when
would I
people
know?"
point a knife at
Beigong
me.
Air scolded.
Kong Sang Yi
But when
looked
this
at those
servant
people,
came in just
took
now,
out a bell,
and
and
shook
shook
it
it
twice.
twice.
Young
Kong
Miss
said
said
he
these
knew it
people.
was bad.
Seeing
The
the bell
servant
and
girl
Kong
said,
Sang Yi's
feeling
hand,
wronged. Those
you
people
still dare to
immediately
quibble?
recognized him.
Beigong Air stretched
do
out
have
a
some
hand and
knowledge.
grabbed the servant
Kong
girl's
Sang Yi
arm,
did not deny
twisting
it.
it forcefully.
Recognizing Kong
Speak what
Sang Yi's
happened.
identity,
It's
those
Beigong
people's
Tang
faces
who came
became
back.
somewhat ugly.
She said she wanted to take her
they had
mother
no
and
choice
younger
but
brother
to fire
away.
now.
She's
Even
causing
if
a
they knew
ruckus
that they were
outside
from
the main
ancient
gate.
Kong Ming,
The
they
servant
could
girl
not let
said,
them leave.
"Peng,
Charge.
gong air through the
Besides
scalding
Sima
hot
Yue,
teacup
the
in
other
her
four
hand
went
onto
over.
the servant girl.
Each of them was
She
assigned
stood
a
up and
few
shouted,
people.
and
Why
it
didn't
didn't
you say
take long for
something
them
so
to settle
important earlier?
everything.
Useless
Sima
thing.
Yue came to Junlan,
After speaking,
and
she
Jun
hurriedly
Tian
ran
sighed.
out.
Seeing
The
the
servant
dazed
girl
Jun
did not
Tian,
have
she
time to
reminded,
change her clothes.
"Aren't you going to
and
feed
could
your
only
sister the
use her
pill?"
spiritual
Oh,
energy
only
to dry
then
her
did Jun
clothes
Tian
before
remember
rushing
to give
out.
Junlan a
It
pill
was a
and
good
said,
thing that they were all
"Why are you here?
cultivators. When
So
did you
this
come
bit of
up?
scalding was not
A few
considered
months.
serious.
Sima Yue frowned when she
followed
saw
the
the
servant
pill
girl
that
to
Jun
the
Tian
place where
took
she
out.
lived.
Seeing that he was about to feed it to Junlan,
When she passed by
she
the
grabbed
abandoned
his hand.
courtyard,
What's
she
wrong?
came behind the servant
siblings
girl
looked at her
and
in
took out a
confusion.
medicine bottle.
This pill doesn't
The servant
smell
girl
right.
smelled a
Sima
fragrance
Yue took the
and
pill
did not
from
have
Jun
time to
Tian's
think
hand before
and
she
sniffed it
collapsed.
carefully.
Then
Yue
she
kept
threw
the
it on the
servant
ground.
girl into her
There are
spirit
2 herbs
pagoda.
inside.
Then took
Once
out the
you
mother
take it,
sunstone.
not only will
and
it not
contacted
save
ruling
you,
it will also
after
take
that,
your life.
she called out little
What?
roar and
The
fused
siblings
with
were
him.
shocked.
Entering the
It must have been
courtyard in a
planned long
flash.
ago. Walking into the
Juntian said
courtyard
hatefully.
Sima Yue
recalled
took out
all
a
the
pill
scarlet bees
and
that
handed
were
it to
guarding the
Junlan,
place,
saying,
Then, no
she
matter
entered
which
the
of you
house
siblings
and found
is
the
injured,
underground passageway.
as long as you take this
successfully
pill,
entering
even
it,
if it didn't
the
kill
passageway
you,
was too
this
dark.
pill will take your
She
life.
released a wisp of
Luckily,
flame
Junlan,
and had it open
you're
a path
lucky to
in
have
front
met
of her.
us.
Directly
You know me?
arriving at the
Junlan
side of the
looked
2
at Sima
prisons.
Yue in surprise.
Yinlan and Beigong
She didn't
Heng had
remember
long
such
heard
a
the
commotion.
commotion. When they
Sis,
saw Sima
she's
Yue
the one I
enter
told
with
you
the
about
flame,
before.
they both stood up.
Sima Yue from
Auntie,
the Yiling
I'm here to
continent
save
Sima
you guys.
family.
I'll attack the
Juntian
chains
said.
now.
Sima
You
Yue
guys stay
smiled.
back. We've met
Sima
before.
Yue said as
We've
she
met
condensed
before?
her spiritual energy and attacked the chains. However,
Not only
other
was
than leaving a
Junlan
few marks
surprised,
on the chains,
Juntian
they did not
also
break
looked at
at
her
all.
in surprise.
This prison was
You
made
gave me
from
a blue card at the
10,000-year-old
West Moon
Black
Kingdom's
Ice iron.
auction.
Normal
Sima
people
Yue
would
said,
not be able to
You're
break
that
it.
mysterious person?
Even I would not be able
Junlan
to do
said
it.
in surprise.
Yinlan said.
Sima Yue nodded.
How could I forget about
I didn't
this?
expect that person
If the chains
to be you.
cannot be broken,
Junlan smiled.
we will not be able
Aren't
to
you
get
the
out.
people in charge of the
It's okay.
Yiling continent
Sima
Xianyuan
Yue said
Pavilion?
as she took out a
Why are
wisp
you
of
here?
scarlet flame.
She asked
She placed it
curiously.
under the chains
We're
to burn.
originally from the
In a short
primordial
while,
lands.
the chains melted.
We were sent down to
Clang.
train when we were
She
young.
removed the chains and
Junlan
opened the door,
felt much
saying,
better after
Auntie,
eating
come
Sima
out
Yue's
first.
pill.
After
Speaking
saying
of
that,
which,
us
she went to
siblings
burn
came back
Beigong
early
Heng's
because of
chains.
you.
Because
Yinlan
of me,
did not know what
Sima
kind of
Yue
flame
didn't
Sima
understand.
Yue was using.
That's right.
She was stunned for a moment
patted
before
Sima
coming out
Yue
of the
shoulder
door
and said,
after saving
Back
the 2
then,
of them,
elder
she
sister
brought them out
obtained the
and ran
100
towards the
revolutions
exit.
pills recipe from the mysterious person.
That was a huge
Chapter
contribution to
495.
the clan.
The 3 of
Because
them
of that,
quickly
we
arrived
finished
at the
our training
exit,
early and
Sima
were
Yue
summoned back.
was the first to dash
Since you're
out.
that mysterious
then separated
person,
from Little
then
Roar
it's naturally
and
because
retreated
of
to
you.
the side.
So they
Little
left
Roar
the
ran
Yiling
to the
continent
exit
not long after
and placed
that.
his claws
No
on the
wonder she
enchantment.
didn't hear any
The
news about
enchantment
them for the
turned
next
into a
few
blue
years.
halo. While
Burn
they were
Carrot
talking,
Literature Carrot
Wu Lingyu
Library
and the others had already
Come.
finished taking care
Auntie,
of everyone.
you can come up now.
Seeing that
Yinlan
Sima Yue
knew
was
that there
chatting
was a
happily
barrier
with
here.
them, they left two
Previously,
alive.
she was still
Elder
thinking of
sister
a way
were
to
done.
get out of the barrier.
Human Feng walked
but
over.
she never thought that
Sima
Little
Yue
Roar's
stood up.
gentle touch would render the
also
barrier
helped
useless.
Junlan up.
As they had been
Thank you
trapped
all for
underground,
saving our lives today.
Sima Yue asked them to close their eyes when they came out.
If they hadn't
She
happened
took
to
out
pass
2
by,
ribbons and covered
the
their
siblings
eyes.
would have died here today.
The Northern Palace
Your
is at the
Yue's
main
friends.
entrance. Saving
Let's
you
go
isn't
out
a
now.
big deal.
Sima Yue
Kong
said,
Sengyi said,
although both
we
of their
left
eyes
2
were
alive.
closed.
Do you want to
Yinlan's
ask them
divine
anything?
senses were not
Human
weak.
Feng asked.
She held
We
on
know
to
who sent
Beigong
them,
Heng's hand,
but with
and
just
followed
them,
Sima
we can't
Yue
deal
without
with
any
those people.
hindrance. They
Junlan
walked
said,
out of the courtyard
Why don't
and
we
saw
kill
Wu
them to
Lingyu,
vent our anger?
the Goshawk King.
I'll kill them
and the others
and
waiting
take
for
revenge
them.
for Uncle
There were a
Zhong
few
and the
Beigong
others.
clan members lying on the
let
ground.
go of Junlan
Sima
and
Yue
walked
smiled,
over,
killing the 2
Thank
people.
you.
Let's
Junlan
go.
looked at
It's
the
a mess
corpses
outside.
on the ground,
And
Wu Lingyu
hatred
said,
flashed in her eyes.
The main entrance of
But
the
she quickly
Beigong clan
concealed
had
it
been
and asked
bustling with
Sima
noise
Yue
and
and the
excitement
others
since half
Miss
an hour
Kong,
ago.
Why are you
The people
here?
who were watching
We
the
went
show
to
were
attend the
talking about the
Xianyuan
scandal
Pavilion
of the Beigong
auction.
clan.
The teleportation
just
array
heard
sent
about.
us here.
After
Kong
Beigong
Sengyi
Tang
said,
and the others had
Do you know
finished
which
their
direction is
preparations in the
City?
morning, you're going
She
to attend the
followed
auction
Sima
in
Yue's
Feng's city, right?
instructions.
And went to
Juntian
look
said
for
after
the
he
Beigong
came
clan.
back. The
It's
group
still
of
some
people
distance
arrived
from
at
here,
the Beigong
but
clan's
flying
door in a
beasts can
grandiose
reach in a
manner.
few days.
Beigong Tang
You're going
stood
to
outside
attend
the
the
auction
door?
too? And
Kong
looked at the
Sengyi
2 big
asked.
words Beigong.
If I'm not wrong,
the number of times
they're going
she
to
had
walk
walked
through
through
this
this
door.
door could
Sima
be
Yue
counted on
said,
one hand.
You're from the
When
Jun
she was
family.
3 years old,
Junlan
her mother
nodded,
had brought her
saying,
out
"That's
twice
right.
when she was still
I'm
Beigong
Junlan.
Ao's wife.
My brother is
Ever
called
since
Juntian.
Juntian Air had married
We were
into
going
the
to host
family,
the auction in
she had
Feng
never
City,
stepped out of this
but we
place.
didn't expect to
When
be
they
intercepted
escaped
on the way.
They went to the back of
What
the
a
mountain.
coincidence.
Home was
Kong
a warm
Sengyi
word,
sighed.
but this
Since
place
we're all
had
going
never
to
given
Feng
her
City,
any warmth.
let's go together.
When the guard saw
Sima
them
Yue
standing in
said,
front of the gate, he asked coldly, "Who are you?"
So everyone
Beigong
called
Tang
out their
kept her
flying
emotions
beasts
and
and
said to the
sat on
guard,
them.
I want to
Sima
see
Yue
Beigong
and Ximen
Ao.
Feng.
Who are
We're
you?
still a little
Is
Is young
from
Master
the
Ao's name
teleportation
something
array.
you can call?
They closed their
The guard
eyes and
berated
rested on the
Beigong
flying
Tang.
beasts.
It's not up
A
to
few
you to
days
ask
later,
who I am.
Sima Yue
Hurry up and go
and
report
the others
it.
arrived at
If
Feng
there's
City.
no response in
the
10
second
minutes,
largest city
I'll
in the
destroy
central
your
region.
stone lions.
Before entering the
Beigong
city,
Tang glanced
the
at
Jun
the stone
family
lions
found
on
Jun
both sides of the
and
door.
the others.
So the
Arrogant
group
people,
parted at the city
you
gate.
actually dared to
Before
behave
leaving,
atrociously
Jun
in front of the
and the
Beigong
others
clan.
gave Sima
Come
Yue an
capture them.
invitation card.
One of the guards
saying
roared.
that it was for
The
special
guards
guests.
at the gate weren't very
Sima
strong
Yue
to begin
accepted
with.
it without
They
hesitation.
were only elementary
It just
god
so
kings.
happened that they
In
didn't
less
have
than
an
2
invitation
minutes,
card
they
before.
were all beaten to the
Only
ground.
with this could they attend the auction. Also,
Hearing
the
the
June
commotion
family
outside,
arranged a place for
a
them
few
to
more
stay.
people ran out
It
from
just
the
so
main
happened
door
that it was
and
confronted
confronted
a memory
Baegong Tang
restaurant
and the others.
Sima Yue
What
thought
happened?
about it and agreed.
A middle-aged man
The person
walked out
who
of the
led the
door,
way said that he
seeing
would
that the
send
guard
someone
had
to
been
bring
beaten
them
to
the
the
list of
ground.
auction items.
He frowned,
So
and
when
wanted to
Sima
scold
Yue
the other
heard the
party.
knock on the door,
However,
she
when he
thought that it was the
Baegong
list.
Tang, he was stunned.
When she saw the person
Miss Tang,
standing at the door,
the person
she
who
was
came out
stunned.
was the steward of the Baegong clan. So he naturally recognized Baegong Tang. When she escaped, she was
Chapter
already over
509.
10 years old.
The person
Her
outside
appearance
was still
had already
so
been
handsome,
set, but he was
now that
not
she
as
had
bright
grown
as
up.
before. She
There
still
was
looked
no
the
smile
same
on his
as when
face,
she left that year.
and there was more sadness.
Steward Wan, you came
His
at the
entire
right
person
time.
was also
I'll
much
have
colder.
to trouble you to inform Baegong
She did not
Ao
know
that
what to say when she
Baegong
saw the
Tang
other
have
party
returned.
staring at her.
I want to bring my
Admit
mother
it,
and younger
or
brother
not.
away.
You really
Baegong
came
Tang
back.
said.
Miss
Chinemo
Tang,
said without
the
waiting for her
surrounding
to
people
deny
who
it.
were watching the
Don't deny
commotion
it,
originally
Yue.
thought
I can
that she was here
recognize
to
your
cause
eyes
trouble.
immediately. But now
Hearing
it didn't
what he
seem
said,
like it.
Sima Yue
Steward
sighed
Wan
and turned
instructed the
sideways
person
to let
beside
him
him.
in.
Then
And that
she
person
closed
quickly
the door
went in to
and turned to
report.
look at him.
He cupped his
How
hands
did you know it
towards
was me?
Baegong Tang,
The
saying,
watermark symbol
I
you
didn't
left
think that
behind
Miss
in
Tang would
innumerable
still be
green
alive.
city.
Only
Since
the
you
two of
returned
us
home,
know what that symbol
how could you
means.
be outside?
No one else
Please
will know.
follow this old
Chinemo
servant in.
looked at Sima
Your
Yue.
father and the others
Sima
have
Yue
missed you
recalled
very
that
much
she was
these
indeed
past
at
few
Memory
years.
Restaurant.
Baegong
Tang
Tang
laughed
laughed mockingly, saying,
she had used tea
they have
to draw
indeed
something
missed
on
me
the
very
table.
much. She didn't
However,
expect him
I'm
to know.
afraid that only you
Aren't
know
you
what kind
afraid
of
that you've
feelings
got
they
the
have
wrong
for
person?
me. Since
She
I
shrugged.
escaped that time,
This brat had
I
always
never
been
thought of
meticulous.
stepping through this door again.
When I saw your image,
Miss Tang,
I was a little
even
uncertain.
broken bones are
But
still
when I heard that
connected.
third MO
No
was
matter
with you,
what,
I
you're
was
sure
sure
that
that
it was
Baegong
you.
Clan's Mississippi.
Chinemo was a little
Although you've done
uncomfortable.
so many bad
She
things
was
back
back
then,
but
he
the
was
clan
not the
won't
first
blame
person
you.
to
They're
acknowledge
still
her.
willing to let you
How
return.
did you know I was here?
For you to cause
Are
trouble
you also
here.
here to
Have you ever
participate
thought
in
of
this
the
auction?
clan?
She
Steward
walked
Wan
over and
said,
sat beside him,
pouring
pouring
him
him
a
a
cup
cup
of
of
tea.
Steward Wan.
When the people from
Steward
innumerable
Wan's mouth
Azure
is
City
still so
sent news of
eloquent.
you,
Your
I was in
ability to turn
seclusion.
black into
When I
white
came out
and
of
red into
seclusion
green
and heard
hasn't
about you,
deteriorated at
I
all.
rushed over to
I don't want to
innumerable
talk
Azure
nonsense
City.
with you.
However,
My
you
purpose
had
for
already
coming
left.
today is
Later
to bring
on,
my mother and
I was
younger
delayed
brother
by
away.
some matters.
Miss Tang,
I'm
I'm
afraid
afraid
that
that
won't
that
do.
you were here. Your mother
Chinemo
and younger
took a
brother
sip
have
of
already
tea and
died a
replied,
few years ago.
Sima Yue knew
Steward
that he
Wan
would
said
definitely come
sorrowfully.
to meet her after
Before they
hearing her
died,
news.
they even
But
told
she did
young
not
Master
expect him
Ao
to
that
be
if
so
he came back
anxious.
one day,
Have you
they
been
would
well all
definitely
these
treat
years?
you well. She asked.
Now that you've returned,
Not bad.
how
How
could you
Chinemo
not
did
enter
not
the
go
clan?
into detail about
If
what
she
had
didn't
happened
know
to
that
him over the
Lan
years.
and the others were still
but
alive,
Sima Yue could tell at a
Baegong
glance
Tang might
that
have
he had
really
not
believed
believed
his
his
words.
words. When
At
she
the
saw
very
his
least,
sorrowful
he was not
expression.
happy.
See,
Sima
the people
Yue
who were
felt
watching
sorry
the
for him
commotion
when she
believed
saw the
him.
cold air.
Miss
that
Tang,
he
could
unconsciously
it be that the
emitted.
daughter of the
It was very
Clansmith
different
who
from the
married
person
Baegong
she
Ao
used to
that
know.
year?
She
She smiled
Tang?
and said, "Didn't I
Do you
hear
know
that
that I
she did
once
something
indirectly
wrong
killed
and
someone
wasn't
in the
willing to
underworld?
accept the punishment?
She had the same name
So
as
she
you,
secretly ran
but
away.
she was a woman.
Why did she come back
Chinemo
today?"
saw the smile in her eyes and
Didn't
knew
you
that
hear
she was
him say
laughing
that
at
he
someone
came to
who
pick
had
up
the
his
same
mother
name
and
as
younger
him.
brother?
He unconsciously
It's a
rolled
pity
his
that they're
eyes at her
already
like
dead.
before.
What's the
He
use
knew
of
the
coming
person
back
she was
now?
talking about.
If he had
She
come
was a
back a few
concubine
years
in the
earlier,
Yilin
he
continent.
might have been able to
While
meet
he
them.
was in seclusion,
Baegong Tang
his
stood
people
10
had
meters
already
away
found
from the
out about her
Baegong clan's
past.
main door.
However,
No matter what
the thought of a
Steward Wan
woman
said,
sharing the same
she
name
refused to
as
move
him
or
made him a
enter.
little uncomfortable.
This made Steward Wan
But
very
at that
angry.
time,
He
my
didn't
soul
think
was
that
damaged
Baegong
and I
Tang
couldn't
would actually
remember
come
what
back
happened
after
before I
running
died.
away for so
So
many
at that
years.
time,
She
I
didn't
didn't
know
know
that
that
you
such
two
great
had the same
fanfare
name
to
to ask for people. He originally thought that it was just a girl.
If I knew at that
as long
time,
as he could
I
trick
might
her
have
into
spared her
entering the
life.
clan, she teased.
Wouldn't it be up to them to
Chinemo saw
decide
that
how
she
to
was
deal
making
with her,
fun of him,
cripple her,
and reached
kill
out
her,
to
or
flick her
imprison
forehead.
her?
The
Are you
outside
done
world
laughing?
would believe
No.
whatever they said.
Sima Yue
However,
smiled.
she
She only
refused to
stopped
enter the
when
clan,
she saw Chinmo's
so his
face
plan
turn
had
black.
to be put on hold.
Didn't you say that
After
your
a while of
personality personality
people
is
from the
different from
Bagong
before.
clan walked out.
Why didn't I notice
They
anything
saw that the
different?
outside was
You're
filled
still
with
the
people
same
who
as
were
before.
pointing at the Bagong
Chinemo
clan.
looked at her
The
helplessly.
leader, Bagong
Sima
Xiong,
Yoyue's
had an
eyes
ugly
flashed with
expression.
sadness. What are you
I'm happy
standing
to
at
see
the
you
door
old
for?
friends.
Come in and
Chinemo
talk.
kept looking at her,
Bagong Tang
and
looked at
naturally
Bagong
saw the
Xiong.
sadness in her
It had been
eyes.
so many
He
years.
comforted her,
But this
These
great-grandfather
years
of
I've
hers
controlled a
hadn't
lot of the
changed at
clan's
all.
power.
He was still
If you're
so
willing,
snobbish and
we
arrogant.
can destroy the
With
Zongjing
regards to
clan
what he
and
said
Inyang
just now,
Palace anytime
she treated
to avenge
it
your
as if
family.
his smelly fart had
Sima
polluted
Yue
the
shook
air.
her head and said,
She didn't even give
"It's
a
not
single
the time
response.
yet.
The Sage
Bagong
Pavilion
Tang,
is above the
as the
Inyang
fourth
Palace.
generation young
If we
miss of the
destroy the
clan,
Inyang Palace,
if you continue to
the
be like
Sage
this,
Pavilion will
be careful
definitely
of the
not
clan's
sit by
rules
and do nothing."
An elder berated.
And
Haven't
I
I
are
been
still not
removed
strong
from the
enough.
clan a long
We
time
still
ago?
have to plan for
I'm no
revenge.
longer the young miss of
Also,
your
in
clan.
the next few
You
years,
still want to
I have
use
to
the
heal
clan's
Fenger's
rules on
body.
me?
The
Bagong
last
Tang
time I saw
fearlessly
him,
faced them and
I
said
also
word by
noticed
word
that his body was
I've
a
said
little
it before.
strange.
However,
After I escaped
he
from the
didn't let my
Bagong
people
clan,
check on him.
I never
In
thought
the
of
end, it was
stepping
left
into the
unsettled.
Bagong clan's main
What
door
happened
again.
to him?
I'm here
Sima
today
Yue
to
told
pick up
him
my
about
mother and
Shimin
younger
Feng's
brother.
situation.
You better hand
After
them
hearing
over.
it, his beautiful
Otherwise,
eyebrows furrowed.
even if I have to
I'll
risk
get
my
people
life
to think of a way.
I'll make the Beigong
Chinemo
clan
said,
lose a piece of
okay.
flesh.
Sima Yue did not reject. It was related to Shimin Feng's life.
Chapter 496.
Even if it was a favor,
Beigong
she was
Xiong's
willing to
expression
owe it.
turned even
Moreover,
uglier.
she owed it to
In
him.
all these years,
We want to
no
go
one
to
had
the
dared to
heavenly
speak to
sect
him like that
and try looking
especially
for the
those
principal.
juniors.
Help me keep an eye
Each
out
and every
for him.
one of them was
With
obedient
Feng'er's
and
current
sensible
situation
in front of him.
I don't
She
dare
was
to
the
say
first
that I'm
one to
sorry to trouble
contradict
you, and even
if you
threaten
really
him
say
like
it,
this.
I'll be angry.
He had seen this girl
Chinemo said.
before. Although
Okay.
she was very
Sima
stubborn,
Yue
she was
smiled
not
and
so
did not
strong
talk about it.
She had changed
Your
a little
power has
after
increased a
escaping
lot
for
these
so many
years.
years. At least
However,
by one
he
level.
didn't like this at all.
I had
Steward
some good
one
luck
has already
before,
told
so
you
I
that your
increased
mother
a lot.
and brother died a few
Chinemo
years
said.
ago. It's
Dong,
useless
dong,
for you
dong.
to keep harping on
The
this.
knocking on the door
If you still want
interrupted
to
their
be a member of the
conversation.
Beigong clan,
Sima Yue
then
got
come
up
in.
to open the door.
Don't embarrass
and
me
saw
outside.
Wu Lingyu standing outside.
He reprimanded.
Without
The
waiting
news
for
of
her
my
to
mother's
speak,
death was
he
just
waved
an
a list in
excuse
his
that you
hand and
used to
said,
fool my uncle a
the
few years
Xianyuan
ago.
Pavilion
Do you
sent
think
the
that
list
I
of
would
auction
believe it?
items.
I
Beigong
happened to be
Tang looked at
downstairs,
Beigong
so I brought
Xiong.
it up.
Tell me,
Sima
do you
Yue
believe
rolled
your
her
own
eyes
words?
at him in her heart.
That's the truth.
She turned sideways
Facts.
and invited him
the
in,
truth is that you
introducing,
schemed against
"This
my
is
mother
my senior,
and forced
Wu
her to
Lingyu,
marry
the
Beigong
holy
Ao
son of the sage
in an
pavilion.
attempt to obtain the
This is
Yin family's
Chinemo,
secret
my good
alchemy
friend.
technique from her.
The great young
It's a
master
pity that
of
my
the
mother
southern
knew of your
Wild
wild
Qin
ambitions.
clan.
I've
I've
heard a
never
lot
gave
about
you the
you.
secret technique.
Wu Lingyu walked
That's
over
why she was
and sat in
tortured,
the seat
beaten,
before
and
Sima
forced
Yue.
by you for all
The
these
Qin
years.
clan's Chinemo was not a
Beigong Tang
famous
sneered.
person in the past.
After a few years,
many people knew about
you
him
realized that there was
because
no
he
way to
opened
get
many
the
gourmet
secret technique
restaurants
from my mother.
However,
So you let
his
Beigong
reputation
Ao
was
marry
only
the daughter
famous
of the
among
Earth
those who
Palace's
loved
palace
to eat.
master.
But in the
Guyan
recent
heir.
years,
From
news
then
of him
on,
had been
the
spreading.
three of us,
mother and children, had a difficult life. Beatings and scoldings were common occurrences
From an idle young
and injuries
master.
were common
He
occurrences.
gradually became a young
Don't tell me
master
that
with
even
real
the head
power
of the
in the
Beigong
Qin clan.
family doesn't know
His
about
name
this.
spread throughout the southern
You evil girl,
desolation,
I'll destroy you.
and even spread to
Beigong
other
Ao
places.
rushed over and
I've
heard
heard
her
of the
words.
holy son's
He
name
was
for a
so
long
angry
time.
that he attacked her
I've
with
always
a palm.
wanted to see your
Honor
elegance.
Rock quickly came
I
to
didn't
Beigong
expect to
Tang's
meet
side.
you here.
With a wave of his
Chinemo
hand,
glanced
that
at Wu
attack was
Lingyu.
scattered.
His eyes did not
Beigong
have the
Tang looked
eagerness
at
in
Honor
his
Rock
words.
gratefully.
One
When
was the
Sima
famous
Yue
holy
left,
son of the
she left
primordial
Ninth
lands,
Rock and Honor Rock
while the other
behind to
was the
protect
rising
them.
star of the
What?
southern desolation.
You don't want me to
The
expose
first
your
time the
family's
two met,
scandal to the world?
there was a faint smell
Is that
of
why you're in
gunpowder.
such a hurry to
Sima
silence
Yue
me?
did not notice
She looked
the
at
subtle
Beigong
relationship
Ao, who
between
tried
the
to kill
two.
her as soon
At
as he
that
came
moment,
out and laughed
she was
coldly.
attracted by the
Even a
items on
vicious
the
tiger
auction.
will not eat
What
its
good
cubs.
things have you taken
You
a fancy
watched as
to?
Guyan Air
Wu
and
Lingyu
Beigong Air
asked.
tried to kill me all those years ago.
Sima Yue nodded
and you tried to
pointed
kill me
to a
as soon as
medicinal
we met
ingredient
today.
on the list.
This only proves
in order
one
to
thing.
suppress the
You're
power in
worse than an
Feng'er's
animal.
body. I need
Wicked
many
girl.
medicinal
How
ingredients.
could I have given birth
I have
to
most
such an
of them,
evil daughter
but
like
there are
you?
some that I lack.
Beigong Ao
This
scolded.
edged jade is
He
one
was
of the
so
main
angry that
ingredients
his
that I
face turned
lack.
red.
Then we'll
How
just
did you
bid
give
for
birth
it when
to
the
it?
time comes.
I'm afraid I'll have to
Chinemo
ask you
said,
how you
this
schemed
thing
against
only
my
appears
mother.
once in
Don't you know this
10,000
the
years.
best?
I was
Beigong
worried
Tang
about it
said
before,
sarcastically,
but I didn't expect it to be here.
Seeing
Sima Yue
Beigong
said
Ao's red
happily,
face,
no
she
matter
smiled
what,
brightly.
I must bid for this
Why,
thing.
seeing how angry you are? Are you regretting that you didn't get rid of me back then? Today, it's not too late for me to place
Chapter
righteousness
5:10.
before family.
Since she had taken
I'll
a
just
fancy
pretend
to
that
it.
I never gave
No
birth
matter
to
what,
such an
they
evil
would
girl.
bid for it for her.
As he spoke,
The
Beigong
two men thought
Ao
at the
wanted
same
to kill
time.
Beigong Tang
See
again.
if there's anything
Honor
else you
Rock
want.
stood in front of
Chinemo
Beigong
reminded.
Tang.
Yes.
Beigong Ao's hand
Sima Yue
movements
nodded
immediately froze
and lowered her head
The
to
other
continue
party had
reading.
immobilized him
Both
with
of them
just a
did
glance.
not look at the name list,
The
but
four-winged
stared at
rocks
her.
of the southern
Seeing
continent.
that her eyes were getting
Beigong
brighter,
Xiong looked at
they
Ninth
knew
Rock
that she
and
had
said,
found something
This
good.
1,000-year
However,
tortoise,
when
is
she
a
raised her head,
10,000-year-old
her
turtle.
expression was
After
somewhat
living for
solemn.
so long,
What's wrong?
his knowledge and
Wu Lingyu
experience
asked.
are indeed different.
Sima Yue put
Isn't
down
that
the
right,
list and
Ziqi?
said,
Fatty
I found
Chu
a
and
few
the others
things
have
that I
been
need.
watching quietly all
However,
this while
there are
an
a
only
few
spoke
types
up
that
at
are
this
more
moment.
troublesome.
What's the
problem?
surrounding people were
Chinemo
amused
asked.
by his words.
words.
Isn't this auction supposed to be won by the highest bidder?
As
Your
long as
southern
there was
continent's
money,
hands have
there was
stretched
no
too
need
far.
to worry about
You
not
actually
being
came
able
to
to
win
the
the bid.
region to show
Sima
off.
Yu appointed twice
Our
on the
king
list
said that
and
he
said,
would fully support
"These
young
herbs
Miss
are quite
Baigong
rare
to come back.
I'm already
and save her
surprised
mother.
that so many
Honor
of them
rocks
have
said
appeared
coldly,
this time.
not
The
putting the
first few are
Baigong
still
clan in
okay,
his eyes.
but the
That
last two are
contemptuous
being
tone
auctioned
made the
together.
Baigong clan's
What's different
faces
is that
turn
they don't
ugly.
have a base
Although the
price.
four-winged rocks
Hearing
were in
her
the
say
southern
this,
continent,
the two of them
they were
looked
very
over.
powerful.
Sure enough,
Most people
they
were
saw
not
that the
willing
other
to go
items
against
had a
them.
base price.
There was once
But
someone
some of
in
the
the
items
northern
at the back
seventh
didn't.
continent who offended
This kind
them.
of list was
In the
only
end, they turned
available
out
to
in
those
full
who were
force.
highly valued
The
by the
entire
Xinyan
clan went to the
pavilion.
northern seventh
Others
continent
only had the name of
and
the
turned
auction
the other
item,
party's
but
family
they had the
upside
introduction
down.
and the
From
base
then on,
price.
the four-winged
Usually,
rock's
when they
reputation
saw
spread.
something they needed,
We've already
they would
said
use
that
the
her
base
mother is
price
already
to
dead.
estimate the
If you want
transaction
her
price,
now, we
and then
can't hand
prepare
her
their
over
own
at
money.
all. No
Is that
one knew
so?
the extent
But
of
I've
the
received
Xianyuan
news that my
pavilion's
younger
influence,
sister and the
because
others
it
are
had spread
still
across
alive.
almost the entire
However,
world.
they've been
The lower
imprisoned in the
continents,
underground
the
prison
outer
for
and middle
many
regions
years.
of the primordial
A voice
lands,
came from behind
and
the
some
crowd.
guessed that the inner
Everyone
regions
opened up
should
a
have
path.
its influence as
Inha
well,
brought a few people
because they
from
didn't
behind
know
the
their
crowd
trump
and
cards.
walked over.
Everyone
Inha,
respected this
what are you
faction
doing
in their
here?
hearts.
Bei
No one
Gong
dared to
glared at the
provoke them.
person who walked
Therefore,
over.
everyone
I heard
knew
that
the
my
rules
niece
of the
came back to
Xianyuan
pick up my
pavilion,
older sister.
especially for auctions.
Naturally,
They
came
had
to
to settle
see
the
if there's
bill on the
anything I
same
can help
night,
with,
and could
Inha
not lie
said,
about the price.
that year,
Once
I
they
asked
were
to see my
discovered,
younger sister,
they would be
but you
blacklisted
told
by
me
the
that she was
Xianyuan
already
pavilion.
dead.
The
Hearing
list
my
in
niece say
Sima
this
Yue's
today,
hands was
it
specially
seems that they
sent
were
over by
bullied by you a
Junlan
lot that
and
year.
the rest.
Although the
There was a
clan is
minimum
very
price.
angry that my younger
However,
sister
there was no
married
price
Bei Gong
tag on
Ao,
it,
which
She's
made it
still
more
my
troublesome.
clan's young miss.
Based on the
Shouldn't
previous
you give me an
auctions,
explanation?
some sellers
Also,
would
is my
request
younger
an exchange
sister
of
alive
items.
or dead?
If they don't offer
Uncle,
something
Bei Gong
satisfactory,
Tang shouted
the
at
other
Yin Hao.
party wouldn't be willing
good.
to make the
The
exchange.
Yin clan's group of old
Jinemo
farts
said.
have been muddle-headed
Faced with
for
such
so
a
many
situation,
years. No
they're
one could do
finally not
anything.
muddle-headed today.
They didn't know what the
Do
other
whatever
party
you want
wanted.
to do. So
Don't
they
be
could only
afraid.
wait and see.
Uncle will support
After
you.
that, Yin Hao
Sima
patted Bei
Yue
Gong
roughly
Tang's head.
calculated the base price of the items that
Bei
she had
Gong
her
Tang
eyes on.
felt a strange
She
feeling in her
estimated
heart.
that if she were to
It
bid
was
for
different
these
from the
items,
warmth
she
would
would have to pay a
and the
sky-high
others.
price.
It was a kind
She
of
sighed.
kinship. It was another kind of kinship that she felt other
Yes,
than her mother
she
and
had
younger
spent the
brother.
crystals that she
Yin
had
Hao,
mined
don't
from the
think that you
spirit
can
pagoda.
spout nonsense
She had
here.
also
Just
taken
because you're
revenge
from
from
a
the
power in the
family.
inner regions.
The Heavenly Tiger
My Bei
Hall
Gong clan
and
has
the
never
innumerable
done
Green
anything
Palace
to let
had
down
given
the
her
mother
some
and
treasures
son.
as compensation.
Someone from the Bei
But there were
Gong
no
clan
crystals.
shouted.
That's
Seeing her
right.
frown, Wu
You've
Lingyi
brought
said,
people here.
What the
Do you want
Divine
to
Devil
declare
Valley
war
doesn't
on our
lack
Bei
the
Gong
most
clan?
is crystal stones.
An elder said,
You're a junior
I'm
valley
afraid
master
that if old
after
man
all.
Yin finds out,
Why are you still
he might
worrying
even
about
chase
crystals?
you out of the clan.
Sima
Yin
Yue
Hao took
rolled
out
her
a
eyes
command
at him.
tablet and said,
I've never gone back.
I'm here representing
What does the Divine
Yin clan.
Devil Valley's
My
money
words
have
are
to
the
do
Yin
with
clan's
me?
words.
You're silly.
The old fart
Our
in the
Divine
clan
Devil
said that
Valley
if I
has
don't bring
many
my younger
external
sister
businesses
back
too.
today,
Wu
I'll
Lingyi
just
couldn't
take this
help but
command
knock her on
tablet
the
and kill
forehead.
myself.
Sima Yue covered
Uncle,
her
Bei
forehead
Gong
and was
Tang
stunned.
looked at Yin Hao in
She
shock.
then remembered that
This
the
was
people in the
different from what
Divine
they
Devil
had
Valley
discussed.
were all
When I
elites
went
in
back,
various
I
industries.
met the old fart and
Usually
told him
they would
about
sell
this.
alchemy,
Maybe he
armament, and
understood and
engraving
found his
arrays.
conscience again.
Those who were in
He
charge
asked
of
me
these
to bring you
things were
home.
called external
Bring you home.
businesses. Bei
The
Gong
Divine
Tang
Devil
chewed on
Valley
these
was
two
a
words.
power that could
It was
almost
clearly
rival
a very
Sage
simple
Pavilion.
and warm word.
There was no need
but
to
she
talk
had never
about its
felt
power.
it before. The external
We've already
businesses
said that they're
naturally
dead.
didn't need to
If
be
you don't
mentioned.
believe us,
It would
you can
definitely
go in
shock
and search
her.
for them yourselves.
Sima Yue was happy
Bei
for a
Gong
moment,
said,
but she calmed
You've hidden
down
them
and
so
said,
well.
We
After
won't be
all,
able to find
these
them
are the
even
shared
if we go
assets
in.
of the Divine
However,
Devil
we've
Valley.
already sent
How
people
can
to
I touch
rescue them.
everyone's assets
Once
for
they're
my
out,
own personal
they'll have
matters?
nothing to do with your Bei
Memory
Gong
Restaurant
clan.
was originally
Bei Gong
open
Tang
for you.
said,
It
From
doesn't
now
belong
on,
to the Qin
we'll
family.
sever all ties
We've
with your
earned
Bei
quite
Gong
a bit of
clan.
money from the
Chirp
dishes
dash,
that you've
as
taught
if to
us.
match her words.
Those are all yours.
An eagle's cry came from
Jinemo
the Bei
said.
Gong clan.
Sima Yue still
Following
felt that it wasn't
an eagle
right.
flew towards
She
the
felt
main
that
door
she had
from
to
the
have
back
money
of the mountain.
first.
Seeing
After
the person
thinking about
sitting
it,
on it, she could
Bei
only
Gong
sell some
Xiong
things herself.
and the others narrowed
It was
their
a good
eyes.
thing that she didn't lack these things. Since she wanted to do it, she did it. Chapter
She chased the two of
497
them
out.
Seeing
and
the
went
person
to the
on the
spirit
eagle,
pagoda herself.
Bei Gong Air's
She picked
expression
a few
changed
that
again
she
and
liked,
again,
and went
while
to
Bei
the
Gong
Xianyuan
Tang's eyes were
pavilion
filled
early
with
in the
tears.
morning the next day.
Burn carrot when
Although
carrot
it was
library.
her first time here.
Calm.
After she said
Wonderful.
that she was looking
Oriental.
for Junlan,
Literary.
she was welcomed
And
to the
member
backyard.
high-hand fight.
After waiting
Sima
for about an
Yue
hour,
and the rest came
she saw
to the entrance
Junlan rushing
and
over.
saw the tens of
Behind her
thousands
were
of
a few
onlookers
guards who weren't weak.
She smiled and
It
said,
seemed that the
Bei
previous
Gong, we have
incident
brought
had
your
made
mother
her
back.
more concerned about
The
her own
Falcon King
safety.
placed them on the
She
ground,
smiled as she entered,
then transformed
when
into
she
his
saw
human
Sima
form
Yue,
and
and
stood
stood behind the
apologetically.
Falcon King.
I'm really
Mother,
sorry.
Bei
I was
Gong
just
Tang threw
discussing the
herself
auction
into her
with a
mother's
few
managers.
managers.
Although
I'm really
Yinlan's
sorry for
face
making
was
you
still
wait for
covered
so
with
long.
gauze, and they
Sima
hadn't
Yue
seen
was each other for so long.
When they saw her
recognized
enter,
her immediately.
they stood up and cupped their hands,
divine
saying,
sense had
"You're
already
so
reached
busy,
the point where
but
it
you
could
still
replace
took
her
the time
eyes
to come and see
But
us."
when she felt the
I'm
real
already
warmth
very
of her
grateful.
daughter, whom she had missed
Xi
day and
Minfeng
night,
also cupped
and
his
heard
hands
the words
towards mother,
Junlan, that
saying,
she had not heard for a
"Yue
long
said
time.
before that she was
She could
afraid
not
that
help
she
but
wouldn't
take
be
off
able
the
to see
gauze.
you today."
She had not
In
seen
front of
sunlight for a
others,
long
he
time.
also called her
Although
Yue.
she had adapted
He only
to it
called
for
her
a while.
sister when they were
When
close.
she pulled off the gauze,
How could that
she
be?
still felt that the strong light was too dazzling. She
I've already
subconsciously
instructed
squinted her
that
eyes.
as long as you guys
Mother,
come,
you haven't
must
seen Bai
inform
Guang
me.
in so many
Have a
years.
seat. How can you
Junlan
remove
walked
the
over and
gauze?
said,
Bai
Sima
Gong
Yutang
Tang
picked
picked
up
the
the gauze,
gauze
sat down,
and was
saying,
about to cover her.
"Since you're so pressed
Mother
for
is fine.
time,
I
I can
won't
beat
still
around the
withstand
bush.
this bit of light.
Just tell me why
Mother
I'm
wants
looking
to
for
see
you
you."
today."
On
On
the
the
way
used her
here,
spiritual
I
energy,
guess that you must have come
allowing
here
her
for
eyes
something.
to slowly open.
Junlan said,
Seeing Bai
"Is there
Gong
anything
Tang,
I
who
can
had
help
already
you
grown
with?"
up, Her
It's
eyes
like
could
this.
not help but
I
redden.
took a look at the name
She
list
reached out a hand
that
to
you had
touch her
someone
face,
send over
saying
yesterday.
emotionally,
There are a few
"Good, very
medicinal
good.
ingredients
Mother
that
is
I
finally
urgently
alive
need
to see you again."
Sima Yue said.
Bei Gong
Those
Tang stretched
medicinal
out her
ingredients
hand
aren't cheap,
and placed it on
so
the
I'm
back
guessing
of
that if I
Yinlan's
want to
hand.
bid for them,
She rubbed her
I'll
face
need a lot
against
of money.
Yinlan's palm and said,
So, if it was an ordinary person, Elder
Junlan
sister
would probably
Bei
just
Gong
ask
Hang's
someone to
strength
give her
was
a
much
portion
weaker,
of the crystals.
so he did not
But
dare
after
to take off the
interacting with
bandage
her
on
for a
his
few
face.
days,
However,
she had some
his
understanding
divine
of her
sense had
character,
grown quite a bit
so she
after
waited
being
for her to
imprisoned for
continue.
so many years.
I haven't been
So
here
he
for
was
long,
able to see
so I
Bei
don't
Gong
have many
Tang's
crystals
current
on me.
situation.
So I
It
was
was
wondering
just that
if
it
he
was
could
not
let me
as clear
insert
as
some
what he
items
could
for
see
the
with his
auction.
eyes.
Sima
Bei
Yue
Gong
said a
Tang
little
came
out
out from
embarrassedly.
Yinlan's embrace
That's
and
not
hugged
a
Bei Gong
problem.
Hang,
Junlan
saying,
agreed.
"Younger brother,
At times
it's like
been
this.
hard on you.
The level of the
Back
items
then,
to be
when
inserted
little
can't
uncle
be too
came,
low."
He
But
said
I
that he
believe
could
that
only
this
take
won't
one
be too
person with
difficult
him.
for you.
She
You
wanted
should
Bei
have brought
Gong
the
Hang to
items,
leave.
right? But in the end, Bei Gong
Sima
Hang
Yue
pushed her
took
to
out the
little
items
items
that
that
she had
prepared
At
last
that
night
time,
and
the
showed them to
situation was
Junlan.
urgent.
Her
Junlan
uncle
looked
grabbed
at
her
those
and
items,
ran away,
then asked
I
about the
always
medicinal
believed that big
ingredients
sister
that
would come
Sima
back
Yue
to
had
save
her
us.
eyes on.
Bei Gong
After
Hang
taking a
smiled
look,
innocently.
she said,
"These
"Yes,
are all pretty
elder
good,
sister is back,
but they aren't
If there's
particularly
anything in the
outstanding
future,
in this auction.
just leave it to big
If you're in
sister."
urgent need of
Bei
money,
Gong Tang
I have an
released Bei
idea."
Gong Tang
and patted his shoulder while crying and laughing. When Sima Yue heard Bei Gong Tang's words, a bitter taste spread in
Chapter
her mouth.
511.
Sima Yue looked at Junlan
She
and
raised her
asked,
face slightly.
"Do you have any ideas?"
Not allowing her emotions
These
to
things
spread.
of yours are actually
She also
not
wanted
of low
to
quality,
tell him that her sister
but they
was
are not
back,
unique in this
and that
auction,
he could leave
so
everything
they might
to
not
her
be
in
able
the
to fetch a
future.
good price.
When Yin Hao saw
If you
that
can come up
Yinlan
with
and
a
Bei
unique
Gong
item,
Hang were still
it
alive,
might not
he was
necessarily
also
be
very
of a
moved.
very high grade.
However,
But it can
when
be
he saw
auctioned
Bei
off
Gong
for a good
Tang's
price.
emotional state,
Junlan
he could
had
only
been
restrain
supporting
his
auctions
emotions
for many
and say
years,
to the Bei Gong
so
clan.
she gave her suggestion.
"Didn't you say that my
One
younger
of a
sister
kind.
and nephew
Sima
died?"
Yue felt
Then
that
who
what
was this
Junlan
person?
said made sense.
Family had Bei Gong.
She was thinking
My
about
Yin
what she
family
had
needs a
that was one of a
reasonable
kind.
explanation.
For example,
When the commoners
tendon
saw
and marrow
Yinlan and
cleansing
Bei
pill
Gong
that
hang
you
appear
auctioned
alive
in the
in
West
front of
Moon Kingdom
everyone.
last time.
They looked at them
Although
with
the grade
mocking
isn't high,
expressions.
even
They
if
had
it's
said
placed
that they
in
were
this
dead
auction,
at least 4
it will
times just
definitely
now.
fetch an
They
extremely
had been so
high
confident
price.
before.
Junlan
But now,
said,
they had
"Tendon
been
and
slapped
marrow
in the
cleansing
face.
pill?"
Everyone
Sima
seemed to have
Yue
heard
was
the
stunned
sound
for
of
a
slapping
moment, before
At this
realizing
point,
that
the Bei
she was
Gong
talking
clan had
about the
nothing to
100
say about
revolutions
this.
pills.
If they had not seen
Junlan,
Yinlan and Bei
if I were
Gong
to
Hang,
take out
they
400
would have said that they
revolutions
were
pills,
dead.
how much
However,
would I be able to
now
sell
that the
them
dead
for?
people had appeared,
Junlan
it was
calculated
useless
in her
no
heart.
matter what they said.
If it's 4,
Bei Gong
it should be enough for you
turned
to buy half of the things.
to Sima Yue and
Half.
asked sternly.
Sima Yue gasped.
Young Master
He had
Sima
taken
Yue,
so many
what do you
things that
mean
were
by
of a
this?
higher grade than
They
the
had
100
always treated her
revolutions
with
pill,
respect and
but they
treated
could
her
not
as an
compare to
important
400
guest.
revolutions
However,
pills.
she had done such a thing.
However, it was
the last
obvious
time we
that her
obtained the
motive for
pill
entering
formula
the
you
Bei
gave
Gong
us.
clan was not
We
simple.
came back and looked
Sima
for an
Yue
alchemist
smiled
to
and
study
replied,
it.
Thinking
Family
that
had
the
Bei
golden
Gong.
snake
I'm
fruit
not
was
called
hard to
Siyu.
come by.
I'm Sima
We
Yue.
couldn't find it
I
even
grew up
after
with Bei
searching
Gong
for a
Tang.
long time.
With such an
So we planned to
explanation,
use other
what was there
medicinal
to not
herbs with
understand?
similar medicinal
The pill
properties.
refining is fake.
However,
Bei
we
Gong
discovered
Xiong
that we
looked at her
couldn't refine
hatefully.
it at all.
Otherwise,
Junlan
why would you
thought
let
of
us
what
in?
happened after
If
her
we didn't
family
go in,
obtained the pill
how would
formula
we have saved the
and
mother
couldn't
and
help
son?
but say a few more words.
Sima Yue said faintly,
The golden snake
"This family
fruit
skin
is
was
the
really
most important
thick.
ingredient
Right now,
for
they were not
refining the
thinking
100
about how to
revolutions
explain
pill.
it to everyone.
Naturally,
But we're blaming
it can't
her
be
for
turned
saving
into
them.
other ingredients.
Goshawk King,
Sima
your
Yue
Goshawk
said,
clan has
from
never
what you said
interacted
just
with
now,
others.
you still have
Why
more
are you
tendon
willing to
and
be the
marrow
accomplice
cleansing
of
pills.
such a despicable
Junlan
person?
asked. I
The
once
Goshawk
obtained a
King
golden
glanced at
snake
Bei
fruit
Gong
by
Xiong.
chance.
I'm
And I
following
can
my
still
king's
refine
orders.
a batch.
King,
Sima Yue
could it be the
replied,
golden winged
previous
rock
that appeared in the
I thought
southern
that the level
continent
of this pill was too
An
low.
elder said,
So I did not
how long
prepare
does
it
your Bei Gong
beforehand.
clan intend
Really?
to ignore my Yin
Junlan
clan?
became
Yin
excited
Hao's
and
face
said,
was cold.
You really
emitting
have
a
more tendon
bone-piercing
and marrow
chill.
cleansing pills?
A few years
And
ago,
you're willing to put
I
it up
asked
for
to
auction?
see my younger sister sister and nephew.
Sima Yue nodded.
You said that
This
they were
100
dead.
revolutions
Now
pill
they are
wasn't a
alive
challenge
and well
to
in
her
front
at
of
all.
me.
Moreover,
Xiong,
she still
I
had the
respect
golden
you as the
snake
head of the
fruit in
clan.
her spirit pagoda.
However,
she
if
could
you
just
don't
go
give a
back
reasonable
and refine a few
explanation,
of them.
my
Seeing
clan
her
will
nod,
definitely
Jun
not
Long
let this
clapped
matter
her hands
rest.
excitedly and
Long
said,
had already
I
married
won't hide
into
it
my
from
Beigong
you.
clan
Back
20
then,
years ago.
us
She is
siblings
now
were
a
able
member
to
of my
return
Beigong
early
clan
because of the
Do we
pill
still need to
formulas you
report
gave
to you
us.
outsiders
We've
how we
already
deal with
told
our
you
own
about
clan
this
members?
matter. Beigong Xiong twisted logic, wanting to gain the initiative by striking first. But what you don't know is that because
My mother
no one
was
has
only
been able
married
to
to
refine
Beigong
the
Ao
tendon and
because of
marrow
your
cleansing
scheme.
pill these past
Furthermore,
few years,
Beigong Ao
the
and my mother
authenticity
no
of the
longer
pill
had any
formula has been
relationship as
questioned.
husband and wife.
Because of this,
He was no longer a
have
member
also
of
been
your Beigong
criticized by
clan.
those in the family.
Beigong Tang
If you
said
can
as she
auction
looked
off
at
the
Beigong
tendon and
Xiong.
marrow cleansing
Did you
pill,
hear that?
those
My
people will
younger
have
sister
nothing
was
to
no
say.
longer a
Then
member
I'll
of
go
your
back and
Beigong
refine it
clan.
later.
However,
I'll send the
your
tendon and
Beigong
marrow
clan
cleansing
has always
pill
been
back
torturing
tomorrow.
and imprisoning her.
Sima Yue said,
Today,
You
She
must
could
give
tell
us an
that
explanation.
status
Otherwise,
in the
my
Xianyuan
clan
pavilion
will
wasn't
not let
low.
you off.
She was also very
Brother.
capable.
Lan called
Otherwise,
out emotionally
she
when
wouldn't
she
be able
saw
to
Yin
host
Hao
such
like
a large
this.
auction
Don't
at
be
such a
afraid.
young age.
That old fellow
felt
told
that
me to
Jun
bring you
Lan
back.
would definitely
He
gain
won't
a
ignore you
foothold
anymore.
in the Xianyuan
Yin Hao
pavilion
said.
in the future.
Lan did
If she
not
could
have
help
much
them
hatred
now
towards the
and
Yin
build a
clan.
good relationship
After
with
all,
them, she
it
was
might
the
bring
one
her
who
benefits
insisted
in
on
the
marrying
future.
Bei Gongao.
Then I'll get someone
At
to
that
take
time,
these things away.
The people in the clan
They'll be
had
auctioned
said that
off
if
for
she
you
married
during the
Bei
auction.
Gongao,
Jun
her
Lan
life
said,
and death would
"Then
have
I'll
nothing
have
to
to
do
trouble
with the
you."
Yin clan.
Sima Yue
She never
replied.
thought that
Jun
Yin Hao
Lan
would
clapped her
represent the Yin
hands,
clan to
and a
save her.
servant girl walked
Bei
in.
Gong,
Jun
since
Lan
we've already
indicated
saved
for her to
let's
take
leave
these
things
things
away.
away.
Logically
Yue said,
speaking,
"Okay,
these auction
their
items
goal
had to
today
be
was to
appraised.
bring her away."
However,
Initially,
Sima
they
Yue
were
believed
worried
that
that
they
Jun
weren't
Lan
strong
would
enough.
handle this matter
That
for
was why
her
they dragged
and
the
wouldn't
Yin
cheat
clan
her.
along.
It
Other
would be
than
a little
this,
safer.
there's something
Now
else
that
I
he
want
had
to
brought
talk
the
to you
entire
about.
Yin clan.
Speak. It wouldn't be
Sima
difficult
Yue
for them
pointed
to
at the
leave.
3 medicinal
Mother, let's
ingredients
leave
on the
first.
list and said,
We'll settle our
"These
debts
3
with them in the
medicinal
future."
ingredients.
Bei Gong
Jun
Tang
Lan
said,
understood her
as
meaning
long
at a
as you come
glance and
back,
said,
we can slowly
"These 3
talk about the
medicinal
past."
ingredients were all
Yin
brought
Lan
by
held
the
her
same
daughter's
person.
hand and said,
He said that he
she
didn't
wouldn't
want to
say that it
auction
was
them
over.
off.
She
He
definitely
definitely
wouldn't
wouldn't
exchange
say
them
that she
for
would
something.
write off the past debts.
Then did he say what he
Those
wanted
debts
to
she
exchange
would
them
slowly
for?
settle them in the
Sima
future.
Yue asked
A group
anxiously.
of people came out
Jun
from
Lan
the Bei
shook her
Gong
head.
clan and
He didn't
surrounded
say
them,
anything, not
He
allowing
only
them
said
to
that
leave.
he would state his
Yin Lan is
request
still a
during the
member of
auction.
my Bei Gong clan. You
Sima
can't
Yue
take her
was
away.
a little disappointed.
Bei Gongao
Originally, the Bei
she was
Gong
wondering
clan
if she
had done
could
too
find
many
out
bad
the other
things to them.
parties' request
If
in
those
advance.
things were to spread,
Now it seemed impossible.
how would the Bei Gong clan be
Since
able
that's
to
the
establish
case,
themselves
then we'll
in
head
Autumn
back
Moon
first.
City?
We'll
So,
send the pills
even
over
if they
tomorrow.
had to fall out with the
I'll send you
Goshawk
off.
King,
They
at the
definitely
entrance of
couldn't let them
Xianyuan
leave.
Pavilion.
Jun Lan looked at the backs of Sima Yue and instructed the person
Chapter
beside
498.
her. Passed down the
Burn
order.
Carrot Literature
Immediately
Carrot
spread the
Library.
news of the tendon cleansing
Calm.
pill. Hearing Bei
Young
Gongao's
miss,
words,
we haven't
Yin
seen
Lan
the
could not
tendon
hide the
cleansing
anger
pill
in her
yet.
heart.
If we
She
announce
said,
it now,
I'm no
what
longer
if
a
that
member
young
of your
master
Bei Gong
didn't
clan.
bring the pill?
Ever since you
The
took
guard
Gu
beside
Yan
her
for your
questioned.
own benefits,
No, I
we no
trust
longer
him.
have any
Jun
relationship.
Lan said.
Ramlin
Besides,
Library,
he values those medicinal
7764.
ingredients very much.
Ao and I love
Now
each
that he's
other.
short of money,
Gu Yan said
auctioning
from
the
the side.
tendon cleansing
You, on
pill
the other
was
hand,
a very quick way to
shamelessly
earn money
destroyed
for
our
her.
relationship,
Seeing
and
that
even
their young
plot
miss
had
had
made
made
up
up
her mind.
The
Unfortunately,
person beside her
Ao
could
isn't
only
someone
do
you
as she
can get
said,
with just a
and
little
spread the
scheming.
news of the tendon
Ha ha.
cleansing pill.
Yin Lan laughed
However,
loudly,
they did it in
her
secret.
face full of sarcasm as she said, Do you really think I'm still that
They
fool
didn't
from
let the
back
people
then?
from
Would they
Xianyuan
still
Pavilion
believe that you
spread
Bei
the news
Gongao
directly?
were a hero
Instead,
who
they
saved
spread
the
it in a
damsel in
roundabout
distress
way.
back then? The news
Back
of the
then,
tendon
you guys
cleansing
were the
pill's
ones who set
appearance
up the show.
immediately caused
Those
an
people
uproar
who
in Feng
molested
City
me were just
because
hired
it wasn't
by you
long
guys.
before the
I
auction
was
started.
foolish back then,
Many
and
people
didn't
from
see the
various
truth clearly.
powers had already
That's
arrived.
why I wanted to marry
When they
you
heard
at
the
all
news of
costs.
the tendon cleansing
Didn't you
pill,
want the Yin clan's
although they
secret
were a little
alchemy technique?
suspicious,
Many
unfortunately,
powers still
you've
ordered
locked me
people
up
to
for
gather
so many
some money,
years,
just
and
in
made me
case.
refine pills
The
thousands
tendon
of
cleansing
times.
pill hadn't
But you
appeared
still
in the
haven't learned
primordial
it.
lands for a long
Shut up.
time.
When
This
Bei
pill's
Gongao
grade
saw
wasn't
that Yin
high,
Lan had
but it
revealed
was
all
a
of
pill
this,
that attracted
he
the
panicked and
attention
said
of
to
the
the
entire
guards surrounding
primordial
them,
lands.
Capture the
This was
three of
because
them.
it was related
The people
to the
of my
future
Bei
of
Gong
the sect.
family are
If
not
the younger
allowed to leave
generation
this
could
place.
have this pill to
Let's
cleanse
see
their
who
tendons,
dares to move,
cleanse their
Sima
marrow,
Yue stood
and
beside
improve
Bei
their
Gong
physique.
Tang and the others,
Wouldn't the
saying,
geniuses be
I've
even
seen
more
shameless
geniuses?
people before.
Hence, people
but I've
from
never
various
seen anyone
powers
as
all sent
shameless
people
as the
to
Bei
gather
Gong
money.
clan.
They
Bei
all had
Gong,
the
take your
intention
mother
of
and
keeping
leave
the
first.
tendon cleansing
Bei
pill in
Gong
their
Tang
pockets.
nodded.
Even
She
Kong
supported
Sang
Yin
Yi was
Lan
the same.
and pulled Bei
She
Gong
had
Hang
something
to
to do
leave.
in the day and
Stop
left for a
them.
while.
As soon
She
as
didn't
Bei
think
Gong
that when
Xiong
she
spoke
came back,
a group of
she
god
would hear about
emperors
the
flew out
tendon
from
and
the
marrow
courtyard
cleansing
and
pill.
stopped Yin Lan
She
and the
excitedly
others.
grabbed Sima
Third
Yu's
brother,
hand and said,
it seems like you can't
"It's
do
really
it.
the tendon tendon
They
and
don't
marrow
even
cleansing
respect you.
pill.
Said
If
a
the
joking
Kong Valley
voice.
can get it,
Everybody
that would be
looked
great.
towards the source of
No,
the
I
voice.
have to get people
and
to
saw
prepare
a
the
sloppy
crystal
young man
stone
with
with
a group of people.
I don't know if a million
There was no
middle
lack
grade
of
crystal
godly
stones
emperors
will be
among
enough.
them.
When
When
saw his younger
Sima
brother
heard what she
Inxian
said,
she stared
"Why
at
are
her
you
with
here?"
wide eyes.
Old Master
Seeing that
said
she was
that although
really
little
going to get
sister
people
was
to
in the
gather
wrong,
the crystal
the
stones,
family has
she
forgiven her
quickly
now
pulled
that
her
she has
back
come
and
back to
smiled.
life.
I left
The
a few
Bagong
for you
family
guys.
always does some
You
shameless
don't have to
things.
go over there
They
and
were
fight
afraid
with
that you
others.
wouldn't be able to
Kong
handle it.
Sengyi didn't
So
react
they
for a
asked me
moment.
to bring people
It
to
was
bring you
Shimin
back.
Feng who said from the
Inxi's
side.
roguish words made the
Sister has
onlookers
already
who were
refined
hiding
the pill.
far away laugh.
She left two for
Looks
you.
like your Yin clan
Kong
is
Sengyi
planning
finally
to shed all
understood
pretense
and
of
looked at
cordiality
Sima Yue
with my
in shock.
Bagong clan.
That tendon
Since that's
cleansing
the
pill
case,
was refined
we're
by
not
you?
afraid of starting
Sima
a
Yue
war with
smiled
you.
and nodded.
No one is
I am
allowed to
Maika.
leave.
Kong
Bagong
Sengyi
placed her
said,
hands in front of
"Bah,
her chest.
you old bastard."
She was
You're
shocked,
shameless
but
to
then
a
she
whole new
smiled
level.
happily. In the entire Autumn
you really
Moon
left
City,
two for me?
only you old bastard can do this. Even the head of the family is like this. No wonder the whole family is like this. Chapter 512.
She was much
took
better
out a
at
jade
scolding
bottle
people than
and
How.
placed it in her hand.
What are you comparing
Here,
numbers?
this is for you.
Do you
Kong
think your
Sang
family
looked
is
at
the
the
only
jade
one
bottle
with people?
and opened
I
it
don't see
impatiently.
anyone in your house.
He opened his
Not
mouth
a single
wide when he
person?
saw the golden
Was he
pill
saying
inside.
that the Bagong clan was
Is this the
inhumane?
tendon and marrow
What are you
cleansing
waiting
pill?
for?
Why are there so
Bagong
many?
Xiong yelled at those
Fonger
people.
said that you have a
Bagong
younger
clan's
brother.
guards
His
immediately
talent
fought
isn't
with
very
the people
good.
She
So you
brought.
worry a lot about
For a
him.
moment,
He's
there were
still
spiritual
young,
attacks
so this
everywhere.
should be useful for him.
Although she
Kong
didn't bring
Sang
many
had
people,
originally
their
planned
strength
to bid
wasn't
for
low.
2 tendon cleansing
They actually
pills
killed a
for
lot
his
of
younger
Bagong
brother.
clan's guards.
Her talent was still
However,
alright.
this was
And
Bagong
even if
clan's
she didn't have
territory
it,
after
it
all.
wouldn't matter.
After killing
However,
a batch,
her younger
another
brother was
batch of
injured in
people
the
came
womb.
up.
So
However,
his
the
talent
Ing
wasn't
clan
very
didn't.
good.
Thus,
She had been
they
thinking
gradually
of ways
fell
to
into
improve
improve
his
his physique.
physique. And the
Third
best
brother
way
was
was
to
to
get
get
a
a tendon and
Big
marrow
brother will
cleansing
bring
pill.
people over soon.
However,
she
she
hadn't
said
been able to find
Sima
one in the
Yue
past,
and the rest
when she
didn't
heard
make
the
a
news
move.
today,
Their
she was
strength was
overjoyed.
too low.
Just
They
as
could
she
only
was about to
stand in
give
the
it her
protective
all.
barrier.
She didn't
and watch the
expect
situation
that Yue
outside.
had already left her
Ninth
4
Rock
pills.
wouldn't let these little dolls
Thank
go
you,
out
Yue.
and take risks.
The corners of her eyes
Seeing
were
the
a little
Ing clan's
wet.
weakness,
What are you thanking
Sima
me
Yue
for?
planned to let the
Sima
Goshawk
Yue
King
said,
make a move.
I haven't
Otherwise,
for
the
saving
casualties
Fenger's
would be
life.
too serious.
Kong Sang Yi looked at
Goshawk
Ximen
King.
Feng shyly.
What's going on?
She gripped the
A
jade
group
bottle
of people
tightly
ran
and said,
over from the corner
There's
of
still
the street.
some time before the
Seeing
auction.
the 2 clans
I'll go
fighting,
back
they
first.
shouted,
Go.
The Earth Palace's
Sima
people
Yue
are
knew
here.
from Ximen
The
Feng
onlooker
that
she
said,
had a good
Sima
relationship
Yue
with her
didn't
brother.
care whether the
Now
Earth
that she
Palace
got this,
belonged to the Earth
she naturally
Palace or
wanted
not.
to go back as
She
soon
said
as
to the
possible.
Goshawk King,
2 per
I'll
person
still
is
have to
enough.
trouble you guys.
It's useless to eat
The
more.
Goshawk King
Got
understood
it.
Sima
Kong
Yue's
Sang Yi
meaning.
nodded.
He
If
gave a
Yue
look to the
hadn't said
person
anything,
beside him.
she would have
That
given him
person
all 4
immediately
pills.
transformed into
Feng
his
or go
original
back with
form
Xiang Yi
and flew into
Sima
the
Yue
sky,
said,
chirping
Ximen
twice.
Feng looked at her.
Once they heard
Then
the
looked
chirping,
at Kong
the
Sang
2
Yi and
clans
nodded.
stopped.
Then let's
Not
go
good.
now.
Bagong
And see if we
Xiong's
can rush
expression
back
changed.
before the auction.
Today's matter
Kong
was
Sang Yi
probably
said,
out of their control.
and anxiously pulled
Chirp,
Ximen
a
Feng's
group of
hand and
goshawks
left.
flew over from
Sima
outside
Yue
the
knew
city.
that they must have
They
their
were
own way to
majestic.
go back.
Looking from
So she
below,
let them leave.
it was as if
Third
half the
Imo
sky
didn't
was
say
covered.
anything the entire
Bagong
time.
Tang saw the
After
group
they
of
left,
goshawks,
he
and
leaned
her
back
face
in his
lit up.
chair and
She
looked
looked
at
at
Yue,
Sima Yue
saying,
gratefully.
I really
The
didn't
goshawks
expect you
didn't
to be able
land
to
after they
refine
flew
the
into the
tendon and
sky.
marrow cleansing
Instead,
pill.
they circled in
It's
the
indeed
air.
surprising.
Goshawk
Qin
King,
Emo said,
do you really want to
this
become
tendon and
enemies
marrow
with the human
cleansing
race?
pill is extremely
Bagong
rare.
Xiong purposely
Last time,
dragged the entire
I
human
remember
race
that someone
into
from
this
the outer
in an
area
attempt
bought
to pressure
one,
him,
and even
there
spent
was a world
sky-high
of
price
difference
for it.
between becoming
However,
enemies
this is
with
the
the
first
clan
time in
and
nearly
becoming
1,000
enemies
years
with the entire
Wu Lingyu
human
often
race.
traveled to
I'm
various
only in
places,
charge of protecting
so
my
he was
king.
quite well informed.
The Goshawk King
Sima
replied
Yue
indifferently.
naturally knew about the
Sima
appearance
Yue
of
called
the
out
tendon
Little
and
Rock.
marrow cleansing
The
pill last
goshawks in the
time,
sky all
because
chirped,
Bagong
paying
Tang
their
had said
respects
that the
to Little
Bagong
Rock.
clan had bought
Even
it
the Goshawk
and given
King
it to
bowed to
Bagong
him.
Air.
Little Rock
Thinking of
waved his
Bagong
hand
Tang
to get
she
the
wondered
Goshawk
how they
King
were
to
doing
stand
right
up.
now.
There
Then,
was less
he
than a
looked at
month left
Bagong
until
Xiong
the
and
auction.
said, He wondered
Whoever
if they
dares
had
to
arrived
touch
yet.
my contracted master will become enemies with the entire bird clan.
She had
If you
originally
don't
planned
believe me,
to
you
use
can
this
try.
period of time to help Ximen Feng recuperate.
Wu Lingyu saw Little
But now
Rock's
that he wasn't
domineering
around,
attitude,
she
and
could
looked
only
at
make
Sima
other
Yue.
plans.
He raised
After
his
that,
eyebrows in praise.
she went to Xianyuan
Not bad.
Pavilion
This little
and gave
bird's
the
training
tendon
was
and
not
marrow
bad.
cleansing pill to
Sima Yue
Junlan.
saw his gaze
Junlan
and
saw the
despised him in
tendon
her
and
heart.
marrow cleansing
She
pill
said to Bagong
and was
Xiong,
extremely excited.
Patriarch Bagong,
When Yue left,
are you still going
she
to block our
hurriedly
way?
called for a meeting with the
Bagong
manager.
Xiong's face turned
As
the
the
color
time
of
of the
pig
auction
liver.
drew closer,
He couldn't say a
the
single
memory
word.
restaurant that
Oh
Sima
my,
Yue
you
and
should
the
have
others
said so
stayed in was
earlier that
already
you had
full.
such a strong
However,
support.
the
I was
people
so
who stayed
scared
in
just
knew
now that I
there
broke
was an
out in cold
independent
sweat.
courtyard at the
She
back that
pretended
was
to
always
wipe
empty.
the non-existent
The courtyard
cold sweat
that was
off his
originally
forehead.
able to house
Since
20 to 30
Patriarch
people
Bagong isn't
was now
stopping
only
us, we'll
occupied
be
by
leaving.
4 people.
Fatty Chu
Some
shouted,
people saw
giving
that
the
the courtyard
Bagong
was
clan a
quiet,
slap,
and the
Ninth
scenery
Rock
wasn't
removed
bad,
the barrier,
so they
and
wanted to
everyone
stay
left
there.
the Bagong clan
However,
openly.
the
Even
manager
though
said
they
that
were
the
already
courtyard
quite far wasn't
away
open to the public.
They could still
so
feel
they
the
couldn't
murderous
stay there.
gazes behind
Even
them.
some people
The
with
Bagon
prominent
clan
statuses
statuses
were
were
ugly,
rebuffed when they
although
went
they were
there.
unwilling.
On this day,
What could they say?
someone found
They
the
weren't
manager
allowed to
again,
leave,
and
the
requested
goshawks
to
in the
stay
sky
in the courtyard
directly
at the
attacked
back.
them.
If it was
Relying on
just
the
a few
fact that
tens
they
of
were
them,
from the inner area,
it would have been fine.
They were
But
extremely
there were
arrogant.
hundreds and thousands
Young
of them.
Master Zhong
How
Zhong.
could they be their opponents?
That courtyard has already
the
been
Goshawk
reserved
King
by
left
someone.
with Little Rock.
It can't be
The
open to the
goshawks in the
public.
sky followed
I'm
them.
really sorry.
Personally,
The
sending
manager
them to
smiled
the Ing
apologetically
clan in the north of the
If
city.
it's reserved,
She
doesn't
watched
that
as the
mean no one is
goshawks
staying
gradually
there?
disappeared
Give that
into the
courtyard
distance.
to us.
He sighed.
A man with inverted
I never thought
triangular
that I would
eyes.
have the experience
Zhong
of being
Zhonglu
protected
said
by the
overbearingly.
Goshawk clan.
Young Master
Not bad,
Zhong
not
Zhong.
bad. I really can't.
The Goshawk King
The
personally
manager
sent them
smiled and
back.
said,
There was
But he
even
was
a group of
impatient in his
goshawks
heart.
escorting them.
Can't.
The Een
Do you know
clan's
what
head
kind of
even
power
came
my
out to welcome
Zhongzheng clan
them.
has?
Seeing her
We're
once
already
familiar
giving you
family
face
by being
Een
willing to
Lan
stay
subconsciously
here.
grabbed
You
Bei
actually dared to
Gongtang's
say no
hand.
to us?
Bei
An
Gongtang
Een in the
patted
outer
Een
area
Lan's
dares
hand,
to say
saying,
no to us?
Mother,
You must have
the
eaten a
Een clan
leopard's
has
guts.
ignored us all
Do
these
you believe
years.
that I'll tear this
They
place
already
down?
don't treat you as a family.
I'd like to see how you'll
Although
tear
we
this
did our
place
part
down.
today.
If you don't want to
Mo's
go
cold voice
back,
came from
we don't
behind,
have to.
scaring
We'll find a
Zhong
chance
Zhenglu
to
so
repay
much
the
that his
favor
body
today.
froze. Zhong Zhenglu turned around and looked at the person who walked out from the backyard.
Chapter 499.
He smiled and said,
Burn Carrot
Young
Literature
Master
Carrot
Qin
Library.
Yu, why are you here?
Come.
This is my inn. Xiaolan
What's
is a
so
member
strange
of the Een
about me
family.
being here?
Now that she
Qin
has
Emo
left the
glanced at
Beigong
Zhong
family,
Zhenglu indifferently.
how can she not return
When the
to
time
the Een
comes,
family?
You'll
A
shout that you'll
middle-aged
tear
woman
down my
wearing a
inn.
dark red
What's
dress
the meaning
walked
of
over
that?
and took Een
Zhong
Lan's hand,
Zhenglu broke
saying,
out in cold sweat
You're already
after
at
being
the door.
glanced at by him
How
and
can
said,
you not go home?
I'm just joking.
Andy has already
After
sent someone
speaking,
to clean
he
up
left
your old
without
courtyard.
waiting for Qin
You will
Mo's
still
reply.
be living there in
When
the
he
future.
turned around,
he
dancing
felt a
blew off
cold
first.
gaze on him.
Is this
He
cousin
thought that
Tang?
it was Qin Mo.
A girl walked
and
over
was so
and smiled
scared
as she pulled
quickly
Bei
left.
Gongtang's hand,
Qin Mo saw
saying,
the hatred in
I'm your
Sima
cousin
Yu's
Fei
eyes
Fei.
and patted
Let's
her
go.
on the shoulder.
I'll bring you to
Sima
see the
Yu
courtyard
retracted
where
her
little aunt
gaze
used to
and
live.
clenched her fists
As
tightly.
she spoke, she pointed
said at
softly.
Yin
I
What
must
a
kill
joke.
him.
Een Lan
Alright,
and
but
the
not
others
now.
were treasures
Qin
now.
Mo said,
If they severed
the
their
Zhongzheng
relationship
clan
with the
sent an
Een
elder this
family,
time.
then how would they be able to establish a relationship with the Goshawk
His
clan in
strength
the
is
future?
about to break through
also,
to the monarch
contract
rank.
master of the
If we
Rocks
make a
King
move
was
now,
also their good
we
friend.
might not be able to
if it
gain
wasn't
any
for
benefits.
them, this person
Sima Yu
definitely
nodded her
wouldn't
head,
care about the Een
indicating
clan.
that she
For
understood.
the benefit of the family,
In fact,
the
Een Lan
Zhongzheng clan
cannot
had
leave the
already
family.
sent people over.
How could Bei Gongtang
But those people were
and the
killed by
others not
Ximen
see
Feng on
through
the
these
way.
people's thoughts?
This time,
However,
they sent the clan
it was
elder
a good
over
thing
again.
that there were people
on
in
one
the clan
hand
who were
it
truly
was to
happy for the
participate
mother
in
and
this
children.
auction. And
So
on
they
the other
didn't care
hand,
about these
it was
things.
to find the
The
murderer
main
who
thing was
killed
that
them.
Een Lan
They
was
weren't
not
close to the
calculative
people who were
and
killed,
was willing to come
but
back.
the Zhongzheng clan's
While Bei
reputation
Gongtang
was
was very
merely following
important.
her mother's
If
wishes.
they didn't ask about
Sima
their own
Yue
clan
and
members
the rest
who were
were
killed,
welcomed into the
then
residence
anyone
as
could
honored
bully
guests.
them in the future.
They were also
Sima
given
Yu and
individual
Zhongzheng
courtyards
before,
to rest in
because she
the
had a good
treatment was quite
relationship
good.
with Zhongzheng
Bei
Han
Gongtang
Yu.
had not
Both
returned
of their
yet.
names had the word
After
Yu in
everyone
it.
rested for
They
a
were
while,
also more talented
Yu
in
left
their
the
age
Een
group.
family alone.
In addition,
she went to the Inn
two
last
clans
night,
had a good
but received
relationship
news
and
that
were close
Ximen
to
Feng
each
had
other.
already paid the
Hence,
bill and left.
she often went
She
to
left
the
the Een
Zhongzheng clan
dejectedly
to chat with
and walked
Zhongzheng
down the
Han Yu
street in a
and
daze.
discuss
He had
cultivation
clearly
experiences.
recognized her, so why
Hence,
did he leave?
she knew many
He
people
even
from
left
the
in the
Zhongzheng
middle
clan.
of the night.
How is
She was
Zhongzheng
afraid that
Han
he
Yu
would
now?
pay the bill
Qin
and
Mo
leave
glanced
after
at
she
Wu
left.
Lingyu and said,
It was fine if he
she
didn't
entered
want
the
to
Sage
acknowledge
Pavilion
her.
in the
But
southern
why
desolation.
did he have to avoid her?
She has gained the favor of the Sage
Don't tell me
Pavilion
you're
master,
not going to
and
recognize
her
me for
status
the rest
is not
of your
low.
life.
Sima
She
Yu
felt terrible
sneered
and
It
didn't
has
know where
always
to
been
find
her
him.
dream to enter
Suddenly,
the Sage
someone
Pavilion.
grabbed his arm
Now
and
her
pulled
dream
him
has
to a
finally
stop.
come true.
You're going
The
to hit
Sage
another
Pavilion
tree
really
if you
has
keep
a deep
walking.
history.
Wu Lingyu's voice
Zhongzheng
came
Han
from
Yu,
behind.
who killed her,
Sima Yu
entered the
turned
Sage
around
Pavilion
and looked at Wu
Nalan
Lingyu,
Lan,
this
who
time,
wanted to kill her.
his expression
also
was no
entered the
longer one
Sage
of mockery.
Pavilion.
She had to
Instead,
say
it was one
that
of
she
worry.
would probably fight to
Senior
the death
brother,
with the
why
Sage
are you
Pavilion
here?
in this
I
lifetime.
saw you come out, so
Thinking
I
of
followed
this,
you.
She
Wu
couldn't
Lingyu
help
said,
but glare at Wu
Who knew
Lingyu.
that you would be
Wu
in a
Lingyu
daze
looked back
after
at her
coming
with
out of the inn?
grievance.
You're
This
going
had
to bump
nothing to
into
do
a
with
tree
her.
again.
She was
Only then
implicated
did
again.
Sima Yue realize
that she was only a few centimeters away from the tree by the roadside. Thank you, senior brother. What's
Chapter
wrong with
513.
you? Sima Yue saw Wu
I didn't
Lingyu's
realize
aggrieved
you were
look
so
and
muddle-headed
knew
before.
that this matter had
Wu
nothing
Lingyu
to do
said.
with him.
Nothing.
He himself was
She
that
shook
old
her head,
bastard's pawn,
but in her mind,
and could be considered
she
a
recalled
victim.
the scene of Ximen
Moreover,
Feng strangling
his
her
heart
neck
was
last
with the
night.
divine Devil
No.
Valley.
Only
And he
then
had
did
never
she remember
helped the
that
Sage
something
Pavilion.
was wrong last
But
night.
thinking about it,
Ximen Feng's
because of the
strength
Sage
wasn't that
Pavilion,
high.
they
Judging
didn't
from
dare
his
to
aura
touch
last
the
night,
Zhongzheng clan
he was
in
at least a
Yinyang
monarch
Palace.
rank or
So
above.
she still had some
However, when he
resentment in her
died,
heart.
he He had just
Wuling
reached
Yu
divine
sighed in his
ancestor
heart.
rank.
It seemed
How
that
could
he had to
improved
settle the
so
matter
much in
with the
10
Sage
years?
Pavilion.
His strength
as soon
was
as
too
possible.
strange.
Otherwise,
Moreover,
he would always
that
be
bone-chilling
implicated.
temperature
If
was
this
not
girl
normal
really
for a
blamed him
person,
one day,
which meant that
then
his
the gains
body
would
was
not
not
make up
normal.
for the losses.
Damn it, why didn't I
At this
notice
time,
it last night?
A group of people came
Seema
in
Yu
from
scolded
outside
herself.
and shouted to the
They
shopkeeper.
had heard of many methods to
Shopkeeper,
forcefully
do you
increase
still
one's
have
strength.
rooms here?
But those
Sir,
methods
I'm
were
sorry,
often harmful
but
to
we
the
don't
body.
have any empty
Ximen
rooms here.
Feng's strength had
The shopkeeper
increased by
said.
leaps and bounds.
Third Mo and
If it was
Chinamo
normal
happened to be
cultivation,
standing
it
in
would
front
be
of
fine.
Sima Yue and the
However,
rest.
if it
Blocking
wasn't, then
Sima
it would
Yue
be
and the
troublesome.
rest.
However,
Hearing the familiar
with that
voices,
cold temperature,
she walked out
she
from
couldn't
Third
convince
Mo's
herself
side
that
and
it was
said with a
normal
smile,
cultivation.
If you guys
She had to
didn't
find
come,
him.
I would
If
have
something
gone to look
happened
for
to
you
him,
guys.
she felt that she
Yue,
wouldn't be
you're
able
really
to bear
here.
a second
When
parting.
Fatty Chu saw
Perhaps
Sima
this was the
Yue,
reason
he smiled
why
and
he
said,
had refused to
Yulin
acknowledge
said
her.
that you definitely
Wuling
lived
Yu
here
saw
and
that
told us
Sima
to come
Yue's
here.
expression
I
had
didn't
changed
think that
from
you would
sadness
really be
and
here.
disappointment to anxiety.
That's right. and asked,
"It's a pity that there are
"What's
no
wrong?
more rooms here.
Go back
Wei
and tell
Ziqi
Beigong and the others
Of course
that I
there
have
are
something
rooms
to do.
Sima
and will be
Yue
leaving
said,
for a while.
I knew that you
If I
guys
don't
would
come back,
so
I'll
I
see you
prepared
at the
the
auction
rooms for you guys."
She was about to
Why
run
don't
away.
you go and ask
Wait,
if there
I'll
are
go
any
with you.
vacant inns in the
Wu
city?
Lingyu said as he grabbed
Haha.
her.
Then I
No
really have
need.
to thank you.
All right then,
Fatty
you
Chu
come with
smiled
me.
and said,
Sima Yue
"When we came
originally
here just
didn't
now,
want Wu
we
Lingyu
heard
to know
someone
that she
say
had
that
after
obtained
asking
something,
around,
but she
there
thought
were
that
no more
Emo Sha
rooms in
already
many
knew,
inns,
and he would know when
Sima
they
Yue
merged.
smiled and shook her
Moreover,
head.
she
She
wasn't
came to
very
Sima
familiar
Lai's
with
side
the
and
outer
said,
regions.
"Grandfather,
So it would be
you
good
guys
to
follow
have
me to the
someone by
back."
her side.
As she
spoke,
walked,
she
she
led
took out
everyone
the
to the
mother son
courtyard at
stone
the back.
and contacted
Seeing
Sima
the
Lai.
small courtyard,
When they
everyone
found out that
sighed.
she was leaving,
Yue,
everyone was
how did
very
you manage to
surprised
stay
and
in this
wanted to
courtyard?
go with her.
Sima Yue
You guys
looked at
stay at
Qin
the
Mo
Ying
and said,
residence.
"This is
Sima
Qin
Yue
Mo.
directly
He's my
rejected
good
them.
friend.
This
Beigong
is his
has just
property.
returned to the
That's
clan,
why I can
and
keep
needs
such
you
a
guys
good
to
place.
support her."
She
If I
then
don't go
pointed
to
at
the
third
auction,
Mo and said,
then we'll meet at
"This
the
is
heavenly
third Mo.
sect.
I call
Senior
him
will be
shameless
with me,
third, so
He's
you
also
guys
my
don't have
friend.
to worry about me."
Everyone cupped
That's
their
all
hands
for now.
at the two of
I'm
them.
hanging up.
This is my
After
grandfather,
she finished speaking,
big brother,
she
second
cut off
brother.
the connection
Sima
and
Yue
walked to the inn.
introduced Sima Lai
She went
and
in
the
with
others.
Wu Lingyu.
Qin Mo
The
and Emo
innkeeper
said
nodded
Sima
politely
Yue
to the
had just
crowd.
left and
Yue,
came back in.
since your
He
friends
didn't
are
wait
here,
for her to ask
you
and
should have a
said,
good gathering
"Didn't
with
I
them."
just tell you that
Third
the
Mo,
masked man had
Lingyu
already
and I will
checked
go
out
for a drink
and left this morning
Qin
before
Mo
the
knew
sun
that
rose?
Sima Yue would
Sima
definitely
Yue
want to have a
directly
good
placed
gathering
a
with
mid-ranked
them.
crystal
All
on the
right,
counter.
go ahead.
We want to know.
The three of
Where
them
will
left.
they go after leaving
She didn't
this
know why
place?
Wu Lingyu was on
The
such
innkeeper
good
looked at
terms
the
with them
mid-ranked crystal
previously
and thought for
they
a
were
while.
even secretly competing with each other. He shook his head and said, "I really don't know." However, the
She
waiter
didn't
just happened
understand
to
the
pass
world
by
of
them
men
and said,
and was too lazy
"I was also
to
there
ask."
in the morning.
She pulled
I
everyone
heard
to
the
the
girl
hall
with
to
him
chat.
say that they were
You
going to
those
the
two look
neighboring
extraordinary.
city.
Are
They're
you
definitely
sure?
not ordinary
Sima Yue
people,
asked.
right?
At
Fatty
that
Chu
time,
asked curiously.
the two of them had already
Sima Yue
paid the
glanced
bill
at Sima
and were
Lai
a bit
and the
far
others.
away.
So
At
I
that
didn't hear
time,
it clearly.
when she was
The
talking
waiter
to
said,
Beigong Tang
"Thank you,"
and the others about
Sima
her
Yue
past
placed
life,
the mid-ranked
she
crystal in the
intentionally let the
waiter's
people
arms
in the
and
spirit
turned
go
to
to
leave.
hear it.
The
That
waiter
was
saw
why
that
they
he
knew
had
that she
received
wasn't
the
the real
mid-ranked
Sima
crystal
Yue,
and was a
she
bit
was just a
stunned.
lonely
When
soul
he
that
saw that
borrowed her
Sima
body
Yue
to
was
live
about
on.
to look for him,
However,
he said,
Sima Yue
"Oh, right.
told her that
I
no
heard
matter
that they
what,
didn't use the
they already
teleportation
treated her as
portal
Sima
and
Yue.
took flying beasts.
She was their family.
Sima Yue
She
was
was the real
startled.
Sima Yue.
That's right,
They are
Feng. I
all
was
friends
also
that I
dizzy
used
from
to know.
teleportation
They are all
portals
from
like
the inner
her.
regions.
If the distance was
Sima
not
Yue
far,
said,
he would
Fifth
not
bro
take
in
the
the
teleportation portal.
Sima Yue looked
In
at
which
Sima
direction
Yue
is you
and stopped.
city? Northwest.
Fourth bro.
It's not
Sima
far.
Yue glared at
If you
Sima
take
Yue.
flying beasts,
Sima Yue
you will arrive
smiled.
in 10 days.
She didn't mind and
The
said,
waiter said,
"Fourth bro,
"Thank you.
do you want to ask
Sima
about my
Yue
past?"
and Wu Lingyu
Fifth
went
bro
out of the
ignored
city
him,
and then
Sima
chased
Yue
along the
said,
northwest direction.
"It's okay."
Originally,
Sima Yue knew that
they
they were
thought that
afraid to
Shimen
talk
Feng
about
had
her
left
sad
half a day
past.
earlier than
After
them,
all,
and
they
should
were
be able to
frightened
catch
when
up
she
very
advanced
quickly.
to the divine
The
rank.
speed of eagles
However,
was one
they
of
were
the
also
best
her
among the
family and
rocks.
friends.
However,
It was okay to
they
talk
had
to them.
chased for 7
As a
to 8
result,
days and didn't
Sima
see
Yue
him.
told them
It
about
made
her
her
past
think
life,
that she had missed them,
including the strength
finally,
of her
when they
enemies,
were about to reach
as well as the
city.
powers and
Sima
interests
Yue caught up
involved.
with them.
Maybe it was
Moreover,
because she
it
had
was
found
because they
Shimen
had an
Feng,
argument with
or
someone,
maybe it was
and
because
were
she had
confronting
accepted
the other
truth.
party in the valley.
When she talked about
Seeing
what
that there were
happened,
dozens of
although
people
she
on
was
the
sad
other
and
side,
angry, and that
she
the
didn't
eagle
break
was too
down
big
like
of a
before.
target. After
Sima
listening
Yue
to her story,
and Wu Lingyu came
everyone
down
was
from
shocked
afar.
and distressed.
Then,
It was
Wu
no
Lingyu
wonder
brought her
that
to
she had
fly
broken
nearby
down so
and
badly.
hid in the dark to
It was a
observe.
pity that her enemies were too powerful.
With their current strength, they couldn't help her
Chapter
take
500.
revenge. At
I don't
this
care who
time,
you are.
Shimen Feng
Since
and
you
Kong
dared to
Sengyi
attack
walked
the
in.
people of the
They were
Yin Yang
stunned when they
Palace.
saw the people in
We
the
will
house.
find you even if you run
Yue.
to the ends of
Shimen
the earth.
Feng looked at Sima
Dozens
Yue
of people
suspiciously.
surrounded Shimen Feng
Dear
and
Feng,
Kong Sengyi.
they are the family and
Each
friends
and every
that I
one
told
of them
you
had a
about.
murderous look
Sima
on their
Yue
face.
said with a smile.
Their strength was
This
not
is
low.
grandfather.
It
This
seemed
is-
like they knew that
She
Shimen Feng
introduced
Feng was
everyone
strong,
to Shiman
so they
Feng
sent
and
so
Kong
many
Sang
people
Yi.
to kill them.
Hee big bro.
Everyone from the
This
Yin
big
Yang
bro
Palace
wants to
should
call you
die,
big sis.
and so should you.
But you have to call
Shiman
big bro
Feng's
Yu
hoarse
Chi,
voice
and
was
the others
filled with
big bro
endless
Yu
hatred.
Chi.
Yin
And the
Yang
others are
Palace,
younger than this
Sima
big bro
Yu's
by a
heart
few
skipped a
hundred
beat.
years.
Then
How
she
are you
was
going
filled
to
with
address
hatred.
big bro Yu
Wu
Chi
Ling
and
Yu
the
saw her
others?
change,
And
little
was a
too
little
snickered
curious.
at the side.
Did this girl
Speaking
have
of
some
this,
grudge with the
Sima
Yin Yang
Yue was
Palace?
embarrassed.
How dare you try to
Shiman
kill
Feng
us
wanted
here?
to call her big
You've got
sis,
guts.
but she had
Kong
to call
Sang Yi
Sima
scolded
Yu
the
Chi
people
and
of
the
Yin
others
Yang
big
Palace.
bro Yu Chi.
Kong Sang
And
Yi,
the others big
don't
bro
think
Yu
that
Chi
just
and the
because you're the
others.
young miss
This
of
was
ancient
really hard to
Kongming,
address.
we won't dare
Cough,
to
cough.
do anything
Let's
to
address
you.
each other separately.
Your Yin Yang
Sima Lai
Palace
said with
is
a
just
fake
a
cough.
mediocre force.
Shiman Feng
How
looked
dare
at
you
Sima
attack
Yue
us?
and said,
Although Kong
I'll call
Sang Yi
big
was
sis
young and had
grandfather,
been pestered
grandfather,
Shiman
grandfather.
Feng, he was still very dignified
you can just
in
call
front
us
of
by our
outsiders.
names.
It was
Sima
you who
Yiming
killed
said.
our branch hall master first.
We are only here to take revenge.
Although he was
that
Sima
person
Yoyue's
said,
little bro,
he deserves to die.
He was much more powerful than these little
as he took out a
rookies.
long sword.
How could he take advantage
You all
of
deserve
this?
to die too.
Sima Yue
As he
nodded
spoke,
as well,
he directly
saying,
attacked those
"You
people.
can call us by our
Sima
names
Yue
too."
looked on nervously.
Okay,
afraid that he would
nodded.
be hurt.
The
But
auction
later,
will
he
start
saw
in
that
3
his
days.
strength was about the
I
same
thought
as
that you
those
wouldn't be
people,
able to make it
but
back
his
in
fighting
time.
strength was
I
stronger.
heard that your throat
and his
is almost
attacks were
healed.
more ruthless.
I'll give you a checkup
Moreover,
later
and
his
give you some
spiritual
medicine.
power, and Yin Chi
Sima
did not
Yue
look
heard
like his
that
previous
Shimin Feng's
martial
throat
arts.
wasn't as hoarse
the doubts
as
in
it
his
was at the
heart
beginning.
continued to deepen.
It sounded a little
What
like how it
exactly
used
had
to
the
sound
phone?
or experienced
So she
all
guessed
these
that it would be
years.
healed soon.
There were a few people who didn't move
Shimin
from their
Feng had
original
always listened
positions.
to his big sis.
It seemed like they didn't
Although he
intend
had
to
changed
make
a
a
lot
move
over
earlier,
the years,
and were
his
only here
feelings
to
for
boost
her were
their
still
morale.
the same.
However,
Sima Yue
when they
turned
saw
her
that they
gaze
were
to
unable
Kong
to
Zhengyi
deal
and
with 2
asked,
people despite
"How is your
having
little
so
bro
many
now?"
people,
He
they
ate the
became
tendon
anxious.
and marrow cleansing
2
pill.
of them attacked
His
together.
physique has been
Kong
improved,
Zhengyi's martial
adding on the
arts were a
things that
little
the valley
strange.
gave him.
Although his
He has
strength
changed a
wasn't
lot
high
compared to
he
before.
was able to hold
I
back
really
a
have
lot
to
of
thank
people.
you properly for
However,
this.
he couldn't
My
free
father
himself
said
to
that
help
you must
Shimin
go to the
Feng.
Kong Valley
Sima
as a
Yue
guest
saw
in
that
the
2
future.
monarch-ranked people
Kong Zhengyi
attacked.
said with a face
Shimin
full of
Feng's
smiles.
strength was limited.
If there's a chance
he
in
was
the
unable
future,
to fight
I'll
10
definitely
people.
go.
In a short
Sima
period
Yue
of
said
time,
with a
he was
smile.
severely injured.
You guys should go
Sima
and
Yue
rest
saw
after
that
rushing
Shimin
back.
Feng was injured
I'll show
and
you the
became
list
anxious.
of names for the auction
She got
later.
up and wanted to rush
Is there
over.
anything you want?
What are you
If
doing?
there is, you can plan
Wu Lingyu
ahead.
saw that Sima Yue didn't care and pulled her back. Sima Yue said UUSS. You are. Chapter
Sima
514. After that,
Yue
everyone went
said,
to rest.
"But I
The
can't just
courtyard
watch
that
him
Qin
get
and Mo
injured."
had left for them
Sima
was big
Yue
enough.
shouted.
So they
I've
didn't
already
feel
lost him
crowded
once.
even with so many
I can't
people.
lose him a second
Sima
time.
Yue asked Shimin Feng to stay.
Wu
After
Lingyu
everyone
didn't
left,
understand what
she
Sima
asked him
Yue
to
meant.
take off his mask.
However,
He
not
understood
bad.
that she
The
was
scars
nervous
on
and
his
anxious.
face are almost
He
invisible.
said helplessly.
However,
Wait
he wears a
here.
mask all year
After
round.
speaking,
So
he
it's
called
still
out
a little
Fire Qilin and
unnaturally
said,
white.
"You go."
Sima
The
Yue
Fire
looked at
Qilin
Shimin
nodded and
Feng's face
immediately
with
attacked over
satisfaction.
there.
You
Saving
should be able
Shimin
to
Feng
fully
as soon
recover
as he
after
arrived.
some time.
Fire
Then you
Qilin.
won't have to wear a mask
It wasn't
all day.
just the people from
Shimin
Yinyang
Feng
Palace.
didn't care whether he
Even
wore a
Shimin
mask or
Feng
not.
was shocked by
In
the
the sudden
past.
appearance of
He
this
had never
person.
thought that he would be
Fire
able to
Qilin.
recover his
Isn't
appearance
this the
and voice.
contracted beast
He
of
had
His
already
Highness Holy
decided to
Son?
wear the mask.
Someone said,
After all,
could it be that His
if
Highness
His
Holy
Clan
Son
is
and the
here?
Yinyang
I
Palace
think
knew
His
about
Highness
it?
Holy Son
He
is
would be in a
nearby
lot of trouble
and was attracted by the
Sister,
commotion.
this is for you.
The
Shimin
people
Feng
from
took out a
Yinyang
crystal
Palace
card and handed
but
it
it
to
doesn't
her.
matter.
Sima
Our
Yue took
Yinyang
the crystal
Palace
card
is
and
attached
looked
to
at
the
it.
Sage Pavilion.
She looked at him in
Kong
surprise.
Zhengyi took the
Where did he
opportunity
get so
when
much
everyone
money?
stopped
1
and
million
ran to
mid-grade
Shimin
crystal
Feng's side.
stones was not
He
a small
supported
sum.
him and asked anxiously,
Mother gave it to me before
"Are you
the
all right?"
accident.
Shimin Feng
pulled
said,
his hand away
"Take it,"
and looked at
"Why
Fire
are you
Qilin
giving it to me?"
cautiously.
I will
Sima
try to
Yue
stop them
returned
in
the
a while.
card to him.
You look for an
Naturally,
opportunity
it's
to
for you
leave.
to use at the
How
auction.
can I leave you here alone?
Shimin Feng didn't
Kong
accept it.
Zhengyi grabbed
You want to
Shimin
buy
Feng's
so many
hand.
things.
Since I came
Although
out
that
with you,
Junlon said
I will
that
live
the
and die
tendon
with
and marrow
you.
cleansing
I will
pill
not
can be
leave.
auctioned for a high
Sima
price.
Yue looked at
It's
Kong
always
Zhengyi
good to
from
have more
afar.
money. She
What's
had heard
more,
of this
you're
person
buying
before,
those medicinal
and his
herbs for me.
reputation wasn't
I'm willing
very
to
good.
fork out such a
However,
small amount of
when
money.
she saw him this
Are
time,
you going to stop
she
me?
nodded her head
Seeing Shimin
satisfactorily.
Feng's insistence,
At the same time,
Sima Yue
she
could
was
only
secretly
accept
happy.
the crystal card.
Fenger must have
You're
suffered
right.
in his heart
We need
all
more
these
money.
years.
We can't
If he
just
had such
rely
a
on the
person
money
by his
given
side,
by the Xianyuan
it would be a ray
Pavilion.
of light in the darkness.
She said, "We have to
Fire
find ways
Qilin,
to make more
is His
money."
Highness Holy
2
Son
days
here?
ago, Fire
Jun
Qilin
Qian
glanced
glanced
at
at
them
them
and
and
said,
and gave
"Yes,
her
my
3
master
million
sent me
mid-grade
here
crystal
to kill you
stones.
all."
He said that
After
he knew
speaking,
she was short of
he
money.
started to
So
attack
he
the
paid a
people
portion
from
of it in
Yinyang
advance.
Palace.
If
He
her
understood
items were
his
more than
master's
this,
intentions.
he would compensate
Once
her.
he attacked,
If it was
these
less,
people had to be
the
killed.
extra money would
Otherwise,
be considered as
it
a
would
loan.
be troublesome if
Sima
news
Yue
of this
didn't
spread
agree
to
at
the Sage
first
Pavilion
because she didn't
Sima
know how
Yue
many
was
of her
still
items
unable
could
to
be
tell
auctioned
Fire
off.
Qilin's rank
However,
until now.
Jun
However,
Qian said that
she
her
knew that
items
his
could
rank
only
was
be auctioned
definitely
off
not
at a
low.
much
much higher price.
Otherwise,
Hence,
Xi
Minfeng would not
accepted
have been
it.
killed by
Now,
him.
with the
in just
addition of
2 or
Xi
3
Minfeng's
moves just
1
now,
million,
she had a
hired
total
Qiu
of
Yu.
6 million
When the
mid-grade
people from
crystal
Yingyang
stones,
Palace saw
which
Fire
was more
Qilin
than
attack,
10 times
they
the
were
base
all
price
shocked.
of the things she
They
had her eyes
immediately
on.
reacted and
There were a
scattered
lot of
in all
things this
directions.
time. If other people didn't compete
those who
with
ran
her,
away were killed
the money
by Wu
should be
Lingyu.
enough.
Even when
However,
they died,
if other people
they didn't
also needed it
understand
and needed
why
to
Wu
bid,
Lingyu would attack
it was
them.
hard to say.
Sima Yue saw
No,
Wu
I need
Lingyu
to get
attack.
more money.
This was the
Sima
first
Yue
time
said,
she saw him kill
if I
people.
really can't,
He didn't
I
show
can
any
only
mercy,
borrow from Qin
and his
Mo and the
movements
rest.
were extremely graceful.
She had never liked borrowing
it didn't
money
look like
from
he was
others.
killing people
This
at
was
all.
a habit she
Instead,
had brought with her
it
from
looked like
Earth.
he was doing something very elegant, and she didn't know what he used to hide his
However,
strength. If she
no
didn't
one
have
could tell
much
his
money
rank.
at the start of the
Kang
auction,
Zhenyi looked at
then
Wu
there was
Lingyu in
nothing
shock,
she could do,
saying,
Actually,
Xi
isn't
Minfeng,
third MO
are my
here?
eyes playing
Why
tricks
don't you
on
just
me?
ask him
Is he
to take
helping
you
us?
to stone gambling?
Is he really the holy
That is
son
the
of the
fastest
sage
way to earn
pavilion?
money.
No.
Xi Minfeng said.
Hearing his words, Sima Yue slapped her forehead and exclaimed, not knowing what he meant. That's right. Why? How could I have forgotten about that? Looked at Wu Lingyu unwillingly. Stone gambling. This term was not unfamiliar to her. And looked at Sima Yue in the past saying, when she was on Earth, she wants you dead. Had seen stone so gambling. I naturally can't let you live. At that time, who asked you to touch someone you gambled that the stones were filled with jade. That person wanted to look at but Sima here, Yue. The stones were filled with exactly rare spirit stones that he was protecting. When she was still but he didn't see who she was she had also seen other stone gambling. However, at that time, she was completely an outsider. When he saw Sima Yue, she had only followed them to shift and began to tremble. She had seen with her own eyes someone open a rare spirit stone from an ordinary stone. Pay you for saving my life. Sky-high price. Goodbye. At that time, he cupped his hands she was an outsider watching the excitement. Now that she was saw that he was about to escape again and shouted the door. Shimin Feng, do you want me to go find third MO? Don't call me sister. Saw that his sister was so excited. I don't have a brother like you. And said with a smile, I will go to the Yin Palace tomorrow. Sima Yue also wanted to bring third MO along. But whether I live or die, he was an expert in this area. However, she immediately stopped and turned around and said, looking at her with a complicated expression. Let's go tomorrow. Sima Yue didn't say also anything bring grandfather and just looked at him to broaden their horizons. After a long time, Shimin Feng called out weakly. Then I'll go talk to third MO first and ask if he has time. Go. Sima Yue saw that Shimin Feng left with his mask on. Sima Yue's tears and also got uncontrollably when she heard Sima Yue calling out to her in a hoarse voice. Walked over to knock on the door. On the other hand, Bei Gongtang opened the door and saw Sima Yue. His bright eyes were filled with disbelief. Are you done talking to your brother? And the fire Bei Gongtang closed the door and sat beside her, asking, "Sister, Shimin Feng checked on his body when he saw Sima Yue getting closer. I really didn't expect that you would find your family member so quickly. This is indeed something to be happy about." Sleeve and said, Shimin Feng, yes, is there something wrong with your head? I thought that he had already been killed. How could she be your sister? I didn't expect to see him again. Isn't your sister already dead? It's just that his body is more troublesome. That he personally buried your sister. You'll find a way. In the beginning, I believe in you. Shimin Feng was also very surprised. Comforted. But when he saw Yue shook her head and heard him call her Yu. To be honest, he was sure I really that the don't have a way to completely eradicate it. Moreover, but there are still her soul must have been reborn. I'll definitely think of a way in this period of time would not have survived. Why don't we ask your master? Although he didn't know what was going on. He knew that she was his elder sister. There are so many strange people in this world who have protected him since he was young. There'll definitely be a way. Sima Yue came to the front of Shimin Feng, smiled and said, and reached out her hand. Why didn't your mother come with you? Mask. How are she and your brother? By him. Is there any movement from the Bei Gong clan in the Earth Palace? There must be a reason. Mother and brother did not want her to see it because they were just rescued him. They are resting in the clan these days. And looked at the familiar eyes. She smiled and cried. Wu Lingyu glanced at the two of them and said to Kong recently, the relationship between the Yin clan, Bei Gong clan and the Earth Palace for a moment. But then he understood that they are at daggers drawn and followed him into the distance. It's because of this that we came so late. I say, are you really do anything to the Yin clan, right? Not yet. Yes, because the Goshawk King stayed in the Yin clan for 2 days. If you're from the Sage Pavilion, they didn't dare to do anything. Because of the relationship between the Yin clan must have begged and the Goshawk clan. He was a man. Bei Gongtang How could he be an older sister? That's good. How strange. Yue was originally not interested in as they walked away, but since it involved the getting softer and softer, she hoped when that they were far away would be good. Sima Yue let go of Shimin Feng. The two of them chatted for a while. What's going on? Then she went to inform everyone that they were going to gamble on stones tomorrow. Let's talk about it later. Anyone who was willing to go could go. She took out a pill. Everyone came up from the lower continents. Take this pill first. They didn't know what gambling on stones was. Ate it. But when they heard Sima Yue say that it was a gamble that could make a huge profit or bankrupt him to burn the corpses to get rid of the evidence. They said that they would go with her tomorrow. Shimin Feng and when they heard that Sima Yue was going to gamble on stones to the mountain peak. Chinemo and Third Mo said that they wanted to go with her. No, needless to say, still subconsciously naturally wanted to go too. No matter what. So on the morning of the second day, my brother, a group of people went out in a grandiose manner. I don't want to scare you. There were groups of people everywhere on the streets. Most of them were from the same sect. Why would I be afraid of your current appearance? After walking for a while, Sima Yue said. Fatty Chu pointed at a luxuriously decorated door and said, Sima Yue a little embarrassedly. This is the stone gambling place that the shopkeeper mentioned, right? Chapter 515. Sima Yue looked up. The 2 words stone pavilion were bold and powerful, but the golden edges looked a little tacky. The stone pavilion should be here. Sima Lai said. When they came out in the morning, they asked the shopkeeper where the best raw stones were, and where rare spirit stones were most likely to be found. The shopkeeper then introduced this place to them. That stone pavilion is the biggest stone gambling store here. The rate of raw stones produced there is the highest. Every few days, a high-grade rare spirit stone will appear. However, the price is not cheap. The other stone gambling stores are also not bad. But if you want to get good spirit stones, the stone pavilion is still better. The shopkeeper said. Thus, the group of people came here. The stone pavilions are not bad. I've been to a stone pavilion in the central region before. There, I found a spirit stone that was formed in the ancient times. Third Mo said. Let's go in then. Sima Yue said. Fatty Chu and the others excitedly followed him in. On the way here, they had already gained a better understanding of stone gambling. They also knew Third Mo's identity, and were especially interested in this stone gambling. As soon as they entered, they saw that the whole room was filled with people. The shop assistants were already too busy. Some of the people who weren't greeted were looking at piles of stones by themselves. When they saw something they liked, they would pay for it, and then take it to be cut. Sima Yue looked around, and saw a group of people standing in a semicircle at the corner of the wall. That should be the place where the stones were cut. Wow, it's green. It's true. Master, please continue. I've only peeled off 2 pieces of the stone, and it's already green. With such a big stone, the spirit stones inside must be huge. Haha, young master really chose a good stone. The commotion in the stone opening area attracted a lot of people. Everyone wanted to see what kind of spirit stones would be found. Fatty Chu and the others also went to watch. Although they knew that there was a mine on the 2nd floor of the spirit pagoda, and had dug for crystals before, they had never seen such a scene before. Even Sima Lai could not help but take a look. Sima Yue, Wu Lingyu, and Third Mo didn't go. It wasn't their first time seeing such a situation. Plus, the place was filled with people, so they couldn't be bothered to squeeze with others. Not long after, another exclamation came from inside. Wow, this is the first time I've seen such a huge scenic cloud spirit stone. That's right, such a big scenic cloud spirit stone can definitely be sold for tens of thousands of mid-grade spirit stones. Young master, I'm willing to pay 50,000 mid-grade crystal stones for your spirit stone. What do you think? I'll pay 55,000. How about it? Go, go, go. Young master, I bid 70,000. Will you sell it to me? Go away, young master. I'm willing to pay. Fatty Chu and the rest were squeezed out by those agitated people. Seeing how crazy those people were, they hurriedly retreated. That's crazy. Sima Yulu exclaimed as he wiped the sweat off his forehead. It's like this. You'll get used to it after a few more times. Sima Yue said with a smile. In the end, the scenic cloud spirit stone was bought for 90,000 mid-grade crystal stones. On the other hand, the raw stone he bought was only 1,000 mid-grade crystal stones. The price difference was dozens of times higher. Come over and take a look. That scenic cloud spirit stone was chosen from here. A shop assistant called out when he saw that the people in front of him had all left. That pile of stones looked to be of a lower grade. With a casual glance, one could tell that it was difficult to get stones. However, the price was low. If they could get spirit stones, just like what happened just now, they would make a killing. As a result, everyone rushed towards the pile of stones. The originally cold and cheerless area became lively in an instant. Yu, are we going to buy stones as well? Fatty Chu said excitedly. Sima Yue knocked on Fatty Chu's head saying, that pile of stones is filled with white stones. It's useless even if you go. White stones were the kind of stones that could not produce spirit stones at all. There were only white huahua stones inside. That was why they were called white stones. Third Mo heard what she said and said, you've learnt how to differentiate stones? I've learnt a little bit. I'm not good at it. Otherwise, why would I let you help me choose? Sima Yue did not hide it. TSK, how do you know that those stones can't produce spirit stones? If you don't know, don't spout nonsense. The shop assistant heard what Sima Yue said and scolded. How can you say that? Sima Yue saw that he was scolding Sima Yue and wanted to go forward to reason with him. Sima Yue pulled him back saying, we're not here to quarrel. Let's go inside. The stones in the outermost room were of a lower grade, and the price was lower. As they went in, the stones would get better, and the chances of producing spirit stones would be higher. However, the price would also get higher. Most people would choose outside to try their luck. Those who had money would choose inside. They walked in from the main hall. It was not a room inside, but an open-air courtyard. Those spirit stones were piled up in 2s and 3s all over the courtyard. There were obviously fewer people here than outside. It did not feel crowded. Also, looking at the way they were dressed, it was not something those people outside could compare to. You, how much do you want to earn? Third Mo asked. Sima Yue blinked, not understanding what he meant. If you want to earn a few million, this place is fine. If you want to earn tens of millions, we can go to the back. Third Mo explained. This place is fine too, but the things inside are definitely better. Sima Yue looked around and said, let's choose here first. In any case, we still have 2 days. It's about the same when we choose. The prices here are not high. We can let everyone play together. That works too. We can play too. Fatty Chu's eyes shone. The average price here is below 50,000. I'll give you 2 million. You can play by yourselves. If there are spirit stones, you can keep them for yourself. You can also exchange them for spirit stones. After speaking, she took out 2 crystal cards. Each card had 1 million middle-ranked spirit stones. She left 3 million as a model for herself. She believed that with Third Mo around, she would definitely be able to earn a lot. Wow, we can play too. Fatty Chu and the rest took the money and went to choose, leaving Sima Yue, Wu Lingyu, Third Mo and Qin Mo behind. Let's go. We'll go choose too, Sima Yue said. The 4 of them came to an area with fewer people. There were fewer bear stones here. They looked more ordinary, and did not have obvious characteristics. However, the prices were a little high. Most people did not dare to lay their hands on them. They would choose those stones with more obvious characteristics. Don't choose the stones here. Yesterday, a few people chose a few stones here. None of them had good stones. A middle-aged man saw Sima Yue and the rest choosing stones, and could not help but say a few words. He chose a bear stone and paid for it himself. Sima Yue looked at the shop assistant who just walked over and asked, was what he said true? The shop assistant did not hide and said, yesterday, it was not good here. There were only 2 watermelon stones. Chapter 5:16. Sima Yue knew about watermelon stones. It was shaped like a watermelon, but there were only a few spirit stones inside that looked like watermelon seeds. There wasn't much point in opening it because those watermelon seeds had no use at all. They weren't worth much either. Those that opened it were usually a huge loss. For more interesting articles, please visit. He didn't expect the shop assistant to be so honest and not hide this matter. She waved at him and said, we'll choose for ourselves. You can leave. She knew that these shop assistants would get a commission from selling the raw stones, so they worked very hard to promote their products to everyone. However, the most they could do was give some suggestions. They did not dare to make decisions for the customers. Otherwise, if the customers who opened the white stone were to blame them, they would be in trouble. Do you want to try? Or do you want me to help you choose? Third Mo asked. Let me try first. Sima Yue looked at the stones, and was eager to try. This was different from the ores in the spirit pagoda. She could sense the situation inside, and directly open spirit stones. However, this was different. These ores had no connection to her, so she couldn't directly see the situation inside. However, she could use what she had learned from the book to see how far she had progressed. She squatted down and picked from the pile of stones. She touched one, looked at another, and finally chose an oval-shaped stone the size of a human head. Third Mo's eyes lit up when he saw the bare rock she chose, but he didn't say anything. The person who told him not to choose here had just finished paying the bill, and was about to find someone to open the stone. When he turned around, he saw Sima Yue walking over with a bare stone. He suddenly cried out, "Hey, you brat, why did you choose a watermelon stone?" He regretted it after he shouted. Because of his voice, many people looked in his direction. He lowered his voice and said, "I am sorry, but if you choose this, There will only be some watermelon seeds. It's not worth it. This stone costs 10,000 mid-grade crystal stones. Sima Yue did not expect to meet such a warm-hearted person here. Although he attracted a lot of attention, she was not angry. She said, "It's okay. It's my first time choosing this. I'll take it as practice." After saying that, she smiled at the man and walked towards the counter by the small lake. That person saw that Sima Yue was insistent on her choice, so he didn't say anything. However, he didn't leave either. He hugged his own naked stone and followed behind Sima Yue. He wanted to see what kind of outcome she would have. Not only him, but many others also wanted to see Sima Yue make a fool of herself. Over the years, watching others open stones was also a form of entertainment. Sima Yue placed the bear's stone on the table. The lady who was paying the bill was rather surprised when she saw that she had actually chosen a watermelon stone, especially since she had heard someone warn her that this was a watermelon stone. She didn't expect that she would actually choose this. "Young master, are you sure you want to buy this?" the woman asked subconsciously. Sima Yue nodded and said, "I'll take this." "All right then. This stone is worth 18,000 mid-grade crystal stones," the woman said with a smile. Sima Yue took out her crystal card and transferred 18,000 yuan. The woman passed the card to her with both hands and asked with a smile, "Young master, do you want to open the stone?" Sima Yue nodded. The woman pointed at the place where the stones were being opened and said, "You can go over there." "All right." Sima Yue hugged the stone and went to the place where the stones were being opened. There were 2 stone opening masters there. Both of them were opening stones for others. Sima Yue hugged her stone and watched from the side. From time to time, she would talk to the 3 men beside her. "Do you think the stone in his hand will come out?" Third Mo used his elbow to nudge Sima Yue's arm and asked. Without waiting for Sima Yue to speak, the stone opening master had already started cutting. According to the man's request, he cut a third of the stone. The small part that fell to the ground was white without any green. On the other hand, the larger ones had a faint hint of green in them. "It's green!" Everyone present exclaimed softly. They were not as loud as the people outside. "The next cut will be from here." The owner of the stone gestured on the other side of the stone. Sima Yue looked at the stone and said, "What a pity." "What's a pity?" Fatty Chu and the rest came over. They happened to hear what she said and asked. "This stone looks like it will come out with the spirit stone. However, for some reason, there isn't anything good inside." Sima Yue explained softly to them. "Really?" "Yes." Sima Yue nodded. She was very sure that this stone would only come out with a glass spirit stone. A glass spirit stone meant that it would only come out with a thin piece of spirit stone. Even if the quality of this spirit stone was good, it would not be worth much. The man who was squatting on the ground turned around and glared at Sima Yue. He did not say anything. However, the woman beside him scolded Sima Yue. "Don't speak if you don't know anything." Sima Yue did not expect that when everyone's attention was on the stone opening, there were still people who heard her speak. If they did not speak, then so be it. After all, this had nothing to do with her. However, just as Sima Yue said, that piece of stone that everyone was optimistic about at the beginning really only had a thin layer of spirit stones. The quality of the spirit stone was not bad. However, because it was too thin, it did not contain much spirit energy. Hence, it was not very useful. The owner of the stone was rather calm. He stood up and patted the stone fragments off his body. The woman beside him pulled a long face and was very unhappy. Next, the master in charge of opening the stone shouted. Sima Yue saw that no one else was going up. She walked over and placed the stone in her hand on the stone opening table. "Watermelon stone?" Everyone present laughed when they saw her stone. The woman from before laughed even louder. Seeing how calm she was, the stone opening master asked, "Young master, is this your first time gambling on stones?" Sima Yue nodded. In the past, she had always seen others gamble. This was really her first time. "Young master, have you heard of watermelon stone?" "I've heard of it," Sima Yue said. "But I want this one. I've already paid the money. I can't go back on my word." The stone opening master shook his head. He took the stone and touched it carefully for a while. You want to open a Shio spirit stone with a watermelon head? You're really ignorant. The woman mocked. Third sister, don't be rude. The man scolded. It's true. Everyone told her that watermelon stone would not open a good stone. She didn't believe it, and insisted on opening it. I dare to bet that she won't open a good spirit stone. If she does, I'll write my name backwards. The woman said unhappily. Young master, how do you plan to open it? The stone opening master asked. Master, wait a moment. Sima Yue stood up and looked at the woman. You want to bet with me? That's right. The woman stepped forward and looked at Sima Yue with contempt. If you open a good spirit stone, I'll give you double the price. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.